Hey friends, hope you're all doing well. We're doing okay too, just really tired since we've been working non-stop. We wanted to answer a question many of you ask: how does our publishing process work? Most of our audiobooks are first posted on Patreon as paid content. They stay behind a paywall for a few months. After that, they become free to access on Patreon forever. Then, a few weeks later, we upload them to other platforms like YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, X. Lately, our community hasn't been growing much, and we could really use your help. Please share our site in your Facebook groups, Discord servers, Reddit threads, Twitter, X, or with any friends who might be interested. Every little bit helps and we really appreciate it. Thanks a lot for being with us and supporting what we do. Chapter 1, Innate Treasure Pearl Martial Soul Hall, Awakening Plaza. The last one. Lin Feng. A platinum bishop called out loudly. Lin Feng let out a breath and glanced at the golden-robed figures on the high platform in the distance, his heart somewhat uneasy. He stepped into the formation of 6 black stones. As the bishop activated his soul power, Lin Feng instinctively extended his right hand. A faint golden phantom emerged, a pearl, translucent and about the size of a ping-pong ball, radiating a soft glow. The bishop frowned. "Child, what is your martial soul called? Focus and sense it carefully. It will reveal its name to you. Innate Treasure Pearl. Support type martial soul. I think." Lin Feng gently caressed the pearl in his hand, a look of surprise flashing in his eyes. The pearl was very familiar. It was the very object that had fallen from the sky and struck him in his previous life, bringing him to this new world. Just before he lost consciousness, he had vaguely seen this very pearl. Never heard of this martial soul before. Is it a mutated one? Come, place your hand on the crystal ball. Let's test your soul power. The bishop sounded a bit excited, hopeful for the emergence of a soul master with top-tier talent. After all, if a mutated martial soul is a positive mutation, it often comes with great potential. Judging by its crystalline appearance, it didn't seem like a negative mutation. If Lin Feng had high innate soul power, the bishop felt he could already envision a promising future. Innate soul power level 1? The bishop shook his head in disappointment. I'm sorry, Aizen. Our days together will have to wait even longer. Lin Feng sighed. This body really was too weak. For the first 5 years in the Martial Soul Hall orphanage, he had barely managed to eat enough each day. Before the age of 6, he hadn't received enough nutrition, which obviously affected his foundation. Even now, his physical condition had only just reached the bare minimum for a normal person. Still, Lin Feng was satisfied. As long as he had soul power, he could cultivate. As someone familiar with the world of Douluo, his journey was far from over. Thank you, Bishop. The bishop watched Lin Feng silently return to the crowd, a bit surprised by the child's composure. This kid's mentality is pretty good. The rest of the awakening ceremony I'll handle it personally. You take the children away now. Dismissed. Yes, sir. As Lin Feng and the others left, 3 figures suddenly appeared, members of the Qian family. In fact, Qian Renxue didn't need to come here for her martial soul awakening, but under her request and Qian Douluo's consideration, they decided to come anyway. After all, if the awakening took place in the Douluo temple, the mother Qian Renxue longed to see would definitely not appear. But here, there was still a sliver of hope. Qian Renxue blinked, looking around, her delicate face tinged with disappointment. Her pouty lips trembled, then she clenched her small fist and pumped herself up. Come on, Xiaoxu. As long as your soul power level is high, Mom will surely accept you. You can do it. Only the 3 of them remained on the plaza. Qian Renxue lifted her head, her gaze firm. Father, Grandpa, let's begin. Good luck, Gswer. Once your martial soul awakens, Grandpa has gifts for you. Qian Douluo glared at Qian Xunji, who was about to channel his soul power, then sent him a message telepathically. You fool, you're still not satisfied watching Gswer awaken her martial soul. This isn't your place. You failed to bring her mother here, disappointed her again. Come accept punishment tomorrow. Qian Xunji froze, an awkward expression flashing across his face as he stepped aside. A familiar scene played out again. As Qian Douluo activated his soul power, Qian Renxue's body erupted with light far surpassing everyone before. A golden, 6-winged angel martial soul emerged behind her. At the top of the mountain in the Douluo Hall, the ancient angel god statue shone with divine brilliance. A massive angelic projection loomed above, radiating a peaceful, sacred, and noble aura that covered the entire awakening plaza. Ancestor. Qian Douluo murmured. The angelic projection gradually shrank, merging into Qian Renxue's body as she stood with eyes closed. The phantom behind her grew more solid, and she suddenly seemed much more mature. Her once childish face now held a trace of solemn dignity. The 6-winged angel martial soul was fully revealed. Qian Renxue opened her eyes in joy. Grandpa, Grandpa. Hurry and test my soul power, I feel so strong now. Qian Dailiu, snapping back to reality, took her hand and led her straight back to the Douluo temple. Qian Xunji also recovered and glanced at a nearby corner before heading off to manage the phenomenon that had shaken the heavens and earth. In that corner stood a stunning woman. Her silver teeth clenched tightly. She had once held a sliver of hope for Qian Renxue's martial soul, but now, even that final hope was shattered. A hoarse, bitter voice emerged. Damn it. Why? Why must it be that cursed angel martial soul again? You never should have been born into this world. To think such a filthy existence could manifest a divine sign, heavens, you are truly blind. Bibi Dong forcefully suppressed the turmoil in her heart and turned to leave. Her eyes glanced in the direction Lin Feng had disappeared. Innate soul power level 1, huh? Rare indeed. Back at the orphanage, Lin Feng received his martial soul certificate, school admission notice, and a basic manual on meditation techniques. Yes, even with only level 1 innate soul power, Lin Feng could still study at the Martial Soul Hall's primary academy, complete 6 years of schooling, or even get assigned a position within the hall. In that sense, being taken in by the Martial Soul Hall orphanage already gave him a better starting point than many from small cities. A martial soul is part of one's body. So this innate treasure pearl, what part of me does it represent? With that question in mind, Lin Feng began his first cultivation session, using the Douluo continent's most basic and widely known meditation technique. Monotonous, slow, rigid, that was his first impression. No wonder Xuanchen technique became a top-tier method here. The way people cultivate in Douluo is far too primitive. It simply absorbs energy from the environment and converts it into soul power. No purification, no circulation paths. Maybe that's exactly where the Xuanchen technique's advantage lies. Even high-level meditation methods here are naturally slow. This won't do. I need to change things. My innate soul power is only level 1. Cultivation will be slow. If I stick to the conventional path, I might never even become a soul elder. And in that case, even if I know the storyline, without strength, I can't seize any of those opportunities. Feeling the subtle changes in his body during cultivation, Lin Feng made up his mind to create his own soul power circulation route. He had studied countless human meridian diagrams in his past life. He believed this was feasible. Especially since his martial soul had its own innate abilities. Not using them would be a waste. Purification, guidance, and clearing soul power channels, those were the innate treasure pearl's current capabilities. His martial soul was special. It could be stored within his body and nourish his meridians. This would be the foundation of his future development. He summoned the innate treasure pearl. It radiated with precious energy, calming both his mind and blood. Of course, he wouldn't just blindly experiment. Knowledge about martial souls was essential. The academy library would be his second home from now on. Innate treasure pearl. The word innate, what does it truly signify? Maybe if I use my martial soul as the entry point, I'll be surprised by what I discover. It followed me from my past life and became my martial soul. So now, it must be a part of my body too. After all, this body is new. As night fell, Lin Feng stowed away his martial soul and began his routine physical training. Chapter 2, The Blonde Lily in the Library. What are you looking at? A crisp voice rang in Lin Feng's ear, accompanied by a faint sweet fragrance. A book. Lin Feng responded without turning his head. For him at this moment, finding a method for his future cultivation was the top priority. Qian Renxue frowned. She had actually been observing Lin Feng for a long time. Over the past year, this guy had come to the library every single day, always sitting in the same spot. The only thing that changed was the book in his hand. Playing the role of a scarecrow for an entire year, Lin Feng couldn't avoid attracting attention even if he wanted to. Annoyed by Lin Feng's cold attitude, Qian Renxue pouted. In all her 7 years of life, aside from her mother, no one had ever spoken to her like that. This guy doesn't even glance back? Humphrey. Smack. Qian Renxue slapped the table. Hey, I'm talking to you. Shouldn't you at least look at me when replying? Don't you know basic manners? Lin Feng turned his head slightly, a bit helpless, and surprise briefly flashed in his eyes. He sized Qian Renxue up and secretly sighed. As expected of the future angel god, she already showed hints of her stunning future beauty. Her long golden hair cascaded down, her delicate face had a youthful blush, and she wore a golden white short dress made of sheer fabric. Her eyes were round and full of playful charm, but at the same time, there was an aura of nobility and holiness about her. But why was she here? And why did it seem like she was looking for him? All right, young lady, I'm reading a book. With that, he lowered his head and continued reading, taking notes. Qian Renxue, who was feeling a bit pleased seeing the surprise in Lin Feng's eyes. What the heck is this feeling of wanting to say something but not being able to? Reading a book? That's not what I asked. I meant what kind of book you're reading. The Possibilities for Improving Meditation Techniques, Part 6. Qian Renxue sat down beside Lin Feng on her own, softly reading the title of his notes aloud. Hey. Lin Feng, let's get to know each other. My name is Zhao Zhu. You've investigated me? Qian Renxue was stunned. Looking at Lin Feng's calm, expressionless face, she suddenly panicked and quickly waved her hand. No, it's not like that. You come here to study every day. Lots of people here know your name. I definitely didn't investigate you. Lin Feng put down his pen, looking a bit amused at Qian Renxue's flustered explanation. I'm not mad. But I don't think I've seen you around the academy? Oh. That's because my family members are high-ups in the spirit hall, so they didn't let me attend the academy. You like studying so much, you must know that what's taught in the primary academy can be learned at home too. Lin Feng nodded. He didn't mind her keeping her identity a secret. With an innate soul power of level 20, it made sense for her to lay low for a while. I see. So, you're here in the library to read too? The shelves are over there. If you can't find a book, you can ask the lady at the counter. Qian Renxue froze. Was this guy for real? I'm sitting right next to him. Obviously I came to talk to him. What a blockhead. She forcefully placed her right hand on Lin Feng's shoulder, puffed her cheeks, and threatened, I said I came to see you. I want to know what you're studying. Got it? Ow, okay, I get it. Let go already. Humphrey. Rubbing his sore shoulder, Lin Feng looked helplessly at Qian Renxue. He didn't really want to interact with her this early, but now that it had happened, it wasn't necessarily a bad thing. So, what do you want to know? Qian Renxue smirked, crossing her arms confidently. Tell me everything about you. The soul power circulation paths in the body? I already know those. Qian Renxue said proudly, her face practically screaming praise me. That's not what I mean. Lin Feng shook his head. I'm talking about a fixed route for soul power to circulate through the body's meridians, enhancing physical growth, improving absorption efficiency, and strengthening the body as a whole. It's not just about using soul power to trigger a skill like everyone else. That's standard. Qian Renxue was momentarily speechless. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, trying to hide her awkwardness. I see. But what's the point of doing that? Lin Feng pulled out a human meridian chart. Look, the human body has various acupuncture points and meridians. When soul masters activate their soul skills, soul power surges through their bodies. These meridians are like the riverbeds through which soul power flows. Since physical ability improves during soul skill activation, I believe that the most critical part of refining soul power lies in its internal circulation. If we can develop a method for fixed soul power circulation, it could revolutionize cultivation. Imagine soul power enhancing the body as it flows, clearing impurities, accelerating absorption and refinement. And further, soul power could develop unique traits, making self-created soul skills easier to craft. That's what I'm researching. Qian Renxue pursed her lips. So this is what he's been working on all year? Doesn't seem very realistic. She tried to offer some heartfelt advice. You? Thousands of years of soul masters haven't figured this out, and you think you can? You should probably focus on normal cultivation instead. Lin Feng cut her off. Since you've looked into me, you must know my innate soul power level, right? Qian Renxue felt a little awkward. Was it really okay to bring up someone's shortcomings right to their face? I think it was level 1? That's what I heard. But it's not that bad, at least you can cultivate. Don't be too upset. Lin Feng smiled and shook his head. I'm not upset at all. My soul power level right now is level 6. Qian Renxue's eyes widened. That's impossible. Innate soul power and cultivation speed were directly proportional. This was a widely accepted truth among soul masters. Even with her own innate level 20 power, plus the +3 boost from the soul ring, she'd only gained 5 levels this year. How could someone like Lin Feng achieve that? If you don't believe me, try sensing it yourself. With that, Lin Feng extended his right hand. Qian Renxue hesitated. Other than her father and a few elders, no man had ever touched her before. Looking at the smiling boy in front of her, Qian Renxue got annoyed. TCH, what's there to be afraid of? I'm not scared of anything. In the next moment, a soft, delicate sensation pressed against Lin Feng's hand. Her palm was warm and smooth and he couldn't help lightly tracing his finger across it. You! Don't move your hand. Blushing, Qian Renxue glared at him and clenched his hand tightly. Ouch, Humphrey. As she carefully felt the energy, shock spread across her face. It's true? How did you do this? Caught up in the moment, Qian Renxue loosened her grip, not even realizing she hadn't pulled her hand away yet. She leaned closer, eagerly asking. Lin Feng glanced at their still joined hands and grinned. Like I said, I'm researching it. And now, I've made some initial progress. Chapter 3, Having a rich little lady as a friend is the best. Lin Feng had deliberately revealed the current state of his research to Qian Renxue. If he could build a connection with the young heir of the Spirit Hall, it would bring him one step closer to his goal of accessing the Spirit Hall's scripture pavilion. His research on the body's meridians had reached a bottleneck. He had designed a soul power circulation path with the primary principle that it must not cause discomfort to the body. Using the innate soul pearl's nurturing and purifying abilities, he had assisted in developing this soul power pathway. At present, Lin Feng had constructed a rudimentary soul power network within his body that could circulate through a full meridian cycle. He named this cultivation method the innate soul evolution technique. Unfortunately, lacking other in-depth studies of martial spirits, he didn't dare make bold breakthroughs in the path's design. To put it metaphorically, what Lin Feng was doing was like building a bridge between two rivers so that they could connect. This method allowed him to immediately detect any abnormal changes in his body and stop right away if something felt off. He had already explored all the stable, side-effect-free routes. What remained was to blaze new trails to open new meridians and break through new acupoints. But that required reference material from other knowledge systems. Public libraries didn't have the information he needed. Still, his current technique was sufficient to support his cultivation. With the help of the innate soul pearl, which remolded his meridians and nurtured his soul power, he had made up for his innate deficiencies. That was one of the key reasons his soul power had increased so quickly. Gaining 5 levels in a year was partly due to this foundational repair. By his own estimate, his current cultivation speed was comparable to someone with innate soul power at level 7. That was an astonishing achievement. If his technique could be perfected and made broadly applicable, it could revolutionize the world of soul masters. Looking at Qian Renxue, who was staring at him with her mouth slightly open, Lin Feng gave a faint smile. He gently moved the small hand in his grasp and asked softly. So? Want to learn? Qian Renxue snapped back to reality, her palm tingling with an odd sensation. She quickly pulled her hand away and glared at him. They stared at each other, wide-eyed. In the end, Qian Renxue was the first to look away. This guy is actually kind of good-looking. Ahem. I, the great Miss Qian, will grant you the honor of teaching me. Lin Feng chuckled softly. He didn't expect Qian Renxue to have such a tsundere streak, kind of cute, actually. No problem, but I have a condition. Your family is high up in the Spirit Hall, right? Help me get access to the scripture pavilion, and I'll teach you. Qian Renxue waved dismissively. That's easy, just leave it to me. But. She puffed out her cheeks angrily. I thought you wanted to be my friend and were teaching me out of kindness. Turns out you want compensation? Lin Feng shrugged. Oh, my lady, why else do you think I've been researching soul power meridians? I've got nothing right now, of course I need to hustle for resources. But hey, I do want to be your friend. Do you? Seeing Lin Feng extend his hand, Qian Renxue tried hard to suppress the smile tugging at the corners of her mouth and shook it. Alright then. From now on, we're friends. Inside the Douluo hall, beneath the angelic statue, sat a figure in meditation. A golden aura shimmered around him. A year ago, after Qian Renxue awakened her martial spirit, he had received divine inheritance messages. As the grand worship and final step of the divine trial, he was already prepared to give his life to leave behind the best resources as a sacrifice for Qian Renxue's future. He had decided to remain in the Douluo hall for cultivation, maintaining his peak state. Grandpa. Grandpa. I need your help with something. Qian Douluo's stern face lit up with a brilliant smile as he quickly got up and patted her on the head. What's wrong, Xue? Did your father mess up again and make you upset? Tell Grandpa I'll go teach him a lesson. Qian Renxue shook her head. Nope. Grandpa, I found a genius. Oh? Someone good enough to get such high praise from my little Xue? Qian Douluo was surprised. Given her innate soul power level of 20 and her proud nature, anyone who earned her recognition had to be truly exceptional. Humphrey. She went on to describe Lin Feng and his request in detail. The more Qian Douluo listened, the more amazed he became. Such a creative theory came from a 7-year-old boy. Definitely a genius, brilliant ideas and the courage to act on them. He grew a little excited. If Qian Renxue was telling the truth, then the future of the Spirit Hall might just gain another foundational pillar. Just as he was about to ask more questions, Qian Renxue continued talking. He's really amazing, but kind of dense. I always have to be the one keeping the conversation going. It's so annoying. Still, he's alright, I guess. His personality's pretty decent. He's just barely worthy of being my friend. Seeing the smile naturally appear on her face, Qian Douluo's heart skipped a beat. Why did he suddenly feel a little uneasy? Xue. This Lin Feng is a girl, right? Qian Renxue looked at him in shock. Grandpa, what are you talking about? With a name like Lin Feng, obviously he's a boy. Qian Dailiu let it go. Well, they're still kids anyway, what could possibly happen? He gave a dry cough. Haha, Grandpa was just mistaken. Since your father's not in Spirit City right now, I'll send someone to inform him. In the meantime, take this token and give it to that Lin Feng kid. Can his technique be shared yet? Qian Renxue accepted the token. It was simple and ancient, with only one engraved word, soul. She shook her head slightly. He said his current path only works for himself. Also, he relies on his martial spirit to explore his own meridians. So, it's not ready to be taught to others yet. Qian Dailiu stroked his chin thoughtfully. He nodded. It made sense. Developing a technique like that couldn't happen overnight, especially when the creator was just 7 years old. Support-type martial spirits that purify and nourish the body are rare, but the research institute still has a few. I'll have Jair organize a study group. Okay, Grandpa, I'm heading out. Watching Qian Renxue turn to leave the moment she got the token, Qian Dailiu twitched at the corner of his mouth. Go on, Gswer. Just don't reveal your martial spirit yet. Got it, Grandpa? She ran down the mountain without even turning back. Qian Dailiu shook his head and whispered a command. Sting back, go keep an eye on Gswer. Also, get me all the info on this Lin Feng kid. Set up his housing and supplies. Yes, Grand Worship. When Lin Feng got the token, he was overjoyed. He hadn't expected Qian Dailiu to grant him access to the scripture pavilion so easily. It was clear that the man held him in high regard. Yep, having a rich little lady as a friend really was the best. Ahem. Qian Renxue looked at Lin Feng fiddling with the token non-stop, a little annoyed. She'd gone out of her way to get it for him, and all he did was play with it. Sorry. Thanks, Miss Qian. Lin Feng scratched his head awkwardly. Good, at least you have some conscience. Now come on, explain that meditation technique upgrade. I'm very interested. Chapter 4, Qian Dailiu arrives a year later, in one of the rooms of the Spirit Hall's library. Sunlight streamed through the window, casting a gentle glow on the boy's face, warm and radiant. His features were sharp and calm under the light, and there was a trace of puzzlement between his brows as he rubbed his chin, deep in thought over the book before him. A girl sat quietly to the side, resting her chin on her hand, simply watching the boy think. Suddenly, a soft laugh escaped her lips. Qian Renxue smiled. I've got it. Lin Feng clapped his hands, realization dawning across his face. What is it, Zhao Feng? Tell me. Qian Renxue blinked her eyes, inching closer. I was thinking. What if the key lies in the spirit rings? Spirit rings are the cornerstone of spirit energy and techniques. Why do they always manifest outside the body on the martial spirit? Since a martial spirit is part of the body, then logically, the spirit ring should also be able to exist inside. The meridians serve as channels for spirit energy, just like the spirit rings store and channel it. There has to be a deeper connection. Maybe. Those legendary techniques, ring explosion, ring fusion, they might all be related. His eyes sparkled. Lin Feng felt he was onto something important. By now, he had absorbed his first 100-year spirit ring, reaching level 11. Despite his progress, his research into spirit energy routes had hit a wall. Reconstructing the meridians internally and shaping a new path was proving far more complex than expected. He had rebuilt his foundation using internal cultivation, breaking the natural limit that once capped him at Spirit Elder due to his initial level 1 innate spirit power. But this wasn't his ultimate goal. Even with the help of the innate soul refining art, his current growth couldn't match the pace of someone born with full innate power. Worse yet, his technique wasn't universal. His personal case wasn't enough to build a repeatable method. There was still a long road ahead. The innate soul pearl played a crucial role in his development, and as of now, there was no known substitute for it across the continent. If spirit rings are the essence of soul power and meridians are its riverbed, then combining the two, storing the spirit rings within the body, might allow the power to flow along the most fitting route. After all, a spirit ring is merely an enhancement to the martial spirit, which itself is part of the body. So, what if we move the spirit ring somewhere else? Hearing Lin Feng's muttering, Qian Renxue suddenly panicked. Zhao Feng. What are you thinking? You can't just manifest a spirit ring inside your body. Do you know how terrifying the energy inside a ring is? Our bodies can't handle that. Please snap out of it. Don't mess with things that could kill you. She shook his head so hard it made him dizzy. Stop, Xiaoxu. I'm feeling sick. You're too strong. Sorry. She quickly let go, realizing she had accidentally used her spirit power. As a spirit elder, that could definitely hurt Lin Feng. Rubbing his temple, Lin Feng teased her. What, worried I might die? Humphrey. As if. I just don't want my friend turning out to be some idiot with a death wish. Qian Renxue averted her gaze. Lin Feng smiled. Her personality hadn't changed, still the same. He wondered when that might shift. Relax. I'm not reckless. A mighty river can surge with power, but it ultimately flows into the sea. Spirit power is like water. Yes, the energy within a ring is overwhelming, but if I build the proper dams, widen the channels, and guide it through new tributaries, I can handle it. Don't forget, my martial spirit was practically made for this. Qian Renxue stared at him, stunned. She remembered his first spirit skill, Breath of Life. It was a healing type ability, but unusually powerful, almost rivaling the legendary Nine-Hearted Begonia. Especially in meridian repair, it worked wonders. Unless a vital channel was destroyed, it could heal almost anything. It was only a matter of time. That meant Lin Feng could recklessly experiment with his meridians, and as long as the damage wasn't fatal, he'd recover with a bit of rest. And with his martial spirit naturally refining his energy and nurturing his channels, it was as if he was meant to develop a new cultivation method. Qian Renxue bit her lip. After a year together, she understood when Lin Feng made up his mind about something, it was nearly impossible to stop him. Especially this was his dream. Fine. But can I ask you something? From now on, whenever you experiment with your training, do it during the day. And call me, okay? Her voice was soft, almost pleading. Lin Feng understood immediately. She wanted to arrange help behind-the-scenes backup, just in case something went wrong and he got hurt. His eyes softened. Okay. No problem. I promise. I believe in you. You will succeed. Qian Renxue breathed a quiet sigh of relief and changed the subject. Just then, a calm voice echoed through the room. Hey kid, mind if an old man joins you for a chat? Qian Renxue's eyes widened. She instantly pulled away from Lin Feng and nervously looked toward the door. Gee, Grandpa. What are you doing here? Qian Douluo sighed, feigning irritation. Came to meet the little genius you've been going on and on about. What, not happy to see me? Oh, Grandpa. Qian Renxue ran over and shook his arm. Of course I'm happy. It's just, you didn't say you were coming, so I was a little surprised. Qian Douluo's face broke into a warm smile, suddenly gentle. Alright. Grandpa was wrong. I should have told you in advance. Qian Renxue shot Lin Feng a playful wink. Lin Feng greets the Grand Priest. Seeing the boy bow respectfully, Qian Douluo looked surprised. He glanced at Qian Renxue, who simply shook her head. Qian Douluo nodded. Get up. You're sharp. Figured out Xiaoxu's identity? I dare not claim credit. Xiaoxu never displayed her martial spirit, yet she carried the aura of holiness and authority, clearly someone from the upper echelon of Spirit Hall. And she casually obtained a library access token. Considering her mannerisms and status, it wasn't hard to guess. Qian Renxue pouted. Stupid Lin Feng, so you knew all along and still pretended with me all this time? Was it fun? Lin Feng looked guilty. My fault. But you were hiding your identity too. I couldn't just call you out when you hadn't revealed anything. Humphrey. Well, I'm mad. You figure out how to make it up to me. She turned away with arms crossed. Qian Douluo watched the whole exchange with amusement. Was it just him, or was he a little extra here? Chapter 5, A Conversation with Qian Douluo. Alright, Xiaoxu, save the bickering for later. I am here to ask Lin Feng something. Let's all sit down. Okay. Qian Renxue glanced at Lin Feng and eventually sat down beside him at the table. She gave him a little kick under the table to show her displeasure. Then she whispered, My name is Qian Renxue. You better remember it. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. Qian Douluo took a seat across the table. He glanced at the piles of books and notes on the table, nodding inwardly. As expected of a genius who managed to break through his innate cultivation limitations. This boy is truly extraordinary. Sharp mind, solid temperament, even his looks are above average. Maybe. Watching the two whispering, Qian Douluo suddenly thought of Bibi Dong. The scene before him was so reminiscent of the past. Ridiculous. She actually fell for that waste Yu Zhao Gang. The holy maiden of the Spirit Hall couldn't even tell he was plagiarizing their own teachings, and she supported him? Thinking of the disgraceful actions of Qian Xunji, he felt a wave of frustration. Ahem. Xiaofeng, just now I heard you mention the idea of integrating spirit rings into the body and opening new meridians. Is that right? Grandpa, you were eavesdropping on us. Qian Renxue said in protest. Qian Douluo awkwardly stroked his beard. Well, Xiaoxu. Grandpa didn't do it on purpose. You know, the higher one's cultivation, the stronger the senses become. I wasn't even at the door yet, and your voices just naturally reached my ears. Really? Qian Renxue looked at Lin Feng, puzzled. Lin Feng stole a glance at Qian Dailiu, definitely not someone he could afford to offend, and answered solemnly, "Yes, that's how it works." Qian Dailiu nodded along. "Oh, then I misunderstood, Grandpa," Qian Renxue said, pretending to look apologetic. "No worries. Let's get back to the tropics, Xiaofeng." Lin Feng thought for a moment, then replied, "Yes, that's what I was thinking. But I haven't begun any practical experimentation yet." Qian Dailiu waved his hand, and 2 books appeared on the table, one thick, one thinner. "This one is my research on the Hashan sex explosive ring technique. While the exact principles aren't fully understood, it details the soul power patterns and bodily changes during its use. The other book is my earlier research on ring fusion. It's a bit easier to learn than the explosion technique, but it has side effects that impact long-term cultivation, so not many people study it." Lin Feng's eyes flickered as he looked at the books, but he didn't speak immediately. Under the table, Qian Renxue poked him with her finger and whispered, "Take them already. Grandpa's being generous, why aren't you moving?" She doesn't seriously think Qian Dailiu can't hear her, does she? Lin Feng scratched his head and took the books. "All right then. Thank you, Grand Worshipper. May I ask, what do you need me to do in return?" Qian Dailiu chuckled and tapped Lin Feng on the forehead. "You little rascal, such a young age, yet already so cautious. You're right, I do want something in exchange." He glanced at Qian Renxue, then spoke slowly, "It's nothing major. I want you to swear allegiance to the Spirit Hall. With your current talent, you're already comparable to someone with innate spirit power of level 8. Such brilliance. I believe you may very well create a groundbreaking cultivation method. If you succeed, make sure to report to Xiaoxu first. Don't rush into publishing it. Understood?" He kept his tone light, likely because Qian Renxue was there, and he didn't feel the need to be threatening. Lin Feng nodded and took the oath. Qian Renxue saw this and felt a little upset. It felt like Lin Feng was negotiating a business deal with her family. She glared at Qian Dailiu. Qian Dailiu pretended not to notice and sipped his tea. "I previously had the Research Institute study you, but they couldn't make much progress. I suspect the issue lies with your martial soul. Going forward, you should focus your research in that direction." Lin Feng nodded. He had come to the same conclusion. "I'll also assign a spirit Douluo to act as your mentor and protector during cultivation." "Ling Yuan?" "Present." Lin Feng looked up and saw a graceful figure standing beside the table. She appeared about 27 or 28 years old, tall and slender, dressed in a flowing black gown. Her elegant and cool beauty carried an air of freedom. Long hair fell to her waist, and her robe barely hid her curvaceous figure. Lin Feng couldn't help but stare a bit. This was the first mature woman with such presence he'd seen in this world. Clang. Qian Renxue had kicked him under the table again, annoyed that he was staring. But she misjudged the force and hit the table leg instead. She lowered her head in embarrassment, her ears turning red as she looked around. "Why'd you kick me?" Qian Renxue stared at him in disbelief, then glanced at Ling Yuan and her grandfather. Seeing the odd looks on their faces, her blush deepened. Gritting her teeth, she growled, "Lin Feng, you just wait." Then she ran out of the room in a panic, leaving the other 3 staring in silence. PFFT. Ling Yuan couldn't help but chuckle. Ahem. Qian Dailiu sighed inwardly but broke the awkward silence. He looked at Lin Feng with a complex expression and said, "This is Spirit Douluo Ling Yuan. Her martial soul is a fire-type avian, with a trace of phoenix essence. The phoenix is reborn through fire, its source never extinguished. It's somewhat similar to your concept of meridian reconstruction. She should be helpful." Lin Feng cupped his fists. "Greetings, Senior Ling Yuan." Ling Yuan nodded in acknowledgement. Qian Dailiu stood up, threw Lin Feng a storage ring, and glared at him. "Make sure you apologize to Xue. If I see her upset again. Don't blame me for being harsh." Lin Feng blinked, puzzled. "What did I do wrong, Senior? Please enlighten me." "You." Qian Dailiu was at a loss for words. What was he supposed to say? That Qian Renxue got jealous, got caught, and ran off in embarrassment? Kids will be kids, and saying it out loud would just be silly. Seeing Lin Feng's genuinely confused face made him even more annoyed. With a huff, he stormed out. "You brat." Haha. After Qian Dailiu left, Ling Yuan finally laughed aloud. It was the first time she'd seen the Grand Worshipper flustered. And in front of an 8-year-old, no less. She looked at Lin Feng with interest. "Aren't you going to apologize to your ahem, good friend?" Lin Feng packed the books into his storage ring, only about 5 cubic meters in space, and sighed. "I don't even know why she's mad. I didn't do anything, did I?" Ling Yuan wagged her finger at him. TSK. A girl's heart is hard to read. You'd best go after her quickly, otherwise, it won't be something a simple apology can fix. "All right then. Thanks for the tip, Sister Ling Yuan. As Lin Feng left, Ling Yuan's eyes flickered with a glint. Is this kid's research really that extraordinary? For the Grand Worshipper to let the young miss get so close to him. How strange. Chapter 6, Qian Xunji's death. Qian Renxue's night visit. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, another year had passed. That night, Lin Feng sat cross-legged as usual, cultivating. He hadn't forgotten his agreement with Qian Renxue. During the day, he would focus on constructing his meridians, and at night, he would cultivate his soul power. Soul power surged within him, washing over his body repeatedly along the bridges he had built. The innate treasure pearl can now manifest within my body. But where should I set its foundation? Lin Feng had two ideas. First, the heart. As the central hub of blood flow, all soul power must pass through it. With an existing central system, future operations would be easier. Placing the treasure pearl here would offer protection, but it also posed risks. Second, the Danshan. The place where soul power was most concentrated, the very center of the human body. Choosing this location would best support the shaping of future soul channels and the development of unique cultivation methods. Alright, I'll place it in the Danshan. He glanced out the window. It was time to rest. Lin Feng lay down and closed his eyes. Xiaoxu hasn't been seen these past few days. I wonder what she's been up to. Soon, his breathing steadied. Click. The door creaked open, pushed by small hands. A pair of sapphire eyes peeked in, filled with nervousness and caution. Seeing Lin Feng fast asleep, Qian Renxue tiptoed inside and gently closed the door. Her bare feet touched the ground as she crept to Lin Feng's bedside. Bathed in moonlight, she studied his face closely. Now 9 years old, his features had begun to show signs of handsomeness and determination. Qian Renxue stared blankly. Tears welled up again at the corners of her reddened eyes. A few days ago, she had personally heard from Bibi Dong that Qian Xunji was dead. That crazed, gleeful smile on Bibi Dong's face haunted her. It was like a dagger thrust into her heart. She didn't understand why her mother had always shown her nothing but disdain. She had never met her father, and now he was dead. Yet her mother laughed. These past days, Qian Renxue had sat in a daze at the Douluo hall. Not even her grandfather's comfort could reach her. She only cried. One parent dead. The other calling her a bastard. For a 9-year-old, it was a crushing blow. Suddenly, she realized soul talent wasn't everything. What did being innately level 20 matter, when her father was gone and her mother had never once cared? So that night, Qian Renxue thought of Lin Feng, of the more than 2 years they had spent together. He sometimes annoyed her, but always surprised her. He was her first real friend, and more than that, a mentor. From cultivation methods to soul knowledge, daily life, and practical skills, he taught her everything, leaving nothing out. Qian Renxue leaned closer, her delicate face illuminated by moonlight. Her gaze turned dreamy, her cheeks still stained with tears. Softly, slowly, she brushed her hand across Lin Feng's cheek and whispered, "Xiaofen. It's okay. I still have you. You're mine." Her eyes shimmered with a strange light, as if she'd made a decision. Fixating on his lips, she hesitated. Then, trembling, leaned in and gave a feather-light kiss, barely a touch. Her face flushed deep red, her breath quickened. She traced her finger across her lips, a flicker of obsession in her eyes. Then, channeling her soul power, she lifted the blanket, slipped in beside Lin Feng, and curled up next to him, letting his scent lull her into a peaceful sleep. Ling Yuan stood frozen in place, drenched in sweat. Across from her, Qian Douluo sat expressionless. In her mind, she cursed Lin Feng 1,000 times. Why did that brat have to fall asleep now of all times? Fine, you're asleep, but what am I supposed to do? Grand worship. This. Qian Douluo sighed heavily, loosening his clenched fists. Maybe it's a good thing to let Xue release some emotions here with Lin Feng. What happened to Xunji hit her far too hard. That crazy woman Bibi Dong. His eyes darkened. Ever since she returned from the slaughter city, Bibi Dong had become a different person. She'd sealed away all emotion, consumed by negative thoughts, silently lurking until the moment Qian Xunji was gravely injured. Then, she bared her fangs. And Qian Douluo still couldn't bring himself to strike her down. Not only because she was Xue's mother or because Xunji had owed her, but also because Wuhan Hall needed a new pope, and Bibi Dong was the saintess. Any lingering guilt he once held toward her had now vanished. This past year, what's your impression of Lin Feng? Ling Yuan was startled. He's not pulling the young miss out? Not daring to overthink it, she quickly bowed. Reporting to the Grand Worship, Lin Feng has spent most of the year exploring soul meridians. In theoretical research, no one can match his talent. He hasn't neglected his soul cultivation either. He's reached level 14, climbing from level 1 in just 3 years. He rivals the top talents in Spirit Hall. Moreover, I believe Lin Feng has an exceptional temperament. He is capable of bearing great responsibilities. Qian Dailiu laughed. You don't need to praise him that much. I've been observing him myself and know what kind of person he is. Ling Yuan blushed, falling silent. Qian Dailiu looked toward Lin Feng's room and mused aloud, continue guarding the two of them. You don't need to participate in tomorrow's mission. Yes, as you command. Then, unable to contain her curiosity, Ling Yuan asked, Grand Worship, how will you handle the Haotian sect? Qian Dailiu's eyes sharpened. Even if Bibi Dong had played her final card, Tang Hao's crimes were beyond forgiveness. Tang Chen, don't blame me for being ruthless. The Haotian sect must pay the price. Chase them out 8,000 li. Let the continent have no place for them to stand. After Qian Dailiu left, Ling Yuan couldn't help but glance toward Lin Feng's room. There, Qian Renxue curled up, lying quietly beside Lin Feng. Feeling cold in her sleep, she shifted closer. Instinctively seeking warmth, she ended up pressed against his chest. Lin Feng, subconsciously sensing something, wrapped his arm around her back. This brat. A cold breeze passed. Ling Yuan shivered, a mixture of frustration and sympathy rising in her chest. Hopefully Lin Feng can help the young miss through this. Sigh. The next morning, Lin Feng awoke under a strange pressure. Something heavy weighed on his chest, making it hard to breathe. So heavy. And smells nice? Qian Renxue? What is she doing here? And sleeping on top of me? Are Ling Yuan and Qian Dailiu out of their minds? He looked down to find Qian Renxue curled up against him, her arms wrapped around his body, tear stains still on her cheeks, sorrow etched between her brows. Lin Feng froze, a wave of tenderness washing over him. Gently, he stroked her hair. His touch was feather-light, yet even so, Qian Renxue's body tensed. Her ears flushed red, and her breathing turned ragged. You're awake? Chapter 7, Stamp. Now you're mine. Qian Renxue didn't say a word. Her eyelashes trembled slightly, eyes still closed. Would you like to tell me what happened? I'll listen to whatever you want to say. Qian Renxue pursed her lips, her mind in turmoil. What was she even thinking yesterday? How did she end up in his bed? And now she's even leaning against him. So embarrassing. Knowing she couldn't keep up the act, Qian Renxue opened her eyes and struggled to sit up, turning her back to Lin Feng and lying beside him. Her voice was hoarse, choked with emotion. Zhao Feng, I sobbed. She hastily wiped the corners of her eyes, but couldn't stop the tears. Even though she didn't want Lin Feng to see her cry, she just couldn't hold it in. Sob. Huh? Qian Renxue froze. Lin Feng had wrapped his arms around her from behind. The warmth at her waist made her feel something strange stir in her heart. If saying it out loud is too painful, then don't say it. But whenever you need it, you're always welcome to come and talk to me. Qian Renxue stopped crying. Though her eyes were still glistening with tears, she managed to choke out between sobs, Zhao Feng, my father. He's gone. Lin Feng was stunned. Thinking back to how she had disappeared the past couple of days, it must have been because of this. He wanted to say something, but didn't know what. Zhao Feng, I should go. Grandpa will worry if he finds out I'm not in my room. Xiaoxu, She quickly fixed her messy hair, rubbed her cheeks, and got out of bed in a rush. Lin Feng got up as well, watching her with concern. Suddenly, he reached out and grabbed her hand. Come on, let's freshen up and get some breakfast. Neither of them brought up what happened last night. They both silently agreed not to. Qian Renxue took a sip of soy milk, but today it tasted strangely complex. Sometimes bitter, sometimes sweet, sometimes utterly bland. Frustrated, she set down the porcelain bowl and sighed. Zhao Feng, take a walk with me. Sure. The two walked side by side through the halls of Spirit Hall. Today, the place felt especially empty, with far fewer people around than usual. You noticed it too? Noticed what? Qian Renxue kicked a small stone aside. There are fewer people outside. She stopped walking, gazing at Lin Feng with a deep, distant look. Grandpa grounded me here. I couldn't even watch my enemy fall with my own eyes. Zhao Feng, tell me, if I wanted to destroy a top-tier force, how should I do it? Before Lin Feng could reply, she continued, I need more power. One person's strength isn't enough. Even Spirit Hall as it is now isn't enough. There was an unfamiliar gleam in her eyes. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. Is this little girl going dark? Xiaoxu, the Grand Priest is just trying to protect you. Focus on cultivation. Once you've got real strength, then you'll be able to do more. Don't let hatred become your obsession. It'll twist your heart. Qian Renxue let out a soft laugh. I know all that. It just still hurts. She wiped her eyes and turned around. I'm leaving for now. You won't see me for a few days. I need to sort myself out. I don't want to cry in front of you anymore. All right. Lin Feng watched her fading figure with a trace of worry in his heart. Suddenly, Qian Renxue turned around, moved by spirit power, and appeared before him in a flash. She lightly tapped his lips. Lin Feng stared at her in shock, cheeks blushing. Even though they had shared a bed the night before, they hadn't actually done anything that intimate. But now, was that their first kiss just like that? Qian Renxue smiled brightly, and whispered softly in his ear, "Stamp, now you're mine, Zhao Feng." With a wink and a sparkle in her eye, she gracefully turned and left, leaving Lin Feng standing there in a daze, touching the spot on his lips where she had kissed him. Lucky brat. He actually landed the young miss. Ling Yuan sighed softly, a bit envious of youth. She had always focused on cultivation thanks to her talents, and now she was still single. Maybe I should try finding someone too? Ling Yuan thought for a moment of the people around her with matching strength. There were too many. Those of a similar age lacked the talent. And the rare ones who had both weren't good-looking enough. TCH, what a pain. Better off single. She shook her head and glanced back only to see Lin Feng still touching his lips in a daze, which made her scowl. In a flash, she appeared in front of him and tugged his ear. "You little brat, stop daydreaming. Time for your research." Lin Feng helplessly brushed her hand away and walked toward the private chamber in the scripture pavilion. Someone's getting impatient. I'm not telling you, brat. Life in the scripture pavilion was getting a bit dull. With someone suddenly missing by his side, Lin Feng felt a bit off. He looked at the innate pearl in his hand. Wisps of energy flowed within it. This martial soul contained immense vitality. The aura it released was warm and refreshing. Qian Renxue often asked to borrow it as a pillow. From an elemental perspective, Lin Feng's first soul skill came from the 300-plus-year evergreen vinewood attribute. In traditional medicine, liver corresponds to wood, heart to fire, spleen to earth, lungs to metal, kidneys to water. Wood generates fire, fire generates earth, earth generates metal, metal generates water, water generates wood. Lin Feng planned to use these 5 organs as the center of his early-stage soul meridian network. Once the entire system was developed, he could use these as keynodes for circulating energy throughout his body. So now, he had begun experimenting by integrating the soul ring into the liver's meridians. He had deliberately chosen a lower-year soul ring, because the higher the year, the more energy it contains and the greater the risk. This was just an experiment, there was no need to gamble big. And if the soul ring shattered, it sheer didn't matter anyway. Sister Ling Yuan? I'm ready to integrate my first soul ring. A tall figure appeared. Ling Yuan frowned. So soon? You're confident? Lin Feng nodded. Ring integration is just a type of soul power compression. Although shattering a ring isn't the same as just exploding it for energy, the principles are traceable. I've already figured out everything I need to. My innate pearl can move freely inside my body and protect my meridians and blood. If you're still worried, Sister Ling Yuan, you can go get a few more healing-type soul masters. Ling Yuan nodded. Wait a bit, then. Soon after, she returned with an elegant female soul master and signaled Lin Feng to begin. Lin Feng recognized the woman. It was a teacher from the academy, Yi Zixin, a rank 73 soul sage, martial soul, narcissus flower. Meanwhile, high in the sky, hidden from view, another figure appeared. It was Qian Dailiu, having received Ling Yuan's message. A pale yellow soul ring circled around the innate pearl, then was drawn into Lin Feng's right hand. With a flip of his left hand, he sent the pearl into his liver. A pure white light illuminated his body. Ling Yuan and Yi Zixin were stunned. Lin Feng softly said, "Shatter." Ping. A crisp sound echoed like shattering glass. The soul ring had lost its solid form. From a water-like ring, it turned into a misty, expanded form. Cough cough. Lin Feng clenched his brows, enduring the pain of the soul ring's breakdown as he slowly pulled it into his body. Chapter 8, Unbalanced Construction. 3 insights. He guided the energy from the spirit ring into his liver, condensing it anew. From a ring-shaped form, it began reshaping into a soul vein, a conduit for channeling soul power. Under the faint white glow, the innate pearl flickered steadily. His internal flesh and blood repeatedly broke down and regenerated. His meridians tore apart, only to be reforged again. PFFT blood spilled from the corner of Lin Feng's mouth. Blue veins bulged on his forehead as his body trembled uncontrollably, yet his eyes shone with determination. The gaseous form of the soul ring within him pulsed, expanding and contracting as if struggling to return to its original ring shape. But Lin Feng gave it no chance. Under the guidance of the innate pearl, he slowly dispersed the energy, wrapping it around his liver and forging a new internal node. Yi Zixin stood stunned, unable to comprehend the transformation taking place inside the boy. To her, Lin Feng's stomach looked like it held an inflating and deflating balloon, disturbingly abnormal, and blood occasionally leaked out. Even Ling Yuan was pacing anxiously. "Xiaofeng, should I heal you?" "No. Not now. Healing would disrupt the internal balance I'm forming." Lin Feng spoke deliberately, word by word, then closed his eyes and focused fully on forging the first soul vein. No one knew how much time had passed. The night faded away. A faint purple glow crept over the horizon as the light of dawn rose. Dong, a bell chimed within Lin Feng's body. He opened his eyes utterly exhausted, yet incomparably clear-headed. Qian Douluo let out a long sigh of relief, smiled in satisfaction, and turned to leave for the hall of Douluo. At last, Lin Feng's body collapsed. Wush Lingyuan caught him in her arms. As she looked down at the youth in front of her, an overwhelming sense of admiration filled her heart. It had been 6 hours since Lin Feng began forging his soul vein. And for 6 uninterrupted hours, he had endured the agony of his flesh and soul veins breaking and regenerating. Lingyuan asked herself, if she were his age, could she have endured this? If they had lived in the same generation, she would no doubt have been drawn to him. You did it. Didn't you? Her voice trembled slightly as she gently wiped the blood and sweat from Lin Feng's body. Lin Feng nodded slowly, barely able to move. Once he confirmed it was safe to proceed, Lingyuan let out a deep breath and signaled Yizixin. Yizixin blinked as if waking from a dream and hurried forward to begin treatment. Lin Feng, regaining a little strength, tried to sit up only for Lingyuan to press him down firmly. He ended up resting on her lap. No moving. Lie still. Faced with the soft warmth right in front of him, Lin Feng's thoughts turned chaotic. He squirmed slightly, then gave up resisting and simply turned his face away. Don't pressure yourself too much. You're already doing more than enough. When it comes to theoretical breakthroughs like this, take your time. Lingyuan leaned down and spoke softly, gently caressing his face, her affection clear in every gesture. Her warm breath caressed his cheek. Lin Feng gritted his teeth silently. A low, satisfied hum escaped him. Wrapped in softness, and with something distinctly large pressing against the back of his head, Lin Feng found himself caught between embarrassment and bliss. Yizixin gave them an odd look. From her angle, their position seemed strange. Especially with Lingyuan leaning over him like that, it almost looked like. Yizixin blushed. Maybe I've been reading too many romance novels lately. Once Lin Feng's complexion returned to normal, Lingyuan gave Yizixin a few quiet instructions and helped carry Lin Feng back to his room. There was no worry of Yizixin leaking anything she was assigned to him by Qian Douluo himself, as a trusted healing soul master. The two of them relaxed on a sofa. How's your body feeling? Lin Feng quietly examined himself. The first vital node has been completed. The soul ring has been transformed into a soul vein. I can already begin constructing internal soul power pathways. With the support of the innate pearl, I estimate that this single soul vein will enhance my cultivation speed by at least 20%. Lingyuan's eyes widened. The soul ring is gone? Lin Feng nodded and summoned the innate pearl. Its glow remained steady, but the 100-year yellow soul ring that once surrounded his martial spirit had vanished. This is... Lin Feng smiled faintly. No need to worry. It became a soul vein. I can still use my soul skill breath of life. White light shimmered in his hand, bringing with it a familiar sensation. Lingyuan, almost instinctively, reached out and took his hand. It really works? That's incredible. Lin Feng looked down at their hands, puzzled. Why is she being so affectionate today? She's not usually like this. Can you let go now, sis? Lingyuan just shook her head. Seeing the flush creeping up his ears, her eyes sparkled with mischief. Nope. You haven't fully recovered. I need to monitor your condition closely. Lin Feng's mouth twitched. After a pause, he said, this first stage of research is complete. I can report it to the Grand Priest now. The path I'm exploring even without transforming the soul ring can still circulate normal soul power. Really? Lingyuan lit up. She knew how game-changing this could be. If Lin Feng wasn't just a special case, if this method could be generalized, it would send shockwaves through the soul master world. Yes. Though the effect is weaker, probably only a 5% increase in cultivation speed. That's still huge. Lingyuan's heartbeat quickened. As someone who had broken through to Soul Douluo, she understood just how significant even a 5% boost could be. Over a span of 100 years, it would be the equivalent of 105 years of training. That extra 5 years could be the edge needed for a breakthrough. And Lin Feng was just getting started. This was only the beginning. She looked at him, eyes full of anticipation. Xiaofeng, teach me. Her voice was soft and playful, completely different from her usual composed tone, and it tugged directly at his heartstrings. Lin Feng shivered. His mouth opened on its own. All right. Lingyuan smiled triumphantly. Looking at him, she felt an odd satisfaction, as if nurturing a future emperor. She closed her eyes and activated her soul power to explore the path he had opened. Lin Feng furrowed his brow, deep in thought. There were 3 things he hadn't told her yet. First, Transforming a soul ring into a soul vein allowed it to be nourished by the innate pearl. As his soul power grew, the soul vein would grow with it. This meant the original ring-based power could surpass its original age limit. In time, the strength of the soul vein could far exceed its starting point. Second, the vital node built in his liver wasn't perfectly stable. After all, this was an artificial path carved within the body. The soul ring's energy couldn't fully settle within the node. To solve this, Lin Feng had two ideas: use a celestial herb from the ice and fire yin-yang well to enhance his physical foundation and stabilize the soul vein. Or, let time do the work, allowing the vein to slowly adapt and integrate. But this method was slow, and Lin Feng didn't like wasting time. Third, when the soul ring shattered and was recondensed, Lin Feng gained profound insights into how soul rings were structured. He began to suspect, maybe soul rings didn't have to come from soul beasts at all. After all, deities could bestow God-given soul rings, those weren't made by killing beasts. Maybe one day, the technique to self-condense soul rings could be fully unraveled. Chapter 9, A Mission? I don't approve. After documenting the results of his first stage of research, Lin Feng finally relaxed a little and decided to go find Qian Renxue. These past few days, the Soul Master world had been shaken, and the Spirit Hall was overflowing with people. First came Qian Xunji's death. Spirit Hall held a massive funeral ceremony, and under intense pressure, the Clear Sky clan officially announced their retreat from the world. Then came the sudden ascension of Bibi Dong as the new Supreme Pontiff. It was like tossing a boulder into a lake, setting off 1,000 ripples. No one expected the two major forces, once on friendly terms, to suddenly tear into each other. After all, the upper echelons of the major sects all knew Tang Chen and Qian Dailiu had a decent relationship. Rumors swirled of some romantic entanglements, but to most, the two were more like kindred spirits, powerhouses who admired one another. Did you hear? The Spirit Awakening ceremony got moved up by a whole month. It's happening in just a few days. Huh? Why's that? Word is the new Supreme Pontiff wants to choose a highly talented disciple from this batch. She's looking for a candidate for the next Holy Maiden. Oh, I see. A shame my kid's too old now. TCH. Like your granddaughter's innate soul power of level 5 would have stood a chance. And I heard it's only open to commoners this time. Even a level 10 wouldn't qualify if they come from a noble family. Walking toward the Douluo hall, Lin Feng overheard all kinds of chatter. So Bibi Dong was ushering in a new era? The former Holy Maiden was now Pope, and she was already laying the groundwork for the next generation, selecting a successor to stabilize the hearts of Spirit Hall's people. Taking such a bold move right after ascending classic Bibi Dong. No wonder she would one day bring Spirit Hall to its peak. Too bad she let her guard down in her youth and got played by a scumbag. Stop right there. Where are you from, kid? The Douluo hall is off limits. Just as Lin Feng was about to explain, a breeze carrying the scent of flowers swept past him. I'm with him. We're here on important business to see the Grand Priest. Ling Yuan had appeared at his side, flashing a sweet smile and a wink. The two guards immediately straightened up. Greetings, Elder Ling Yuan. No need for that. Come on, Xiaofan. With a natural grace, Ling Yuan took Lin Feng's hand in hers. Ever since awakening his martial spirit, Lin Feng's development had been unusually fast. Though only 9 years old, he already stood close to 1.6 meters tall, just half a head shorter than Ling Yuan. She was a mature and striking beauty, calm and composed beyond his years. The two walking hand in hand gave off a strangely harmonious vibe. Lin Feng gave her hand a little tug, but she showed no intention of letting go. So, he simply let her hold it. The Douluo Hall, also known as the Hall of Worship, was the highest sacred place on the continent. Built atop a mountain peak, its marble walls inlaid with gold and gemstones gleamed under the sun. The towering dome, the sharp architectural lines, and the thick concentration of light element soul power made the entire building radiate solemn majesty. Meanwhile, Qian Renxue stood bored on the second-floor balcony, watching the view outside. Normally, standing here and overlooking the grandeur of Spirit City would fill her with pride and awe. But right now, she had no mood for any of that. Tossing her book onto the table with a sigh, she pouted. Stupid Xiaofan. I said we wouldn't see each other for a few days, and you really didn't even bother to come find me? Huh? Her eyes lit up. Two familiar figures were walking toward the hall. Wasn't that the very person she'd just been grumbling about? But wait, her expression shifted as they got closer. Her gaze locked onto their hands, still tightly clasped together. And Lin Feng. He actually looked like he was enjoying it. Hey. Qian Renxue gritted her teeth. Her eyes darkened as she stared daggers at Ling Yuan. In her mind, it wasn't Lin Feng with impure thoughts, it had to be that shameless older woman making the first move. Can't find a man of your own, so now you're trying to raise one? Humphrey. Her eyes narrowed. She let out a cold laugh and headed downstairs, taking a seat in a discreet corner of the hall. It was a clever spot. She could clearly see those entering, but no one would spot her until they walked further in. Achoo! Ling Yuan suddenly sneezed, scrunching her nose. Lin Feng raised an eyebrow. Wait. Sold Luos can catch colds? Her cheeks flushed slightly. She shot him a glare. It's allergies. You got a problem with that? It'd be more believable if you said you were allergic to the marble in this building. There aren't even any flowers around. Lin Feng chuckled softly. You little Ling Yuan growled and raised her hand to smack him. So bold now, huh? Ever heard of drifting pollen? Battering like that, they finally arrived at the entrance. As they stepped inside a crisp voice rang through the empty hall. Ling Yuan's eyes snapped to the source, and there was Qian Renxue, sitting with a mischievous grin. And a hint of coldness in her smile. Ling Yuan quickly released Lin Feng's hand and turned her head, pretending to admire the architecture. Zhu? Lin Feng's eyes brightened, and he rushed toward her. Qian Renxue smirked at Ling Yuan before looking away. Ling Yuan pretended not to notice. Arms crossed, Qian Renxue said coldly, so, you do remember I exist? Looks like you've been living the good life lately. Lin Feng froze. What was with the sudden attitude? Weren't you the one who said you'd be gone for a few days? If I'm not welcome, then. Sister Ling Yuan, shall we go? Hey, Qian Renxue clenched her fists, forcing a smile. Wanna say that again? Uh-oh. Lin Feng quickly changed the subject. My first stage of research is complete. Want to hear about it? She blinked, surprised. Already? That fast? Lin Feng pulled a thick notebook from his storage ring. My original notes. They're yours now. She beamed as she took the notebook. The cover had the character Feng engraved on it. With a little Humphrey, she pulled out a pen and added the character Zhu beside it, then gave Ling Yuan a smug glance. Ling Yuan. Flipping through a few pages and recognizing Lin Feng's elegant handwriting, she quickly stored the notebook away. Teach me in person. Sure. Lin Feng grinned. They didn't say much more, but their understanding ran deep. The three ascended to the second floor of the Douluo hall. Grandpa's in seclusion. I'll take you to him later. With Lin Feng's guidance and Ling Yuan assisting with soul power flow, Qian Renxue soon grasped the first pathway of the innate soul refinement technique. Once again, she marveled at Lin Feng's genius, her gaze softening as she stared at him. Then, with a gentler tone, in a few days, I'll be leaving for a while. I've got a mission to carry out. Lin Feng's smile froze. She was going to replace Zhu King in the Heavened Empire? Judging by the timeline, that should be coming up soon. No. I don't agree. His voice was firm. Seeing that she didn't respond, Lin Feng pressed on. You're the heir to the Spirit Hall. A once-in-10,000 years genius with innate level 20 soul power. What kind of mission could possibly be worth you going personally? Don't you know that for soul masters, the years before age 20 are the prime time for growth? With your talent, you could reach the realm of ultimate Douluo in no time. At that point, nothing in this world would be beyond your grasp. Chapter 10, Little Lin Feng, completely in my hands. Qian Renxue lowered her head and said nothing. She knew all of this already. But every time she thought of the argument with her mother that day, a deep sorrow welled up in her chest. Bibi Dong looked on coldly, her scepter slamming into the ground with a loud boom. Call me sister. You're not worthy of calling me by my name. Qian Renxue clenched her fists tightly, her hoarse voice trembling with pain and rage. What did I do wrong? For you to treat me like this, do I have to disappear for you to be happy? Bibi Dong sneered. You didn't do anything wrong. But your very existence is a mistake. Qian Renxue's chest rose and fell violently, fury burning in her eyes. Looking up at the lofty, distant figure of Bibi Dong, rebellion surged in her heart. In your eyes, I'll never be more important than the Pope's throne, right? That's right. Hey. Qian Renxue stared at her for a long time. There was no affection in her eyes, only cold determination. Then, she turned around decisively. Just wait. I'll prove that I surpass you in every way. I'll reject everything about you. I'll take on that mission. A cold wind blew, lifting Qian Renxue's long hair. The vast Pope's hall felt less like a sacred place and more like a suffocating prison. Tears welled up in her eyes and streamed down her face. Her sorrow choked her, and her rage threatened to burst from her chest. She didn't hesitate as she walked away. She knew that this time, she and Bibi Dong were truly, completely estranged. Once her figure vanished from sight, Bibi Dong slowly returned to the Pope's throne and sat down. A strange gleam flickered in her eyes. Her expression shifted erratically, caught between light and shadow. Dark, violent energy began to rise from her body. Bibi Dong trembled slightly, her whole presence distorted by the evil aura. Only after a long time did her eyes regain clarity. She murmured to herself, You can't stay by my side. I'm afraid I won't be able to stop myself from killing you. Qian Renxue shook her head and looked up at Lin Feng. I have to go, Zhao Feng. I have my reasons, can you understand? Seeing the determination in her eyes, Lin Feng paused. He could tell there was a deeper purpose behind her decision to go to heaven. He wasn't strong enough yet to make her stay. He sighed quietly. All right. But we have to keep in touch. And don't slack off on your cultivation. Wasting talent is disgraceful. Qian Renxue giggled. You sound like a parent. Are you sure you're not my guardian or something? Aren't I? I always thought I raised you. You've always been so clueless, always asking me for help. Qian Renxue blushed, puffing her cheeks slightly. Don't be ridiculous. You're not like other people. You've read through all the theory books. Why wouldn't I ask a walking encyclopedia? Sister Ling Yuan? Yes, young master. Qian Renxue's tone softened. While I'm away, I'll have to trouble you to keep an eye on Zhao Feng. As the heir of Spirit Hall, she knew Ling Yuan wouldn't dare cross any lines not with her watching. She was confident in herself. Even though she was still young, hints of her stunning future beauty were already apparent. Her features were exquisite, like a painting, skin like snow, a cold noble air surrounding her since her spirit awakened. Her figure had already started to take shape. In her eyes, as long as Lin Feng wasn't stupid, especially after that kiss the other day, there was no way he could escape her grasp. Yes. Lin Feng looked between the two women a little awkwardly. They were both smiling, but why did he feel a sudden chill? He thought to himself maybe he could convince Qian Renxue to stay. In the end, whether she could go still depended on Qian Daliu's final decision. Bibi Dong had only just taken over and didn't yet have full control over Spirit Hall. With her mind clouded by the Rakshasa god's influence, her condition was unstable and her judgment extreme. That's probably why Qian Daliu decided to send Qian Renxue away. In his eyes, the angel god's inheritance was the true priority. He didn't want to see the mother and daughter hurt each other any further. And with Qian Renxue's innate soul power having 10 divine gifted levels, it was almost certain she was the next angel god. Even if she matured slowly, Qian Daliu wasn't worried about her inheriting the god position. Sending her away to grow, avoiding Bibi Dong, and then bringing her back for the divine trials wasn't a bad plan. But what if there were things that could help her grow faster? What if there was another path? Heaven, huh? Lin Feng nodded to himself. Maybe this was his chance to find Jugubo and collect the immortal herbs early. And since Qian Renxue was heading there was no reason he couldn't go too. And if Jugubo refused to give up the herbs? Well, then he'd get to see just how weak this titled Douluo really was. Though honestly, that seemed unlikely. In the original story, Jugubo was a man of strong principles. He supported Tang San out of gratitude, even sacrificing his life in the end. Yet Tang San didn't seem to leave much for Jugubo or his granddaughter. Jugu Yan's spirit even went extinct later, and the ice fire Yin Yang well became the Tang clan's private garden. Zhao Zhu, can you take me to see the Grand Worshipper? I have something I need to report. Qian Renxue gave him a look, her finger brushing her lips casually. From now on, you should just call him Grandpa, alright? Her gesture made Lin Feng's heart stir involuntarily. Before he could think too much, he nodded like he was under a spell. Far away, beneath the angel statue, Qian Daliu, who'd been secretly eavesdropping, twitched at the corner of his mouth. He regretted letting Qian Renxue get close to Lin Feng in the first place. Great, now his precious granddaughter was being taken. Qian Renxue laughed softly and leaned close to Lin Feng, her breath brushing against his ear, as thanks for those notes. Want another taste? Lin Feng's ears turned red, but he nodded seriously. Qian Renxue, however, blushed even deeper, ears flushed scarlet. But she looked very satisfied with his reaction. Little Lin Feng. You're totally in my hands. Ling Yuan silently clicked her tongue. From a distance, she gazed up the mountain. Taste? What taste? Qian Daliu frowned. He clearly didn't get the meaning. Qian Renxue's lips moved silently. But Lin Feng understood what she was saying. Wait for me. Let's go. We'll see Grandpa. Once he sees what you've come up with, he'll be amazed. At the base of the angel god statue, the four of them gathered. After Lin Feng presented his latest research, Qian Daliu looked at him deeply, then said, I approve of you two going to heaven. But once Zhao Zhu officially begins her mission, Lin Feng, you'll have to come back. Once things are stable there, you can meet again. It shouldn't take too long. And as for Lin Feng's research, I want it officially published only after you've returned from heaven and reached Soul Elder rank. The publication should credit only you. The three of them were stunned. Ling Yuan even asked directly, Grand Worshipper, is it really wise to expose Lin Feng's work this early? With his current potential and the amplification from future techniques, he might reach Soul Elder before age 12. He'd be famous before he's even strong enough to protect himself. Isn't that risky? Qian Dailiu snorted. Some people can't even reach Soul Elder but still go around calling themselves masters. Lin Feng's talents are real. And he has Spirit Hall behind him. Who would dare touch him? Besides, this technique could benefit countless spirit masters. The lower and middle classes will adore him. Even the top sects wouldn't dare act rashly, not after what happened to the Clear Sky clan. Chapter 11, A Chance Encounter with Bibi Dong. So that's how it is. I didn't think it through enough, Ling Yuan said, bowing slightly. No need to worry. Qian Dailiu replied calmly. Lin Feng, however, was lost in thought. Why delay publishing the theory until after I reach Soul Elder rank? Unless he's doing it just to slap Yu Zhaogang in the face. That'd make more sense. Qian Renxue tilted her head in confusion. Grandpa, who's this Grandmaster you mentioned? I've never heard of him. Qian Dailiu waved his hand dismissively. Just a clown. No need to concern yourself, Zhaozu. Since that's settled, you're both dismissed. Zhaozu, stay, I have something for you. Qian Renxue shot Lin Feng an apologetic glance before following her grandfather deeper into the Great Hall. Meanwhile, Lin Feng and Ling Yuan returned to their residence. Inside the inner sanctum of the Douluo Hall, Qian Renxue noticed that Qian Dailiu's expression had grown unusually solemn. Zhaozu, do you know the true foundation that lets Spirit Hall stand strong across the continent? Our strength as the largest Soul Master force? Qian Dailiu shook his head. No, that's the result, not the cause. The real reason is our martial souls. Our Spirit Hall was founded by the ancestor Angel God. She cut down all darkness and disease in the land and ascended to godhood. Because of her, our hall became the sacred dream of all Soul Masters. The Douluo Hall, the highest sanctuary of the Soul Master world, stands here as her legacy. And our Qian family, inheritors of the six-winged angel martial soul, carry the sacred duty of protecting the continent. The 6 inherited soul bones bestowed by our ancestor are part of why our clan's strength stands above all others. As he finished speaking, Qian Dailiu raised a hand and released a burst of golden soul power toward the angel god statue. The statue, bearing a striking resemblance to Qian Renxue, glowed with radiant golden light. A brilliant point of light appeared at its brow and slowly floated down before her. The soul bone didn't pulse with overwhelming power, but its divine energy made Qian Renxue's entire body feel like it was rejoicing. Deep inside, she instinctively felt, this soul bone belongs to me. This was one of the components of the angel god's divine equipment. Zhaozu, it's yours. Absorb it here. It will be of great use in your upcoming mission. Qian Renxue nodded, her gaze never leaving the soul bone. For some reason, it felt oddly familiar. Okay, Grandpa. The fusion process went incredibly smoothly. The soul bone was called Cloud Mirage, a 99,999-year piece that granted the skill Angel Light Wave. Combined with the mask Qian Dailiu had already given her, Qian Renxue could now disguise her appearance, or even her martial soul itself. Despite its ancient age, the soul bone only raised her level by 1, but at just 9 years old, Qian Renxue's soul power had already reached level 36. If she stayed in Spirit Hall to cultivate, she could become a soul saint in her early 20s, pass the god trials shortly after, and perhaps become a god within 3 to 5 years. Later that day. Zhaofeng, I'll be stepping out for a bit. I won't be back until tonight. Ling Yuan said calmly and then vanished without a trace. Lin Feng gave a small nod. That worked out well, he had planned to visit the scripture pavilion anyway. It was almost noon. The pavilion was already a quiet place, but today it seemed even emptier than usual. When did the guards at the scripture pavilion change? He took out the rarely used token and greeted the new guards before walking in. Something felt off. The guards didn't react with the usual surprise or recognition. Had the previous ones informed them already? Or was there another reason? When he opened the familiar door to his private study, a sweet fragrance greeted him. A window had been cracked open, letting in a light breeze that made the room feel unusually fresh and pleasant. And at the desk where no one should have been sat a stunning woman, completely absorbed in reading a book. She had a tall, elegant figure and wore a light purple gauze dress. Her long hair was pinned up into a graceful cloud-like bun. Her skin was snow pale, her features exquisite, her posture graceful. Her clothes did nothing to conceal her beauty. There was a noble, commanding air about her that radiated without effort. Lin Feng stopped in his tracks. His eyes lit up in awe. For a long moment, the entire scene seemed to heal his soul. Then he came to his senses. This woman was Bibi Dong. She should have been around 28 or 29 by now, but looking at her now, she didn't appear a day over 17 or 18. Time had favored her, leaving no marks at all. Had your fill of staring? Bibi Dong's lips curved into a gentle smile. For reasons she couldn't explain, Seeing this boy someone her daughter might care about looking at her like that made her feel oddly proud. Lin Feng didn't answer. He silently walked to the seat opposite her. May I ask who you are, and why you're here? Bibi Dong narrowed her eyes slightly. You truly don't know? Lin Feng shook his head. No way was he handing her the lead in this conversation. I really don't. She put down her book and looked at him with interest. I'm the new pope. You're in Spirit Hall, and you don't recognize me? Greetings, Your Holiness. Lin Feng said calmly. I've been focused on martial soul theory and rarely concern myself with outside affairs. Please forgive the offense. Oh? His clear, sincere gaze didn't seem like he was lying. Bibi Dong's curiosity deepened. This boy had started from a similar place, yet had already overcome his flaws and created brand new theories. And he was only 9 years old. He had solved his martial soul's issues and developed cultivation methods all within just 3 years. Even though Bibi Dong didn't want to admit it, Lin Feng's comprehension and talent far surpassed that person. She remembered first seeing him on the Martial Soul Awakening platform 3 years ago, calm and composed beyond his age, but hadn't thought much of it at the time. Now, revisiting him, she realized his work could shake the entire Soul Master world. Looking into the eyes of this handsome young scholar across the table, the breeze drifting in, Bibi Dong suddenly felt transported back to her own youth. A flicker of nostalgia appeared in her eyes. But it faded quickly. Her expression turned cold again. You remind me of someone. Who? Bibi Dong exhaled, oddly expecting something from his response. Yu Zhaogang. They call him the Grand Master. Lin Feng's eyes narrowed slightly. I've read his name in a few books. Her eyes lit up. And? What do you think of his theories? Something felt off about her question, but Lin Feng still answered firmly, Forgive me, Your Holiness, but in my view, Yu Zhaogang's theories are just a compilation of past knowledge. Many lack practical proof. If you truly believe he deserves the title of Grand Master, then I must say with respect that's a mistake. Before his words had even finished echoing, Bibi Dong's smile vanished. She rose abruptly, eyes flashing with anger. You don't understand him. He's the genius who proposed the 10 core competencies of martial souls. Lin Feng's expression didn't waver. The angrier she got, the more it confirmed his suspicions. He picked up the teacup in front of him. Crack. A burst of soul power shattered it in his hand. Shaking the tea off his fingers, Lin Feng said softly, I am a scholar. My duty is to the truth. Your Holiness, if truth brings pain, then lies only make it worse. Chapter 12, Let Zhao Feng go. Fine, fine, fine. Bibi Dong was nearly laughing out of anger because of Lin Feng. As the Pope, she couldn't believe he dared to sit there so calmly while speaking such infuriating words she didn't want to hear at all. How outrageous. Is this how you talk to the Pope? So now she's trying to use her status to suppress me, huh? Lin Feng sighed. He stood up and bowed. It was disrespectful of me, Lin Feng. I beg your pardon, Your Holiness. But I still must say this Yu Zhaogang is not as capable as he is reputed to be. His reputation is undeserved. You. Bibi Dong forcibly suppressed her inner rage, her gaze fixed on Lin Feng like daggers. Then go ahead. Tell me exactly what part of his theory is flawed. First, point 1. Innate soul power is proportional to the quality of one's martial soul. If that were truly the case, then shouldn't all disciples of the Hashin sect who possess top-tier martial souls have been born with full innate soul power? Second, the martial soul mimicry theory. It claims plant-type martial souls can absorb beast-type soul rings, and vice versa. But soul masters have existed for tens of thousands of years. Are we to believe that none of the early soul masters ever absorbed incompatible soul rings? Are all tool martial souls supposed to have corresponding tool-type soul beasts? Can hammers and sticks grow sentience or something? This is basic knowledge in the Soul Master world. It's just that absorbing rings of the same type improves soul compatibility and yields more suitable soul skills. That's why it became the norm. This theory is like saying Soul Masters can become farmers. Sure, it's possible. But why bother? And now the third point, regarding the soul enough. Bibi Dong screamed like she'd gone mad. Her beautiful face had twisted with fury. Bang. With a burst of soul power, she grabbed Lin Feng by the collar and lifted him into the air, her pupils bloodshot, breathing heavily. You really think I won't kill you? Cough, cough, you won't. In fact, you can't. The Grand Priest left a contingency on me. With your current Soul Duo level power, you're far from being able to break it. Dangling midair, Lin Feng looked calmly into her eyes. But to Bibi Dong, that expression looked like mockery. Hey. Bibi Dong frowned. If Lin Feng was telling the truth, then she really couldn't threaten his life. The power of a titled Duo was a whole different league. Seeing the shifting emotions on her face, Lin Feng quickly offered her a way out. Your Holiness, the Spirit Hall needs my theories. And as the Pope, you need my research even more. Bibi Dong stared deeply at him for a long moment, then finally released her grip, taking a deep breath. Cough. Lin Feng rubbed his sore neck and exhaled a long breath. Looks like the erosion from the Rakshasa God's will hadn't taken full hold of her yet. If it had been over a decade of psychological corrosion, once Yu Zhaogang became a true obsession, things might have ended very differently. It's laughable, really. Bibi Dong, born with twin martial souls and full innate power, needed negative emotion activation to ascend to godhood. At least Qian Xunji thought so. He sacrificed himself to set things in motion, helping two divine beings rise within the spirit hall. He was the true puppet master of the Douluo world. A mad genius Qian Xunji. Who knows what kind of smile the original novel described when Qian Xunji died at Bibi Dong's hands. Just imagining it is exhausting. You seem pretty proud of yourself. Bibi Dong said coldly, all trace of her earlier gentleness gone. Lin Feng sighed internally. Didn't the illusion already wear off? She's fully in blackened mode 3 times the power, and 3 times the romantic obsession too. A bit, yeah. Bibi Dong narrowed her eyes. I'm only 9 years old and already achieving this much. Can I be proud for a bit? Bibi Dong said nothing. Why did she always feel so powerless in front of this annoying brat? She couldn't act against him, and worse, he was right. Massaging her aching temples, she finally remembered why she had come here in the first place. She sat back at the table and gestured for Lin Feng to sit down again. You're clever. I do need something from you. I want you to add a new research topic to your studies. Solve the problem of martial soul mutation failure preventing breakthroughs. Lin Feng stared at her for a moment, then calmly replied, the one who understands their martial soul best is themselves. You want me to solve a problem that even that so-called master couldn't? 1. There's no theoretical base. 2. There's no subject to study. 3. There's no benefit for me. I have no reason to waste effort on a thankless task. Bibi Dong felt her chest tighten with frustration. She snapped, then take it as a personal commission. Name your price. Impossible. I have more important things to do. If you really want it, then wait. Wait until my research is fully complete. Bibi Dong snorted, who knows how long that will take. Even Yu Zhaogang needed more than 10 years just to establish his theory of the 10 martial soul competitiveness factors. Lin Feng chuckled, Your Holiness, please stop mentioning that failure in front of me. He spent over 10 years just copying and summarizing old wisdom? That's pathetic. And don't compare me to him. That's insulting. Insolent. Bibi Dong's soul power erupted, flipping the entire table and Lin Feng along with it. Lin Feng stabilized himself midair. If you don't believe me, I can write down the original sources of his theories. Go verify it yourself in the scripture pavilion. Silence. Bibi Dong's amethyst-like eyes were now tinged red, and a murderous aura radiated from her body. The chilling, evil presence instantly filled the room. Lin Feng gritted his teeth and met her gaze proudly, even though his legs had started trembling uncontrollably. Bibi Dong was stunned. Even a wisp of killing god domain shouldn't be something a soul master at his level could endure. Suppressing her rage, she was just about to speak bang. The doors to the room flew open. A golden figure rushed toward Lin Feng. Before she arrived, her voice was already ringing out. Let go of Zhao Feng. Feeling the rich, holy power from the girl charging in, Bibi Dong sneered, You care that much about him? Fine. Let's all suffer together. Let's see how long you two can last here. As she spoke, she restrained Qian Renxue as she reached Lin Feng's side. The killing god domain reappeared in full force. Under the weight of her murderous aura and soul power, Lin Feng and Qian Renxue both dropped to their knees. Qian Renxue's face went pale, her beautiful eyes gleaming with defiance. She said, One word at a time, if you hurt him, I'll have grandfather strip you of your title as Pope. He. Bibi Dong laughed coldly, You think he'd agree to that? Your Qian clan knows me far more than this. Qian Renxue froze. What did she mean by that? What did the Qian clan do to her? Looking at the pair in front of her, a wicked idea suddenly sparked in Bibi Dong's heart. Aren't you two so lovey-dovey? Then let me plant a wedge between you. Chapter 13, Bibi Dong breaks down Lin Feng. I'm giving you 2 choices. 1, leave now and I'll pretend none of this happened. 2, stay and that girl stays too and both of you will endure the torment of my spirit power. Lin Feng was speechless. Looking at it objectively, having one person escape was better than both suffering. But was this really the kind of situation that could be dealt with like that? Qian Renxue looked at him expectantly, and Lin Feng gave her a calm, reassuring glance before turning his cool gaze toward Bibi Dong. Qian Renxue's eyes curled into a smile, her face full of smug satisfaction as she looked at Bibi Dong triumphantly. Seeing neither of them move, Bibi Dong was furious. Why were they all like this? She thought back, That man had abandoned her and fled. Soon after, he fell for someone else. It was said that on his wedding night, he discovered his bride was actually his cousin and fled again. Was her taste in men really that awful when she was young? What on earth did she love about Yu Zhaogang? A trace of confusion appeared in Bibi Dong's eyes. A voice inside her kept whispering, Yu Zhaogang is your one true love. You must have him. But what exactly did she love about him? That voice had no answer. Agitated, the aura she was emitting flared more violently. As she came to, seeing the unyielding look in the eyes of Lin Feng and Qian Renxue, and the taunting smirk in Qian Renxue's eyes, Bibi Dong finally snapped. Why could that scumbag Qian Xunji's daughter find such a loyal companion? While she herself had endured betrayal from both her lover and teacher, buried in shame and suffering. Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears as she shouted, Why? Why do you all make these same choices? Say something. Why won't you talk? Lin Feng and Qian Renxue said nothing. Lin Feng simply looked at Bibi Dong like she was an idiot. You sealed our mouths, and now you want us to answer? Bang. The doors were smashed to pieces. Bibi Dong had already vanished. Qian Renxue and Lin Feng collapsed to the ground, panting heavily. Qian Renxue rushed to Lin Feng, frantically checking him up and down. Are you alright, Xiaofeng? Did that woman hurt you anywhere? Did she threaten you? Tell me everything. A trace of darkness flickered in her eyes. From her point of view, Bibi Dong was clearly taking out her resentment on Lin Feng. That already unstable woman was even more deranged now. Lin Feng shook his head slightly and glanced toward the door. She didn't seem like she was in a good mental state. Qian Renxue paused and said, Forget her. Grandpa's right outside. She wouldn't dare come back. As she spoke, she gently wiped a trace of blood from Lin Feng's forehead, eyes filled with tenderness. Then she said softly, Xiaofeng. How about you just stay in heaven from now on? Don't come back. That crazy woman might go nuts again. Lin Feng sat cross-legged, pondering briefly. If I go to heaven, that's fine. But I'll need to discuss it with the Grand Worshipper. My next stage of research can be done there too. Qian Renxue's eyes lit up. If she could bring Lin Feng with her, that'd be perfect. Once her mission progressed, they could meet any time. As for arranging Lin Feng's identity, residence, and academy, it was a piece of cake. Breath of life. A gentle white light glowed from Lin Feng's hand, radiating vitality and healing both of them completely. Qian Renxue clicked her tongue in admiration. You really can release soul skills without soul rings. Xiaofeng, you're amazing. Even I'm considering getting a soul meridian like you. Lin Feng chuckled, his eyes gleaming. It won't take long. I'm confident I can help others construct soul meridians within 2 years. Immortal herbs. They won't take much longer. And the whale glue that boosts physique and soul ring limits. It's time to start preparing for that too. The groundwork in the spirit hall was laid. The first path had already been successfully explored. Really? You never fail to impress. Qian Renxue sighed in awe. They were the same age, but how was he so monstrously talented? Exactly. The first step is the hardest. With that experience, the rest will come naturally. Qian Renxue noticed the smile on his face, her gaze lowering slightly, then looked into the distance before leaning in. She whispered, Wanna taste it again? Lin Feng froze for a moment, looking at her soft, crystal-clear lips and then nodded solemnly. Qian Renxue laughed sweetly. Sure enough, Lin Feng was completely under her control now. This is your reward for not running away earlier. She leaned in softly. In the grand hall of the Pope's palace, 2 figures stood in confrontation. Qian Dailiu looked at Bibi Dong, whose eyes shimmered with tears, both shocked and angry. Who was bullying whom here? From the look of things, it seemed like she was the one wronged. Bibi Dong, what madness is this? Hey! With a sneer, Bibi Dong dispelled her tears with soul power, regaining her regal poise. You think you can stop me? Even if I kill both of them, what can you do? You dare? That girl is your daughter. Qian Dailiu frowned, the aura of a peerless Duo radiating outward. Cough. Bibi Dong struggled to resist the pressure, gritting her teeth as she shouted, I don't acknowledge her. She's your Qian clan's bastard. She deserves to die. Qian Dailiu's aura faltered slightly. For all his honor and integrity, how did he end up with a lunatic son like Qian Xunji? Suit yourself. But you don't have the right to touch them. Xue will be leaving for heaven soon. You'll hardly see her again. You've already gained the Pope's seat. Do your damn job. The pressure vanished as Qian Dailiu stormed off. Bibi Dong scoffed, her eyes gleaming with malice. If I can't have it, that bastard daughter of Qian Xunji doesn't deserve it either. Isn't she in love with that brat? Then I'll make her watch as he changes his heart, as other women appear in his arms. I want to see what her expression will be then. A twisted smile curled on Bibi Dong's face as she strode toward Spirit Academy. Greetings, teacher. A fair-haired young girl greeted her. She was timid and delicate, her beautiful little face showing both excitement and fear. Only 6 years old, but already beginning to show the charm of womanhood. She carried an unusual allure, with a slight flirtatiousness at the corners of her eyes. This was Hueco, whom Bibi Dong had recently taken in as her disciple. Bibi Dong was quite pleased with her, 9.5 innate soul power, and a martial soul that had given her a gentle, obedient temperament. Very much to her liking. And now, Bibi Dong felt that steering her martial soul toward the path of enchantment was absolutely the right choice. Nana, come with me. Hueco nodded her tiny head and followed Bibi Dong step by step. Chapter 14, Heaven, Whale Glue. Early the next morning, Lin Feng set off with Qian Renxue and her group for the Heaven Empire. Qian Douluo had no negative feelings about Bibi Dong's desire to make the spirit hull the soul power dominating the continent. After all, he was nearing the end of his life. As long as he ensured Qian Renxue could undergo the divine trials and become a god, there would be nothing in the world that could stand in Spirit Hall's way. Besides, this wasn't the later stage where titled Luos were everywhere. Heaven officially only had 2 titled Luos, and even those belonged to the 7th treasure glazed tile clan, the Sword and Bone Duo. Jugubo was merely at the Spirit Duo level. To ensure early success in the mission, Qian Douluo personally dispatched 4 titled Luos, Snake Lance, Porcupine Fish, as well as Chrysanthemum and Ghost Duo. With these 4 plus the measures Qian Douluo left on Qian Renxue, the safeguards were maxed out. Inside the carriage en route to Heaven City, Lin Feng chatted casually with Chrysanthemum Duo. Senior, what you said makes a lot of sense. Yu Guan's effeminate face lit up with pride. Of course. When it comes to research on flowers and herbs, I dare say no one in the Soul Master world surpasses me. With a bright smile, Lin Feng took out a somewhat ancient-looking book. When it comes to botany, I naturally can't compare with you. But take a look at this tome. I think it might pique your interest. Oh? Chrysanthemum Duo's curiosity was sparked. He reached out to take the book. Upon opening it, he was greeted with a flood of sensual imagery. His eyes widened, and he instinctively pulled the book closer to himself. This. What kind of decency is this? Zhao Feng, what did you give him? I want to see too, Grandpa Ju. Cough cough cough. Little miss, wait a moment. You brat, what kind of book is this? Lin Feng waved it off. Just flip further, senior. Chrysanthemum Duo discreetly avoided Qian Renxue's eager peeking and turned a page. Qian Renxue glared at him with dissatisfaction. This is interesting. The book detailed the uses of whale glue. To rationalize its effects, Lin Feng started with descriptions of bedroom activities, illustrated with vivid images, followed by examples of anomalous effects discovered during these experiences. Whale glue can strengthen the body? I've never heard of that before. Chrysanthemum Duo had always lived a chaste life and remained a pure-hearted man. Well, he did have one true love, Ghost Duo. Lin Feng sometimes wondered if their martial soul fusion technique had suppressed their interest in women altogether. Otherwise, why wouldn't they pass on their martial souls to the next generation? It was a tragedy that a top-tier martial soul like Chrysanthemum Passiflora might just vanish with time. Whale glue? Qian Renxue's face flushed, and she pinched Lin Feng. Isn't that stuff nobles use for those kinds of things? Zhao Feng, you're so naughty. I'm more interested in its alternative use. Senior, let her take a look. Lin Feng winked as he spoke. Yu Guan quietly removed the more colorful pages and handed over the rest that described the medical benefits. Qian Renxue frowned slightly. Why does it feel like a few pages are missing? Well, these old books often suffer damage over time, right, senior? Chrysanthemum Duo nodded seriously. Those intriguing illustrations. He needed to study them further later. Maybe even invite old Ghost for a joint viewing? Qian Renxue made a soft sound of acknowledgement. But what's the use of this? Lin Feng waved a hand. There's a widely accepted theory in the Soul Master world. You've all heard it, the Soul Ring Age theory. The upper limit of the first and second soul rings is 100 years, while the third and fourth are capped at 1,000 years. It seems like an unchangeable law, but that's not the case. At this point, Chrysanthemum Duo's expression changed as realization struck. He nodded thoughtfully. Indeed, any high-level soul master should know that below 10,000 years, as long as your body is strong enough, you can increase the soul ring's age. If whale glue really strengthens the body, it might allow a second ring to reach 1,000 years. But it's not something easily found. It's a rare product from the coast, and requires 1,000 or even 10,000-year grade whale glue. And what's written in this book still needs to be verified. The exact effects are unknown. Lin Feng added slowly, exactly. Plus, due to martial soul traits, users of higher quality martial souls naturally have stronger bodies. For example, Compare clear sky hammer and blue silver grass, those two can't be measured on the same scale at all at awakening. Qian Renxue furrowed her brow. I was born with rank 20 innate soul power and a 6-winged angel martial soul. By all rights, my body strength should have surpassed the requirement for a 100-year soul ring. So why did Grandpa still make me take a 100-year ring? Now that I think back, absorbing the ring back then was way too easy. Not painful at all, it felt almost suspiciously smooth. Linfeng chuckled, you're the Grand Worship's treasured granddaughter. Playing it safe is smarter. No need to risk your life just to push the ring age a bit further. Qian Renxue understood, but her pretty face still showed a bit of dissatisfaction. Internally, she grumbled about how her grandfather underestimated her. Wasn't she Qian Renxue? Why couldn't she endure a little pain? Watching her cute expressions, Linfeng couldn't help but think of the original novel. She had been overly protected by Qian Douluo and the Spirit Hall elders. That upbringing had made her arrogant in the later stages, dismissive of all other soul masters. Otherwise, she wouldn't have let Tang-san go so many times. Qian Renxue pouted. Forget the past. My 4th soul ring is going to be a 10,000-year one. Grandpa Ju, send a message to Grandpa now. Have him compile the body strength data of Soul Kings. When I return, I'm definitely testing this whale glue. Ah. Chrysanthemum Douluo started sweating. Great worship, don't blame me, it's all this kid Linfeng's fault. Xiaoxu, don't be in such a rush. Even without high-aged soul rings, your soul power will still increase. If you really want to do this, we'll need a lot of prep. Oh, I see. Zhaofeng, you brought this up because we need to find some, right? You said your body's not fully built yet. Qian Renxue remembered Linfeng had mentioned his internal structure was incomplete and asked with concern. Exactly. I've already talked to the Grand Worship. He's dispatched people to search the coastal regions. The reason I brought it up now is because we're going to Heaven City. And that place? Full of nobles. The odds of finding high-quality whale glue among them might be even better. Oh, I see. Leave it to me then, consider it done. Chrysanthemum Douluo patted his chest with confidence. He really admired Linfeng's botanical philosophy. These days, finding a man who loves flowers was so rare even old ghosts didn't appreciate them like he did. Besides, considering the inevitable fallout from Great Worship, doing something now would give him leverage. Linfeng wouldn't be able to blame him later. Half a month later, the group arrived at Heaven City. Chapter 15, Old Poison, could someone actually be poisoned by their own martial soul? Heaven City, capital of the empire. The city was divided into multiple districts, with all manner of buildings dotting the landscape. As the capital, it wasn't just a hub of commerce, it was also teeming with powerful individuals and home to many prestigious academies. Linfeng and his group took temporary residence in a secluded courtyard within the city. While chatting with Chrysanthemum Douluo, Linfeng steered the conversation toward Jugubo. Senior, from what you've told me, it sounds like something's wrong with Jugubo's body. I mean, who ends up getting poisoned by their own cultivation? Even his hair is turning green. Chrysanthemum Douluo froze and thought back carefully. It was true. Over the years of their entanglement, he often beat Jugubo to the ground. The guy's poison had been getting weirder, his appearance aging rapidly, and his combat strength declining noticeably. It was as if something was suppressing him. Could it be that he was actually being poisoned by his own martial soul? The thought made Chrysanthemum Douluo chuckle to himself. Who gets that messed up by their own martial soul? A dignified soul Douluo on the verge of becoming a titled Douluo, being done in by his own spirit. That'd be the laughingstock of the entire soul master world. His eyes lit up. If it were true, he had to go mock him immediately. Noticing the grin on Chrysanthemum Douluo's face, Linfeng seized the moment. Senior, I also happen to know a bit about martial soul healing. Why don't you take me to see him? If we can recruit someone on the verge of becoming a titled Douluo into Spirit Hall, that would be a huge asset. Chrysanthemum Douluo looked Linfeng up and down. You know how to do that? Linfeng smirked. When it comes to martial soul theory, there might not be anyone in the soul master world who can outmatch me. Chrysanthemum Douluo blushed at the familiar line and coughed lightly. You little brat. Thinking of how Linfeng had broken through his soul power restrictions at 9 by creating his own cultivation method, he nodded slowly. Alright. I'll go check his place first, see if he's in. At this point, Jugubo had yet to become a guest elder of the imperial family. Chrysanthemum Douluo disguised himself and quickly found Jugubo's location without being detected. Let's go. He's in his courtyard, playing around with his granddaughter. After informing Qian Renxue and Ling Yuan, the two headed for Jugubo's residence. In the courtyard, Jugubo was chasing after his granddaughter. Grandpa, come catch me. Hee. 3 or 4 years old, little Jugu Yan was plump and adorable, holding a candy stick and waving it playfully. Alright, Yan Yan, wait for Grandpa. These old bones can't keep up. Jugubo said, laughing as he jogged behind her. Grandpa, you're too slow. Even a goose is faster. She giggled. Jugubo chuckled awkwardly. Only playing along for the kid's sake. He smiled fondly but with a trace of hidden worry behind his eyes. His son's green phosphor serpent poison had worsened over the years. The same poison against poison method didn't seem to be working for him. If his son died before him, how would he face Yan Yan and her mother? Jugubo let out a long sigh. His life had been one of hardship. Infected with poison from the green phosphor serpent at age 7, reaching rank 59 by 35, but his partner died in childbirth due to their child's constitution. Now, at level 89, his son was walking the same doomed path. It was devastating. Old poison, been well? Why the sigh? Who's there? Jugubo's face turned grim as he instinctively shielded Yan Yan in his arms. Under the courtyard tree, two figures emerged. Chrysanthemum Bluo wore a sly smile. The sigh and his earlier suspicions made him even more confident that Jugubo's martial soul had issues. It's you? Humphrey, what are you doing here again? I've told you I'm not joining Spirit Hall. Seeing who it was, Jugubo relaxed slightly, but his expression remained sour. That shameless fake man, if not for his knowledge of herbs, he wouldn't have gotten involved with him. Ever since calling him a woman, the guy's been beating him up every chance he got. Grandpa, who's that lady? Asked little Yan Yan, eyes round and curious. Chrysanthemum Bluo's face went dark. Haha. Hear that? Even kids don't lie. Just admit you're a woman already. Jugubo laughed wildly. Chrysanthemum Bluo smiled coldly, sliding a finger along his lips. Seems like your butt's healed. Want me to decorate again? Jugubo's mouth twitched. That pervert always struck in indecent places just like his martial soul, disgraceful. Lin Feng quickly intervened. Seniors, let's put the past aside for now. Senior Jugubo, I've come with Chrysanthemum Bluo to discuss something very important. Please give us a moment, it concerns your martial soul. Jugubo squinted. This kid's still wet behind the ears. Could he actually know something? Enough bickering. We're not here to cause trouble. Let's go inside and talk. Chrysanthemum Bluo grumbled, walking in as if he owned the place. He plopped down on the main seat and gestured for tea. Jugubo's brow twitched violently. If he could beat him, he would have tossed him out long ago. Yan Yan, go wait inside Grandpa's treasure pouch for a while, okay? Nuu, it's too dark and boring in there. Be good, Yan Yan. I'll buy you 10 lollipops later. 20. Deal. Once Yan Yan disappeared, the three sat down in the main hall. Jugubo poured tea casually. Talk. Chrysanthemum Bluo exchanged a glance with Lin Feng and grinned, then went in for the kill. Old poison, tell me, could someone really get poisoned by their own martial soul? Jugubo froze mid-sip but quickly drank the tea, replying coolly, I don't know what you're talking about. If you've got nothing else, see yourselves out. Lin Feng smiled lightly. Senior, do you perhaps experience stabbing pain under your ribs during rainy days? Pain that intensifies over time? Do you feel it hit at midday and midnight? A sharp, needle-like sensation at your soles and scalp, full body spasms. And a torment so intense it feels like death? With every word, Jugubo's face grew darker. By now, he was sure Spirit Hall knew everything. What was he supposed to do now? Senior, I can cure your poison. And surely you don't want your son and granddaughter to suffer the same fate? Jugubo felt as if the words pierced directly into his heart. He hesitated, then sighed deeply. Fine. What price must I pay? Before his family, everything else could be set aside. Lin Feng shook his head. 3 years of service to Spirit Hall. How about that? For real? Jugubo's eyes lit up. Lin Feng grinned inwardly. Hey, once you're on the boat, forget about getting off in 3 years. That other spy next door is already the boss now. Chapter 16, Mine, all mine. Seeing Jugubo glance his way, Chrysanthemum Bluo spoke, naturally. What Zhao Feng says is the same as if I said it myself. Jugubo's eyes shifted and pointed at Chrysanthemum Bluo. Swear it. Chrysanthemum Bluo widened his eyes and gave a look of annoyance. What are you, a child? Swearing? Really? And to think you actually came up with that. Jugubo chuckled, with your personality, I doubt you go back on your word. But I need a little peace of mind. A titled Bluo wouldn't be afraid to make a simple oath, would he? Chrysanthemum Bluo glared with his beautiful eyes. Who are you calling old man? You're a few years younger than me. Fine, I'll give Zhao Feng some face. I, Chrysanthemum Moonpass, hereby. Jugubo nodded in satisfaction and turned eagerly to Lin Feng. So, when do we start? Do I need to prepare anything? Lin Feng smiled. Senior Jugu, A contract should be fair and mutual. You should also make a vow. Jugubo paused, stroked his beard, and nodded slightly. That's true. Kid, I like how you think. If you really can detoxify me, I don't mind making a genuine friend. Jugubo, swear if these two can truly remove the hidden dangers in my martial soul, I will serve the spirit hall faithfully for 3 years, with no second thoughts. Lin Feng was a little moved. In terms of true character, Jugubo could indeed be a friend worth getting close to. Senior Jugu, my method requires some special herbs. I imagine, given how long you've suffered, you must have gathered some resources. Why not take them out and let me have a look? If you have what I need, all the better. Jugubo frowned. He didn't really have any medicinal stockpiles. His survival had relied entirely on poison countering poison. A few years ago, he had stumbled upon a wild herb garden, but unfortunately, he didn't recognize most of the herbs. He carefully picked one and ate it only for the poison in his body to go berserk. He never touched the place again. He glanced at Lin Feng, debating whether to take them there directly. That land, nurtured by the forces of heaven and earth, clearly had a spiritual vein. The poisonous herbs he planted there grew rapidly and even helped suppress his internal toxins. But if he just exposed it like this, wouldn't he be at a loss? Thinking of the lives of 3 generations of his family, Jugubo gritted his teeth and said, I have an herb garden in Sunset Forest. I can take you there. It has many herbs. Chrysanthemum Bleach raised an eyebrow. An herb garden? All the way in Sunset Forest? Jugubo snorted, that garden is where I really reside. I only came here for my precious granddaughter. You fake man, still no son even now. What would you know? Hey. You're trying my patience. Normally, Chrysanthemum Bleach wouldn't care about such remarks, but somehow, hearing it from this old poison freak just ticked him off. Alright. Lin Feng intervened. Let's just go to the herb garden first. The sooner we resolve Senior Jugu's martial soul issue, the sooner we'll have another powerhouse for Spirit Hall. Chrysanthemum Bleach dropped his raised soul-powered hand and gave Jugubo a light glance. Fine. On the road to Sunset Forest, Jugubo asked more than once, Kid, are you really sure you can solve my martial soul problem? Of course, Senior. When it comes to martial soul research, I do have some real insight. Oh? Jugubo glanced at Lin Feng. You're what, 10 years old? And you dare say you're an expert in martial soul theory? Lin Feng and Chrysanthemum Bleach said nothing, but the smiles on their faces were loaded with meaning. That made Jugubo even more uneasy. This feeling of being left in the dark was uncomfortable. We're here. Up ahead is the poisonous barrier I set up. Here's the antidote, take it before we go in. Jugubo produced a porcelain bottle, took a pill himself, and then handed it to the other 2. Lin Feng swallowed it without hesitation. Chrysanthemum Bleach hesitated for a moment before also taking the pill. Jugubo sneered, that broken chrysanthemum, you've got less guts than a child. Chrysanthemum Bleach coldly snorted and said nothing. You wait here. Jugubo added. I really don't feel comfortable letting a titled Bleach into the place. Seeing Chrysanthemum Bleach's dark expression, Jugubo sneered again, don't take it personally. You're not the one who needs detoxifying. What would you go in for? It's just picking some herbs. Chrysanthemum Bleach crossed his arms, as if I care. Your so-called herb garden, what treasures could it possibly have? Probably a bunch of trash you treat like gold. Go on, go. Jugubo was actually a bit surprised at how readily he agreed. Aren't you worried I'll kidnap the boy? Feel free to try. Chrysanthemum Bleach said lazily, leaning against a tree. Just don't blame me when it costs you your life. Jugubo glanced at Lin Feng, who smiled cheerfully. Looks like Spirit Hall values you quite a bit. Lin Feng returned the smile and winked. After passing through the poisonous barrier, winding around for miles, and passing through another layer of poison mist, they reached a cliff. Jugubo took Lin Feng and jumped down. During the fall, Lin Feng felt a surge of incredibly rich spiritual energy. His whole body felt refreshed, and even his soul power increased slightly. Upon landing, even Lin Feng, who had mentally prepared himself, couldn't help but sigh in awe. In the valley was a spring, with rising steam forming a light mist. The spring water swirled in red and white, clearly separated, each releasing extreme heat and absolute cold, yet mysteriously coexisting. It was the legendary ice and fire yin yang well. Lin Feng scanned the surroundings. Flowers bloomed chaotically, dazzling the eye. With the herbal guides he'd seen from Chrysanthemum Bleach, and memories from his past life, he quickly began to identify them. Peerless rare treasures. Immortal great herbs. Everywhere he looked. Mine. All mine. Lin Feng shook his head, calming the excitement in his heart. Kid, get started. If you see any herbs you need, take them. But let me warn you, just because these rare plants look pretty doesn't mean you can use them. I've been burned before. Lin Feng nodded. Good thing you didn't try to ingest the snow-kissed swan's kiss that grows beside the fragrant silk beauty. That would have killed you on the spot. Senior, is it alright if I pick the herbs myself? Jugubo raised an eyebrow. If you have the skill, pick all you want. But most of these are poisonous. If you die, it's on you. And that spring over there, don't even think about getting close. The energy it contains isn't something a human can endure. Lin Feng nodded. Jugubo had been guarding this treasure mountain for years but didn't dare to use it. What a waste. Lin Feng had no intention of using soul bone transference to cure Jugubo. That was a last resort. In the original story, Tang-san took at least 12 immortal herbs and all the high-grade ones, without leaving a single one for Jugubo. What a bandit. Jugubo's issue, at its core, was with his martial soul. If the martial soul could be enhanced and his aptitude transformed, the problem could be solved permanently. From what Lin Feng knew, among the immortal herbs, the Earth Dragon Golden Melon, with its earth attribute, would be perfect for Jugubo. Chapter 17, Level 20, Soul Ring Selection. Following his memory, Lin Feng quickly located the Earth Dragon Golden Melon. A few tender leaves emerged from the ground, resembling radish tops growing underground. From the surface, its special qualities were completely unnoticeable. Soon after, Lin Feng's gaze shifted to the 8-petal immortal orchid in the distance. Crystal clear and snow-white, exuding a noble and ethereal air, with golden jade-like embellishments, it was pristine and ever-fresh, eternal across centuries. Among all immortal herbs, this one possessed the gentlest and most mellow properties. For soul masters, it far surpassed other immortal herbs in strengthening the foundation, purging impurities, and repairing core stability. This was Lin Feng's target for this trip. Senior, I've found the herbs I need. Oh? You actually recognize the herbs here, kid? If you're bluffing, it could cost your life. Seeing how confident he was, Jugubo's curiosity was piqued. If you don't trust me, Senior, I can prove it to you right now. Lin Feng pointed at Jugubo's feet. This is called vermilion lotus sand. It counteracts fire poison. That one's wind chant herb. It's great for treating skin and flesh wounds. Jugubo nodded in surprise. Senior, since I'm detoxifying and healing you, I should at least get some compensation, right? Jugubo looked at Lin Feng with a mocking smile. I knew you were a greedy little brat. Fine. Besides the herbs needed to treat us, take whatever else you like from here. Thank you, Senior. Seeing 7 or 8 holes dug into the ground, Jugubo twitched at the corner of his mouth. This brat was really shameless. He said to take some, and Lin Feng actually took some and even picked the ones he didn't recognize. Had he known, he would have limited him to 2 or 3 plants. Even though Jugubo didn't know what those herbs were, he still felt like he'd lost a fortune. Lin Feng packed away the jade boxes, rubbed his storage ring contentedly, then looked at Jugubo with a puzzled expression. Senior? You don't look too well. Jugubo flared his nostrils and barked, brat. Hurry up and detox me already. Grinning, Lin Feng walked over to the Earth Dragon Golden Melon. Soul power flowed through him as he pulled it from the soil. 3 golden fruits lay in his hand. One of them was slightly larger, obviously older. The moment it was unearthed, a rich, ancient aroma filled the air. Even Jugubo couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva at the fragrance. A light yellow, earthen aura swirled gently around it, with faint dragon roars echoing in the background. This is called the Earth Dragon Golden Melon. It's an earth element immortal herb that contains a trace of dragon essence. It can help your martial spirit evolve. Martial spirit evolution? Jugubo's eyes widened. In a flash, he snatched the golden melon, sniffing the fragrance with rising temptation. You're saying this thing can fix the hidden flaws in my martial spirit? If you don't believe me, Senior, I can take one of the herbs you don't recognize myself as proof. What do you say? Alright. But you have to do it in front of that damn chrysanthemum freak. Come on. The two returned to the edge of the poison barrier. After explaining the situation to Chrysanthemum Douluo, Lin Feng took out the 8-petal immortal orchid. This. The 8-petal immortal orchid. You old poison freak, you actually had an immortal herb? Chrysanthemum Douluo's eyes bulged. He'd spent his whole life chasing rare flora, and now he was seeing a legendary immortal herb with his own eyes? What a waste, what a complete waste. Such a divine herb shouldn't just be eaten like that to prove a point to you, old poison man. Something like this should be treasured, passed down through the ages. Watching Chrysanthemum Douluo flail and scratch his head, Jugubo found himself believing Lin Feng more and more. And he also started reconsidering what exactly was an immortal herb. Smirking, pretending to be casual, he took out the Earth Dragon Golden Melon. Oh dear, cough cough, old Chrysanthemum, how about this one? Looks pretty ordinary to me, no? Chrysanthemum Douluo's jaw dropped again. Earth Dragon Golden Melon. You've got 3 of them. Gulp. He. Chrysanthemum Douluo rubbed his hands together and sidled up, draping an arm around Jugubo's shoulder. "Brother Jugu, we've known each other for years, right? You've got 3 of these golden melons, how about giving me one? If there's anything you need, just ask, I'll do it, no question." Jugubo dodged his hand and mocked. "Funny how your tone changed. Didn't you just call me a poison freak?" "Haha, that was a term of endearment." "Really, an affectionate nickname?" "Ugh." Looking at Chrysanthemum Bluo's effeminate face and hearing him say the word affectionate, Jugubo shivered and quickly called it off. "Let him absorb it first. If you want those herbs you don't recognize, ask the kid. He took 7 or 8 of my spirit plants. They all seemed like immortal herbs. And really, what is an immortal herb?" Watching Lin Feng swallow the 8-petal immortal orchid, Chrysanthemum Bluo finally spoke. "Immortal herbs, just as the name implies, are divine spirit herbs, found only in the heavens, rarely seen in the mortal world. Each one is infused with the essence of heaven and earth. They can fundamentally transform a person's aptitude. If the ancient texts are accurate, even martial spirit evolution is just one of their lesser effects." Thinking about how Lin Feng had taken 7 or 8 of them, Chrysanthemum Bluo was itching with envy. "So these are immortal herbs?" Jugubo's pupils shrank. His heart ached, but he also felt relieved. He remembered Lin Feng's careful harvesting techniques and the way he consumed the orchid. Even if Jugubo could pick one, he wouldn't know how to use it properly. Why bother regretting it? Lin Feng swallowed the 8-petal immortal orchid. Its gentle medicinal energy spread instantly, permeating every inch of his body. It was like pouring water into dry sand, silent yet deeply nourishing. Lin Feng let out a satisfied moan as his first soul meridian began operating rapidly. The once unstable foundation was steadily firming up. His soul power surged, and black, sludge-like impurities slowly oozed from his skin. 2.5 hours passed quickly. Lin Feng slowly opened his eyes. The changes in his body immediately altered his perception. The world became more vivid, clearer. His sensitivity to soul power in the air was entirely different from before. Feeling carefully, he realized his soul power had reached level 20. He was ready to obtain his next soul ring. "Senior, how about that? I'm already level 20. Jugubo and Chrysanthemum Bluo exchanged glances. The former pressed a hand to Lin Feng's shoulder, channeling his soul power to check. His expression changed to shock. It's true. Not only is there no damage to his foundation, it's as if his aptitude has been improved several times over. Chrysanthemum Bluo grinned proudly. "Don't underestimate the power of immortal herbs, old poison man. This is nothing. If you ever get to see the legendary Flower King, now that's an immortal herb worthy of ruling the world. Ah! Combined with its intoxicating tail. It's the pursuit of my entire life." A sickly obsession appeared on Chrysanthemum Bluo's face. Jugubo waved him off in disgust, pinching his nose. "Kid, go take a bath. You stink." Seeing Lin Feng successfully absorb the herb, even he was getting tempted. Under Chrysanthemum Bluo's envious gaze, he followed Lin Feng's instructions and consumed the Earth Dragon Golden Melon. Lin Feng washed himself in the pool while thinking over his choice for a second soul ring. Since it was meant to open a second soul meridian, he needed it to have fire element properties, but it couldn't be too aggressive. Rummaging through his memory, Lin Feng soon locked onto his target. The Sunset Forest just so happened to have exactly what he needed. Chapter 18, A refreshed and rejuvenated Jugubo lava lizards, a type of social soul beast. Their bodies are brown, covered in magma-like patterns. It's said that upon reaching the 10,000-year cultivation mark, they have a chance to evolve into lava dragons. With a trace of dragon bloodline, they are primarily fire-attributed, and known for their high defense. The flames they emit aren't particularly wild, and they also carry a bit of the earth attribute. Such a soul ring would serve as a solid foundation for Lin Feng's future soul meridian development. Lin Feng didn't take the 2 immortal herbs from the ice-fire yin yang well. First, because he didn't need them right now. The fiery apricot delicate branch and 8-petal ice crystal grass could indeed forge a golden body, making one immune to fire and water. But their extreme energy would disrupt the internal balance of Lin Feng's body. More crucially, he didn't want to reshape his body using overpowering external forces. He preferred to become stronger through the growth of his own cultivation and the evolution of his martial soul. Second, he didn't have the time. Third, more importantly, they were reserved for Qian Renxue's destined opportunity. Qian Renxue was different. She bore the god level 6 winged angel martial soul, which contained ultimate light and flame. Only on her would the 2 herbs realize their greatest potential. Innate treasure pearl. Endless life. The faintly golden orb floated in midair. Once a vague projection, it now appeared much more tangible, surrounded by a light mist. His first soul meridian had now reached 700 years, and the effect of the first soul skill had improved significantly. Putting the pearl away, Lin Feng began heading back. Before he even reached where Chrysanthemum Bluo and Jugubo were waiting, he heard Jugubo's triumphant roar. "Ha ha ha. Damn chrysanthemum. My martial soul has evolved. The poison has been purged. My soul power has reached level 90 ! Within a week, I'll definitely break through to title Douluo. When that happens, I'm gonna grind your face into the dirt. Ha ha ha. Jugubo laughed gleefully, completely oblivious to the meaningful smile on Chrysanthemum Douluo's face. Chrysanthemum Douluo touched his wrist and smirked. Oh? So you're saying it'll be harder to beat you up in the future? Then I better take the chance and beat you while I still can. Humphrey. You think I'm afraid of you? Poison Dragon Emperor. Jugubo flexed his arms, summoning his martial soul. On top of his former serpent crown, 2 dragon horns now emerged. His growl carried a subtle but unique pressure. His now larger form no longer emitted poisonous mist, it was fully contained. The purple gold scales gleamed with radiant light, and his vertical pupils looked far more majestic. Jugubo's aura shifted drastically. The vitality that had been weakened by internal poison was restored, and his previously aged appearance now looked full of spirit. No longer was his energy flow chaotic. The poison embedded in his martial soul was now fully under his control. Standing atop his poison dragon, Jugubo clenched his fists. Haha. This feels amazing. No more days of constantly suppressing internal toxins. I feel reborn. From today on, Jugubo shall be unshackled. Chrysanthemum Douluo snorted, ready to suppress his momentum with his own martial soul, but paused as he sensed Lin Feng approaching. He stopped and mocked, so what if your martial soul evolved? Your mental awareness is still trash. You didn't even notice Zhao Feng getting close. If you ever encounter a shape-shifting soul beast, with your mental power, you probably wouldn't even recognize her true form. Jugubo's face darkened. He couldn't argue his spiritual power really was weaker than others at the same level. Humphrey. I'll take that as you chickening out. When we meet again in the Martial Soul Hall, we'll have another spar. He retracted his martial soul and walked over to Lin Feng. At first glance, his eyes lit up. After the 8-petal immortal orchid improved his innate potential, and with his already solid foundation. Plus the glow of just having bathed, Lin Feng looked extraordinarily handsome. With sword-like brows and star-like eyes, he radiated a noble aura. His gaze was sharp and decisive, his body tall and strong, and his stride firm and confident. At only 9 years old, he had top-level martial soul theory, great talent, striking looks, and was favored by the Martial Soul Hall. If this isn't the perfect candidate for a grandson-in-law, then what is? Jugubo's eyes darted cunningly as he laughed and released Jugu Yan from the treasure pouch. Grandpa. Yan is mad. Why did you lock me up for so long? Now 20 lollipops aren't enough. I want 3, no, 40. Or I'll tell Mom. Eh? Grandpa, why do you look younger? No wait, I'm still mad. Jugu Yan pouted grumpily. Jugubo tried awkwardly to soothe her. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. She tugged on his sleeve and whispered, Grandpa, is that the big brother from before? He's so handsome now. Jugubo chuckled, so does Yan like him? Blushing, Jugu Yan hid behind her grandpa and shyly peeked at Lin Feng. LL like. Then how about Grandpa arranges for him to become your husband? Huh? UHH? 3 completely different voices responded at once. She's still a child. Lin Feng twitched at the corners of his mouth. Looking at the starry-eyed Jugu Yan, he glared at Jugubo. Senior Jugu, that's not funny. Your granddaughter is still a child. Besides, I already have someone I like. I can't accept your kind offer. Jugubo scowled. Kid, listen. I'm on the verge of breaking through. Having a title Douluo as a grandpa-in-law, do you know how many soul masters would kill for that? Lin Feng shrugged helplessly. Never mind Jugu Yan still being a child. Even if she grew up with curves like thunder and a waist like water, she still couldn't compare to Qian Renxue. Chrysanthemum Douluo patted Jugubo's shoulder and shook his head. Old poison, you'd better give up on it. Thought. I'd really hate to see her real family show up and beat you to a pulp. Jugubo shook off his hand and scoffed. Ho. What, another title Douluo? I'm not scared. Let them come. I'm not losing my grandson-in-law without a fight. She's from the Grand Worship Hall. Oh. Never mind then. Jugubo forced a dry laugh. His gaze became conflicted and regretful as he looked at Lin Feng and Chrysanthemum Douluo. Jugu Yan, hearing all this, felt disheartened as she looked at Lin Feng's lack of reaction. She pouted but didn't say anything. Zhao Feng, what's your next move? Let's part ways for now. Senior Jugu, you go take care of your granddaughter and son's martial soul issues. Grandpa Ju, I need your help hunting a soul beast, preferably just past the 1,000-year mark. 1,000 year? Jugubo exclaimed. Chrysanthemum Douluo scoffed. Never seen the world, have you? Zhao Feng's taken immortal herbs. They're priceless and magical. You just refined a gold gourd, didn't you feel it? The physical boost from the herbs makes a soul ring a few hundred years stronger. No big deal. Then, he sent a private message. Zhao Feng, Did you, collect thoroughly from that old poison's herb garden? Did you find any more herbs from my illustrated guide? Lin Feng nodded. Chrysanthemum Bluo's eyes gleamed with excitement, lips curving into a smile. So those herbs are incredible. Wait, this is a loss for me. You took so many of my spirit plants and I let you have the two by the spring. Aren't they all immortals? You've got to compensate me. Lin Feng grinned awkwardly. He only took what he needed, not like Tang-san, who swept the place clean. So, what kind of compensation do you want, Senior? Zhuge Bo patted Zhuge Yan's head. How about this, call it my loss. When Yanyan grows up, marry her as a secondary wife. Deal? Lin Feng facepalmed. This scheme of yours is loud enough to hear across provinces. Still not happening. Fine, fine. Then how about this? Just call me Grandpa in the future. No need to acknowledge me formally. Just a name. Lin Feng thought for a moment and nodded. All right. Greetings, Grandpa Zhuge. Zhuge Bo smiled subtly, satisfied, then walked off with the confused Zhuge Yan toward Heaven City. We'll meet again soon. Chrysanthemum Bluo looked surprised. That old poison isn't worried we'll raid his herb garden? Lin Feng shook his head. 2.5 hours have passed. The antidote's effect has worn off. He's confident in his poison. Chrysanthemum Bluo sensed it, nodded, then took Lin Feng to the outskirts to find a lava lizard. Chapter 19, A Gift for Xiaoxu. The soul ring absorption process went very smoothly. Looking at the purple soul ring circling around the innate treasure pearl in his hand, Lin Feng seemed lost in thought. This soul ring had granted him an offensive soul skill. Second soul skill, Earth Fire Surge. Whoosh! Crimson flames burst out from Lin Feng, spreading rapidly in all directions. Accompanied by a wave of scorching heat, the flames instantly expanded to cover 100 square meters. With a sizzling sound, the blue-silver grass on the ground was gradually burnt to ash. As the fire elements danced nimbly in the air, Lin Feng willed the earth fire to gather toward his hand. Finally, the flames condensed into a tangible fireball, with even more violent energy surging within it. Chrysanthemum Bluo looked surprised. A secondary application of the soul skill? Kid, is your second soul skill really that easy to master? Lin Feng threw the fireball. The surging energy exploded against a tree trunk thick enough for two people to embrace. Boom. The tree collapsed with a loud crash, making Chrysanthemum Bluo raise an eyebrow. Clicking his tongue, he said, and you still claim to be a support-type soul master? This kind of power would be considered top-tier even among power attack specialists. Lin Feng smiled slightly, clearly very satisfied with his second soul skill. After all, who wouldn't want real combat power? Why settle for just being a support-type soul master? Xiaofeng, do you have any more of that immortal herb? Chrysanthemum Bluo asked bashfully, looking like a cat drooling over a treat it couldn't reach. Grandpa Zhu, let's return to the base first. Among the herbs I gathered, there's one especially suited for you. Really? Hurry, show it to me. Lin Feng chuckled and said, Grandpa Zhu, let's head back first. I want to hand over some herbs to Zhu '. As for this one, you can hold on to it first. As he spoke, he handed a jade box to Chrysanthemum Bluo. Chrysanthemum Bluo took it with trembling hands and swallowed hard. This is Kirong Tongshan Chrysanthemum. An immortal herb, it really is. He carefully placed the jade box down, his gaze full of infatuation and awe. For a moment, a trace of greed flashed in his eyes, but it quickly vanished. He handed the box back to Lin Feng with a sigh. An immortal treasure like this. Just seeing it is a great fortune for me. Kid, you'd better turn this into the Grand Worshipper. It would serve best as a part of Spirit Hall's foundation. Lin Feng smiled as he took it back. Don't worry, Grandpa Zhu. I'll ask Xue to request it for you. Chrysanthemum Bluo grinned. Well, if you can really secure it for me, then whatever troubles you face in the future, just count on me. Even if you want to marry that Zhuge Yan girl, I'll back you all the way. Lin Feng's face darkened. Grandpa Zhu, please don't joke like that. Ha ha ha. They returned to the base shortly afterward. By the time they reached the courtyard, it was nearly evening. Qian Renxue was listening to Snake-Lance Bluo's report, occasionally nodding. Seeing Lin Feng and Chrysanthemum Bluo return, she waved her hand to dismiss Snake-Lance. Snake-Lance Bluo paused, shook his head helplessly, and left to reorganize his report in writing. He had just been getting into the flow. Being interrupted now meant he had to write the whole thing out. Couldn't even save ink anymore. With a resentful glance at Lin Feng, he walked into the study. Xiaofeng, how did it go? Did you settle that Zhuge Bo issue? Is he willing to join Spirit Hall? If he slighted you in any way, just tell me. I'll make sure you get justice. Qian Renxue smiled brightly. Lin Feng felt a warm feeling in his heart. To have a childhood friend who always thought of him. How could anyone else understand such happiness? Off to the side, Ling Yuan's eyes lit up. She suddenly appeared at Lin Feng's side, reaching for his hand in surprise. Xiaofeng, you broke through level 20. What happened? Qian Renxue also stopped smiling. Her brows furrowed as she hurried over. She was anxious. He had only been out half a day. What could cause such a massive jump in spirit power? Aside from dark arts or damaging forbidden techniques, she couldn't think of any other method. With that thought, her expression sharpened. Her eyes turned accusatory toward Chrysanthemum Duo. Ling Yuan also stared daggers at him. Why are they blaming me? Chrysanthemum Duo quickly clarified, it's not what you think. It was the immortal herbs. The herbs? Immortal herbs? Ling Yuan and Qian Renxue both looked confused. Chrysanthemum Duo hurried to explain everything. Who can understand this pain? He thought. These two women have terrifying glares. My old pal Ghost Duo is so much more gentle and refined. After the explanation, both women were stunned. Such divine items actually exist. They can help evolve martial spirits and create top-tier foundations? Chrysanthemum Duo pulled out his family's treasured botanical compendium. Exactly. All recorded in ancient texts. These immortal herbs are once-in-a-thousand-year treasures, only attainable by those with great fortune. Their effects and capabilities are beyond imagination. Even ordinary people with no cultivation could potentially awaken martial spirits through them. Jugubo's medicine garden might be one of the 3 great sacred grounds, judging by the abundance of such herbs. Qian Renxue smiled faintly, then Xiaofeng, can you pick one for me? Ling Yuan also looked at him with hopeful eyes. Lin Feng chuckled, let's talk inside. Once inside, Lin Feng revealed 5 or 6 immortal herbs, each radiating its own divine glow. Even with special containment devices, their fragrance still filled the room. The 3 of them fell silent. Especially Chrysanthemum Duo, his eyes lost focus. Only someone who knew the true value of immortal herbs would understand how frightening this scene was. He knew of a sect that had guarded a single low-grade immortal herb as its sacred treasure for generations. And yet, the ones in front of him now were far superior. Girong Tongshan Chrysanthemum, Narcissus Jade Muscle Bone, Fragrant Delicate Immortal, Golden Thread Delicate Fragrance, Autumn Dew with Far-Reaching Gaze. Chrysanthemum Duo murmured the names unconsciously. He slapped his face hard until it hurt and turned red before calming down. Once he confirmed he wasn't dreaming, he shouted like a madman, no. I need to find that old poison freak. He must have more immortal herbs. I have to see the 3 sacred grounds with my own eyes. Grandpa Ju. Stop. Qian Renxue snapped out of it just in time to stop him. She was already scheming. Young master, you've seen my herb compendium, you know how rare these are. Such a place should be claimed by Spirit Hall. Qian Renxue glanced at Lin Feng and shook her head, no need. Since Xiaofeng already took the herbs, there's no need to go back. Besides, Jugubo is now one of ours. We can negotiate about the ice and fire yin yang well later. Qian Renxue didn't care about any 3-year agreement. You've joined Spirit Hall, think you can leave? Dream on. Chrysanthemum Duo hesitated but realized Lin Feng was not the kind to let good things slip away, so he agreed. These herbs will be safeguarded by Xiaofeng and me for now. When we return to Spirit Hall, we'll present them to my grandfather. Any objections? None, ma'am. Alright, everyone disperse. Clear your minds. Don't speak of what you shouldn't, don't ask what you shouldn't. Yes. Once they had all left, Qian Renxue beckoned to Lin Feng. Xiaofeng, come with me. Let's eat first. I want to hear all about Jugubo, especially his granddaughter. I'm very interested. Lin Feng. You're even jealous of a kid now? At the table, Lin Feng took out a white flower attached to a piece of black obsidian and handed it to Qian Renxue. Xiaoxu, this is a gift for you. Qian Renxue happily accepted it and asked softly, is this also an immortal herb? Lin Feng nodded gently, yes. It has a tragic and beautiful story and a very beautiful name. Lovesick Heartbreak Red. Chapter 20, Asking the Heart. Amorous Heartbreak Red? Qian Renxue's beautiful eyes widened slightly as her fair hand gently stroked the white flower before her. The amorous Heartbreak Red trembled instinctively at first, trying to avoid her touch. But in the next moment, it bowed its head, and its white petals softly brushed against Qian Renxue's palm. Qian Renxue narrowed her eyes and smiled. It tickles, Xiaofeng, it can actually move on its own? But why is it called Amorous Heartbreak Red when it's clearly a white flower? Lin Feng felt a bit uneasy inside, because of that trace of blood red at its core. According to legend, a long, long time ago, there was a boy who loved flowers like his life. His courtyard was filled with lotus and peony, a riot of colors. He would chant poems to the flowers, confide his feelings to them. Whenever a flower wilted, he would mourn deeply, collecting the petals and burying them, shedding tears again and again. His extreme devotion to flowers eventually moved the flower fairy in the heavens. She descended to the mortal world, took human form, and became his wife. But their happiness was short-lived. The gods discovered her secret marriage to a mortal and, in fury, took her back to the divine realm, forever separating the two. The boy was heartbroken, became gaunt with grief, and even neglected his beloved flowers. One day, an old man came and told him that the white peony in his courtyard was the imprisoned form of his wife. If he destroyed it, she would lose her divine body and become mortal again, allowing them to be together. But the boy loved her too much to do it. Instead, he returned to caring for the peony with all his heart. Eventually, he died of heartbreak, coughing up a mouthful of blood before his death, which stained the flower red. Thus was born the amorous heartbreak red. After hearing the tale, Qian Renxue was visibly moved, lost in thought for a long time. A crystal tear fell from the corner of her eye. Lin Feng pursed his lips. If one wishes to take the flower, they must think of the one they love most, with genuine affection, and spit out a mouthful of blood essence. If there's even a hint of distraction in the heart, it will fail. She stared dazedly at the amorous heartbreak red before her, then gazed dreamily at Lin Feng. So, Zhao Feng, you're hoping I can take it, right? Given their shared experiences, this was already a clear confession of their feelings. Lin Feng nodded solemnly. In the Douluo continent, people matured early. At nearly 10 years old, they already understood love between men and women. In truth, Lin Feng was a bit uncertain himself. He was sure he couldn't pick it. He did have feelings for Qian Renxue, but he also had a fondness for the seductive Ling Yuan. And perhaps even more. Lin Feng sighed inwardly. Maybe this was just a flaw of men, always looking at what's in the pot while eating from the bowl. With memories of his past life, he knew he couldn't focus on only one person in this world of Douluo. He never claimed to be a saint. He acknowledged his affections for many, but was also willing to take responsibility. As a transmigrator, if he couldn't even change a few events from the original story, what was the point? All he wanted was to give his true heart, and be rewarded for it. If you think that's unrealistic, well, you're wrong. This is the Douluo continent, where everyone is a die-hard romantic. Once they fall in love, they're loyal for life. Those tragically Ryuian-type betrayals after years of devotion, totally laughable here. PFFT. Without hesitation, Qian Renxue spat out a mouthful of blood essence onto the amorous heartbreak red, instantly dyeing its petals a crimson hue. The once white petals turned blood-stained, the radiant and mournful filaments shifting shape. Qian Renxue closed her eyes, and Lin Feng's image filled her mind. Scene after scene flashed by, memories of their time together. While undergoing the test of the amorous heartbreak red, Qian Renxue also began questioning her own heart. What did she truly feel for Lin Feng? They met in the library, where she was drawn to his diligent and driven demeanor. They became friends, and she was amazed by his talent and insight, seeing him as someone who could one day stand shoulder to shoulder with her. Then her mother became increasingly cold toward her, and her father grew more distant. In that time, Lin Feng remained a true companion, no matter the season, no matter the hour. He listened to her, taught her things she never knew, stirred emotions she had never felt. He had quietly walked into her heart and taken up a significant place there. Later, after Qian Xunji's death and her break with Bibi Dong, Lin Feng became the first person she thought of for comfort. That was the day she kissed him. Her furrowed brows eased, her heart finally at peace. Whether he was a rival she admired, a partner she trusted deeply, or someone she relied on, someone she loved dearly, someone she could see as her future other half. It was all love. And she truly did love Lin Feng, there was no denying it. The amorous heartbreak red suddenly shook violently, then, to Qian Renxue's delight, slowly descended from the obsidian stone into her palm. It fluttered with joy, floating gently in her hand. Zhao Feng, did you see that? Qian Renxue wiped away her tears, her violet eyes shimmering like stars. Zhao Zhu, I like you too. Lin Feng replied softly. Qian Renxue lowered her gaze and walked to his side. Her lips, soft and dewy like a peeled lychee, pressed lightly to his forehead. When they parted, their foreheads rested together. Qian Renxue ran her fingers along Lin Feng's cheeks, gazing at his increasingly handsome face with a trace of enchantment. Zhao Feng, let's stay together forever. I won't let you go. Lin Feng wrapped his arms around her waist and said gently. Zhao Zhu, aren't you going to consume it? No, I want to keep it by my side. It's like a little spirit, carrying my feelings. Qian Renxue looked at the floating amorous heartbreak red and said softly. The next morning, Lin Feng and Chrysanthemum Douluo headed again to Jugubo's estate. Qian Renxue's preparations for her mission were nearly complete. The investigation into Crown Prince Zhu Qing's daily behavior was already thorough. That prince of the Heavened Empire probably never imagined that all his maids and guards were people from the Spirit Hall. Now all Qian Renxue needed to do was perfect her soul bone disguise technique, fully assume Zhu Qing's identity, and pass the scrutiny of several titled Douluo. Then, at the right moment, the real prince would be replaced. Lin Feng silently mourned the real Zhu King for 2.5 seconds, then shifted his focus to Jugubo. Today, Jugubo was like a new man, full of energy and spirit. The grin on his face and the gleam in his teeth spoke volumes of the joy in his heart. "You're here, little brother?" Jugubo greeted cheerfully, waving at Chrysanthemum Douluo. Chrysanthemum Douluo almost choked, pointing angrily at him. "You brat, I'm several years older than you. Calling me little brother? Do you have a death wish?" Jugubo waved dismissively. Having resolved the martial soul issues in his family, he was in an unbothered mood. "What do you care? If Ghost Douluo suddenly married a young wife, wouldn't you have to call her sister-in-law too? What kind of dumb comparison is that? Utter nonsense. And that old ghost doesn't care about romance anyway." Jugubo shrugged. "Say what you like. So, what brings you two here today?" Lin Feng nodded slightly. "Grandpa Jugu, it's time for you to report to the spirit hall." "So soon?" Jugubo was a bit surprised. Chrysanthemum Douluo snorted. "What? Still want the Grand Worshipper to come get you himself? Ahem, well. I guess a bit of urgency is good. I'll leave in a few days, alright?" Jugubo coughed awkwardly. "It's for your own good to go early. You're about to break through to titled Douluo. With our backing, and the Grand Worshipper's protection, your 9th spirit ring will be much easier to obtain." Jugubo's eyes lit up, and he nodded at once. Lin Feng and Chrysanthemum Douluo exchanged a glance, a smile flickering in their eyes. With the mission coming soon, the fewer high-level soul masters left in Heaven City, the better. As Zhuge Yan watched sadly, Lin Feng and Chrysanthemum Douluo returned to base. "Zhaozu, Sister Ling Yuan, I'm planning to condense my second soul channel." Lin Feng summoned his innate treasure orb, its faint purple soul ring pulsing. Chapter 21, The Second Soul Meridian. Although Lin Feng hadn't yet told the two about his second soul ring being 1,000 years old, the two already knowing the effects of the immortal herb weren't particularly surprised by his ability to absorb a millennium ring. "Now, Xiaofeng, you just absorbed your soul ring. Isn't it a bit too soon? Maybe you should first stabilize your cultivation and get familiar with the soul ring before trying again?" Qian Renxue frowned. After yesterday, her concern for Lin Feng had clearly risen another level. Ling Yuan recalled the scene when Lin Feng forged his first soul meridian and bit her lip unconsciously. "No, Xiaofeng, there are no healing-type soul masters here right now. What if something goes wrong? You didn't have any soul power left to heal yourself last time after succeeding." Lin Feng grinned. "No need to worry too much. I've already mastered my second soul skill, Earth Fire Surge." In an instant, blazing flames flared up again. This time, however, as soon as the flames emerged from the ground, Lin Feng gathered them in his palm. Soul skill secondary transformation. Ling Yuan's expression shifted, her lips parting slightly in awe. Qian Renxue's beautiful eyes widened, filled with joy. "I knew it. Xiaofeng isn't some simple support-type soul master. The power of this soul skill already surpasses what most assault-type soul masters are capable of." Ling Yuan frowned. "If that's the case, then how should Xiaofeng choose his development path moving forward? You know, having too broad a skill set often means one can't reach the peak in any one field. Sis Ling Yuan, don't forget soul masters fight using soul skills. Xiaofeng's second soul skill can already be used like two different abilities. Condensed, it's offensive. Scattered, it's control. And its power is top tier. In my opinion, Xiaofeng's martial spirit is definitely top grade. You can tell just from the effects of his two soul skills. There's no need to worry about his future growth." Ling Yuan paused, then slowly nodded. "Makes sense. As long as there's no rejection when the soul ring is absorbed, it means the ring truly fits the martial spirit. That's a trait of the martial spirit itself." Lin Feng smiled slightly, flame flickering at his fingertip. "So? How's my control over the sudden increase in power and new soul skill?" Ling Yuan rolled her eyes at him, feigning annoyance. "Showing off now, are we?" Lin Feng shrugged. "Can't help it. I'm just that good. Life is lonely at the top. If you're still worried, Sis Ling Yuan, you can go outside and find a healing-type soul master. If something does go wrong, you can bring them in to treat me in time." Ling Yuan thought about it. She did happen to know a friend in Tian City, a relative of that Yizixin. "No problem, I'll go check if she's around. If something really happens, I'll just drag her here. Worst case, she'll curse me out a bit. Haha." In a flash, Ling Yuan sped off toward the western side of the city, returning not long after. "No problem, she's here. I arranged for her to stay at a shop. She's picking out skirts right now." Qian Renxue and Ling Yuan exchanged a glance and nodded at each other. "Grandfather Chrysanthemum, Grandfather Shi, please keep watch over the surroundings." "Yes." Chrysanthemum Douluo sighed quietly. What a pity he couldn't witness that incredible process firsthand. But then he remembered the sting-ogged old ghost who went out for intel and didn't even get news of the immortal herbs. Suddenly, he felt a little better. At least he knew more than them. Which meant what? Meant the young master trusted him more. Xiaofeng's pillow talk must have worked wonders. Wait, why was he thinking about pillow talk? They hadn't even slept together. He shook his head. Well, it won't be long anyway. He muttered. Alright, I'm starting. It shouldn't take too long this time. Lin Feng sat cross-legged, circulating his soul power. The purple soul ring gradually stopped pulsing and separated from the innate pearl. Qian Renxue stared unblinkingly. She had missed Lin Feng's first soul meridian forging. This time, she wouldn't miss a second. The pearl once again entered his danshan, glowing with radiant light, its misty aura nurturing his meridians and body. Sensing the soul ring on his hand, Lin Feng felt a new understanding rise within. Soul rings, as a condensation of soul power, contain the laws of heaven and earth. When structured properly, they birth soul skills. A soul ring serves as a vessel and foundation for soul skills, like a piece of machinery that enables techniques. But beyond that, it's also the key to breaking through limits. It holds the extra soul power, forming the base upon which a martial spirit can grow. A martial spirit grows like a high-rise building, layer upon layer. The soul ring is the platform that allows it to build upward. Or rather, the staircase to the next floor. Without it, a soul master can't ascend, though their foundation will keep strengthening through cultivation. That's why soul power still increases without new rings. Soul rings bring qualitative leaps in power, while personal cultivation accumulates soul power quantity. So that's it. The martial spirit. And one's own self. Between them. Something clicked in Lin Feng's mind. A gleam flashed in his eyes, but just as he reached for that insight, it slipped away. Forget it. I'll figure it out eventually. For now, I need to condense the soul meridian. Break. Ping. The faint purple soul ring instantly turned into a misty halo and entered Lin Feng's body. With the first experience under his belt, Lin Feng handled it smoothly, forming the crucial meridian around his heart. A sound like a war drum thundered through his body. Lin Feng coughed up a mouthful of blood. This second soul meridian proved tougher than he expected. Possibly due to the fire attribute. Even though he had chosen the relatively tame earth fire lizard soul ring, condensing a meridian at the heart was still incredibly difficult. The heart is both vital and fragile. Forging a soul meridian here was far from simple. Lin Feng composed himself and fully activated the innate pearl, guiding his soul power. Seeing Lin Feng bleed, Qian Renxue panicked and rushed forward. Smack. Ling Yuan's pale hand stopped her. She gave Qian Renxue a reassuring look and shook her head. But her eyes stayed fixed on Lin Feng's trembling body, her lips tightly pressed. Clearly, she was just as anxious inside. Qian Renxue paused. Seeing the tension on Ling Yuan's face stirred strange emotions in her heart. She halted and watched Lin Feng's actions with Ling Yuan, not daring to make a sound. From time to time, she glanced at Ling Yuan, feeling increasingly irritable. Her worried gaze toward Lin Feng now held a tinge of jealousy. 2.5 hours later, Lin Feng let out a long breath but was too weak to stand. Ling Yuan stepped forward to hold him, but a golden figure moved faster. Qian Renxue gently placed Lin Feng's upper body on her lap. She shot Ling Yuan a wary glance, then lowered her head, caressed Lin Feng's face, and probed his condition with her soul power, asking softly, "Are you okay?" Lin Feng nodded. Ling Yuan. Forget it. I already hugged him last time anyway. The innate pearl floated in the air. The purple soul ring was now gone. The originally pale gold pearl now shimmered with a reddish glow within its misty halo. With a flick of his finger, a wisp of flame danced forth. Chapter 22, Splendor. Feeling the second soul vessel within his body, Lin Feng's mind stirred slightly. The soul vessel near his heart was somewhat different from the first one near his liver. It was more powerful, with a crimson hue that radiated a burning heat. This soul vessel nourished the heart through a meridian point, and Lin Feng could sense the vitality it provided. His heartbeat became stronger and more forceful, yet the number of beats per minute decreased. Those familiar with biology would recognize this as an excellent sign. It meant Lin Feng's metabolism and cardiac efficiency had reached a new level. The first soul vessel in the liver coursed with boundless vitality, resonating through the meridian with the one at the heart. Faintly, Lin Feng sensed that these two pathways could be connected. The innate spirit pearl returned once more to his danshan. Soul power flowed, emerging from the danshan, passing through the liver, and converging at the heart. Whoosh! Refreshing. Unprecedented refreshment. His entire body felt like it was rejoicing, and the speed at which his soul power circulated more than doubled. Ha ha ha. Lin Feng stood up and laughed heartily, eyes full of bold ambition. He knew he was walking a path that was truly right. Qian Renxue looked slightly dazed, a mysterious glint in her eyes, and smiled lightly. She gently pushed Lin Feng back down. Huh? Don't move. Your body's still weak. I need to check you properly. Ling Yuan felt like she had heard that line somewhere before, but couldn't recall exactly where. She looked at Qian Renxue with a hint of envy, then glanced up at the sky, her pupils widening. Oh no, I forgot about her. She glanced at Qian Renxue's smiling face and sighed inwardly. After bidding farewell to the two of them, she headed toward the commercial street in the city. Grandpa Ju, Grandpa Shi, you can come in now. Finally done? Douluo and Qilong looked at the intimate scene before them, their expressions unmoved. They had long grown used to it. Douluo silently grumbled, young master, you really need to act with a bit more restraint. This boy is no simple, cheerful lad. Anyone who can draw those kinds of pictures has to be a lecher at heart. Grandpa Shi, did you manage to obtain the whale glue you mentioned last time in the city? Qian Renxue massaged Lin Feng's temples gently, easing his mental fatigue. Reporting to young master, today the Thornfish monitored Zhu King and also visited that noble's mansion. He should return by this evening. Qian Renxue nodded. Watching Lin Feng grow stronger step by step, she was both happy and anxious. After all, Lin Feng had only started with level 1 innate soul power, 19 levels lower than her. Now he was already at level 24, while she was at 36. Although the help of immortal herbs and thousand-year soul rings played a part, the shrinking gap despite their differing talents was undeniable. And with the addition of soul vessels, Lin Feng's cultivation speed would only increase. Zhao Feng, how much enhancement does your second soul vessel provide? Lin Feng quietly enjoyed the massage and, after a brief thought, said, if it's just the first or second soul vessel alone, they each give a 20% boost. With both together, the training speed increases by 50%. For an ordinary person without soul vessels, these paths would only provide a 10% boost. Douluo's pupils contracted slightly. He asked, then Zhao Feng, why does the combined boost exceed what we'd expect from just adding the two? Could it be that soul vessels can interconnect and reinforce each other? Lin Feng nodded with a slight smile. Grandpa Ju, I aim to pioneer a new era. If I can't connect the paths within a cultivation method, then it's not truly successful. Even the chaotic hammer techniques of the Clear Sky clan emphasize chain movements, one wave after another. Douluo sighed, indeed, indeed. Today I truly admire you, boy. No wonder the grand worship favors you. Qilong added, then this technique, can we also cultivate it? Might you teach it to me? Of course. This was always meant to be an open method. You're both welcome to learn it. I just hadn't had the chance to share it yet due to other matters. Once I finish writing out the second pathway, Grandpa Shi, please deliver it to the grand worship at Spirit Hall. Qilong's eyes lit up. Alright, leave it to me. Now somewhat recovered, Lin Feng stood up under Qian Renxue's slightly reluctant gaze. He had no choice. Qian Renxue's massage had ended, and she'd started touching him randomly and rubbing her face against him. If this continued, he feared he wouldn't be able to restrain himself. Just then, a broad-shouldered figure entered the courtyard. Thornfish Douluo wore a pleased expression and pulled something out of his storage-type soul tool. Young master, I've fulfilled your request. I found this hidden in a secret compartment under that noble's bedside. Already verified with a merchant, it's confirmed to be 10,000-year whale glue. This kind is extremely rare and naturally fragrant. Oh? Qian Renxue raised her eyebrows, her expression joyful. Looking at the hefty block of whale glue weighing over 10 pounds, Qian Renxue said, very good. You all likely know the effects of whale glue. Keep half of it for yourselves, and give the other half to me. I won't need that much. If any of you have children in the future, you can let them try it might strengthen their bodies. Thank you, young master. The three of them cut off half. Zhao Feng, come with me. Qian Renxue took the whale glue, beckoned Lin Feng, and walked excitedly toward the room. This was said to extend the lifespan of soul rings, and at the 10,000-year level, its effects far exceeded the ordinary 1,000-year whale glue. Having seen Lin Feng break soul ring limits before, Qian Renxue had been itching to try it. Now, after waiting several days, she finally had it in hand and naturally wanted to test it immediately. The two closed the door. Lin Feng looked at Qian Renxue, his gaze beginning to drift. Zhaozu, did you forget the other effect of whale glue? Maybe I should wait outside? Qian Renxue's lips curled, a mischievous gleam in her eyes. Not a chance. You're the one who discovered its effects. And as a theory master, how could you miss such a valuable research opportunity? As for the side effects, they're nothing. I can handle them effortlessly. Well. Alright then. 2.5 minutes later. Lin Feng, now with Qian Renxue draped on him, her eyes dreamy, her cheek nuzzling against him, fell silent. Qian Renxue's face was flushed, her body warm. She lightly extended her tongue and exhaled warmly into Lin Feng's ear. Lin Feng shivered. Qian Renxue murmured softly, Zhao Feng, don't go. I feel a little uncomfortable. Just hold me for a while, it'll pass soon. Lin Feng closed his eyes tightly and wrapped his arms around Qian Renxue's slender waist. Qian Renxue smiled with joy, nestled her head against his shoulder, and gently breathed fragrant air toward him. And so, the two of them waited for the effects of the whale glue to subside. Chapter 23, Lin Yuan, you've changed. Yi Wangqing crouched in front of a shop, resting her chin on her hand. Her cheeks puffed out in irritation. Her mature, gentle figure stood out sulking in front of a store, unintentionally drawing plenty of foot traffic to the street and the shop. The shopkeeper chuckled, "Miss, is the person you're waiting for still not here? Why not come inside and have a seat?" Yi Wangqing shook her head, "It's fine. I'll just wait out here. Maybe she got lost. If I stay outside, she'll see me right away." The shopkeeper smiled knowingly. She was clearly just saying that. Honestly, he was thrilled to have her sitting outside. Having a beautiful woman there was great for business. Bored, Yi Wangqing started playing with the pebbles on the ground, picking one up and tossing it into the distance. "Stupid Lin Yuan, how dare you stand me up? I'm never speaking to you again." Suddenly, a beautiful figure in a tight black outfit appeared out of thin air, a smile on her face. "You're really never speaking to me again?" Yi Wangqing pouted and stood up, brushing off her skirt. "Speak to who? I don't hear anyone. It's lunchtime, and I'm leaving now." She walked past Lin Yuan as if she didn't exist, deliberately bumping shoulders to vent her frustration. PFFT Lin Yuan was amused. She grabbed Yi Wangqing's hand, and under her feisty glare, pinched her puffed cheeks with a teasing smile. "You're such a kid when you're angry, it's adorable." "Ugh, get lost." Yi Wangqing blushed, slapping Lin Yuan's wandering hand away. "You always do this. Every time we meet." Lin Yuan clicked her tongue. "They've grown again. Come on, tell me your secret already." Yi Wangqing gave her a sidelong glance. "It's called natural talent. And yours are fine already, a perfect handful. If you were like me, you'd suffer just walking around every day. For us soul masters, what's a little weight? I'm serious, spill the secret already." Yi Wangqing paused and looked at Lin Yuan suspiciously. "What's with you today? You never used to care about this stuff." "Wait a minute. Oh, I get it. When you stood me up for those few hours. You were with your little boyfriend, weren't you? TCH, who's falling for someone? I just wanted to take better care of myself, that's all." Yi Wangqing narrowed her eyes and smirked. "I said you fell for someone. So it is true." Lin Yuan stiffened and pulled Yi Wangqing along, ignoring her protests. "Come on, let's go eat. I'm treating your favorite imperial crab." Yi Wangqing shouted. "Even if you stuff me full to shut me up, you can't hide that you're in low MMM." Lin Yuan hurriedly covered her mouth, looking around nervously. No one seemed to notice. She sighed in relief. "Wangqing, please, I'm begging you, don't say crazy stuff like that, okay?" Yi Wangqing gave her a slightly resentful look. "Lin Yuan, you've changed. You used to call me King, remember?" "I did?" "No, I didn't." "You did." The two arrived at the hotel. Yi Wangqing licked her fingers clean of crab oil and asked seriously, "So, you're saying you've fallen for a younger guy?" Lin Yuan nodded. "PFF, so what? My brother-in-law's younger than my sister too. No big deal. Just go for it. With your beauty, Lin Yuan, one flick of your finger and any guy would fall at your feet." She lifted her chin confidently. Lin Yuan spoke quietly. "Well, he's a lot younger." Yi Wangqing frowned. "How much younger?" Lin Yuan turned her head. "More than 10 years." Yi Wangqing sprang to her feet in shock. Her eyes widened with disbelief. Lin Yuan rubbed her forehead awkwardly and gave a wry smile. "Well, Yi Wangqing scratched her head, looking conflicted. "That's not a big deal either. Titled Luos can live for hundreds of years. Just wait until he grows up, then you'll be about the same age. You have no idea what I've heard in Heaven City. There's this noble lady in her 40s on the west side, married a freshly adult soul master a few years back. Nobody really says anything. So don't stress. I totally support you." Lin Yuan sighed softly. "Wangqing, I'm really lucky to have you." Yi Wangqing sat beside her, rubbing Lin Yuan's hand to comfort her. "Of course. We're best friends. Besties always support each other, no matter what." Lin Yuan was touched and ordered 3 more plates of imperial crab. Yi Wangqing happily wiped her mouth after the meal. Patting her full belly, she burped in satisfaction. "Let's go, come back with me. I'll give you some advice." Lin Yuan raised an eyebrow. "You? Aren't you single too? What kind of advice could you give?" Yi Wangqing rolled her eyes. "Maybe I'm single, but my sister isn't. Didn't I tell you? My sister and her husband were in a similar situation." Lin Yuan suddenly recalled. Oh right, didn't your sister already have a child? That would make the kid over 3 years old now? Soul awakening must be soon. Yi Wangqing's expression dimmed. Yeah. If nothing goes wrong, once Ling-a-Ling awakens. She'll. Lin Yuan's heart clenched. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring that up. Yi Wangqing smiled. It's okay. It's the fate of the Nine-Heart Begonia family. Everyone knows. But enough of that. Let's go see my sister, maybe she'll give us some real lessons. Alright. Lin Yuan let Wangqing pull her toward the eastern part of the city. Watching her lively friend, her thoughts turned heavy. Heaven had given the Nine-Heart Begonia clan the top healing martial soul in the world, but at the cost of their inheritance. Every time a new Nine-Heart Begonia awakens, the previous generation passes away. Such a cruel fate. Not only was the spirit limited to a single skill, it also had such a restriction. A restriction. Lin Yuan's eyes suddenly lit up. Could this be a flaw in the martial soul? Could Xiaofeng possibly solve it? His theoretical talent was truly one of a kind. The thought brightened her mood. She stopped being dragged and walked side by side with Wangqing instead. Grabbing her friend's hand in return, she smiled. Alright, lead the way to your family's place. Chapter 24, Could it be that I like being passive? By the time Qian Renxue recovered her composure, the two of them were already lying on the ground. Qian Renxue leaned against Lin Feng's chest, her pretty face no longer flushed red, and she rubbed against him casually. She took a deep sniff of his scent, then braced her hands on either side of his shoulders. Looking down at Lin Feng, her long hair draped down, and her azure eyes locked onto his. Xiaofeng, you're amazing. I can feel it, my body's strength has increased just a little. Once we use that piece of whale glue, I'll definitely be able to absorb a 10,000-year soul ring. Lin Feng wrapped his arms around her slender waist and smiled. With just the whale glue, I wouldn't dare let you try absorbing a 10,000-year soul ring yet. Remember what I told you? After 10,000 years, soul beasts develop sentience, and their soul rings carry fragments of their consciousness. Physical strength alone isn't enough. You need to absorb those two immortal herbs from the ice and fire yin yang well first. Then I'll feel safe letting you attempt it. The painful process of refining the herbs in the ice and fire yin yang well would greatly enhance her spiritual power. Oh, Qian Renxue smiled sweetly, twirling a strand of her hair and brushing it across Lin Feng's nose. Then we'll go together when the time comes. I can only endure it with you by my side. It's not that bad. For you, the process will only be a little painful. With your talent, the whale glue boost, and the years of nurturing from the innate pearl, the ice and fire refinement won't be a problem. Qian Renxue raised her chin proudly. So what? I just like having you with me. When you're around, I'm not afraid of anything. Humphrey. Zoo. Soft, delicate, silky smooth. Today's flavor was cherry. As their lips touched and Qian Renxue prepared to go further, a cough came from outside the room. Young mistress, it's time for disguise simulation training. Qian Renxue opened her eyes, a trace of irritation flashing within them. Seeing the teasing look in Lin Feng's gaze, she blushed harder. That damn whale glue effect still hasn't worn off. She withdrew her mischievous hand from Lin Feng's clothes. With a peck on his cheek, she stood up and walked toward the door. I'll come back tonight. She opened the door, glared at Chrysanthemum Duo, and huffed, let's go. Chrysanthemum Duo pretended not to notice, sighing inwardly. The Grand Priest had tasked him with secretly keeping watch, ensuring the two didn't go too far. Though their relationship was already tacitly approved, the priest was still paranoid that the precious cabbage he raised would get snatched away. Not realizing the cabbage was leaping into Lin Feng's arms on its own. Honestly, it wasn't even likely they'd go too far. At that age, his own body hadn't even fully reacted to such things. Worse, he was stuck in the middle. He couldn't offend the young mistress, couldn't disobey the Grand Priest, and couldn't alienate Lin Feng either. His future herbs depended on him. Wait, maybe all three are family now. Chrysanthemum Duo's thoughts spiraled as he followed Qian Renxue to the training grounds. Back in his room, Lin Feng sat cross-legged, deep in thought. Could it be that I actually like being passive? It seemed like every time, Qian Renxue made the first move and he just responded. Then he remembered holding hands with Ling Yuan, the lap pillow. That was the same too? Did he like that kind of feeling? He shook his head hard. Impossible, absolutely impossible. A man born between heaven and earth should not stay beneath others for long. Next time, I will take the initiative. I'm not Huo. I don't have any submissive tendencies. Right, there's no way I like that. He pursed his lips and nodded to himself, walking out with purpose. In his room, Lin Feng picked up his brush and began writing about the second path of cultivation. During the process of condensing the second soul vessel, he once again sensed a deeper essence hidden within soul rings. By combining soul power with natural laws, A unique martial soul draws a part of the law that best suits it, thus generating a soul skill. That was Lin Feng's current understanding. Though the soul ring had evolved into a soul vessel, the fundamental law still resided within. Thus, he could still use soul skills, and without the limits of rings, the soul vessel could grow stronger. From this angle, a soul ring was both a container and a shackle. Having internalized the laws of origin, I've already diverged from the mainstream soul master path. Martial souls, from the moment they awaken, are projections of the self. By the soul sage stage, one can manifest the martial soul true body, yet even then, it's still the martial soul taking the lead. Now that I've absorbed the soul ring into myself, the martial soul should be the same, returning to its roots. The innate pearl. Let it guide me, return to the origin, and reshape the innate. Lin Feng's eyes gleamed as he wrote fervently. Outside the window, baby birds chirped, and the breeze gently stirred the young man's hair. Ling-a-ling, say Aunt Ling Yuan. Big Sis Ling Yuan, came the soft, playful voice of a child. Yi Ling-a-ling curiously stared at Ling Yuan. This big sister seemed unfamiliar. Ling Yuan giggled, bent down, and patted Ling-a-ling's little head. Ling-a-ling, what's this? You call me auntie, but call her big sister? Yi Ling-a-ling tilted her head and blinked, but you really are my aunt. She glanced up and whispered, besides, Mom said if a sister over there is especially big, then you should call her auntie. Yi Wangking was speechless. What kind of nonsense had her sister been teaching the child? This was just natural talent, not because of. Ugh, what even is this logic? Sister's talking nonsense again. She crouched down too, patiently explaining, Ling-a-ling, titles don't depend on size, okay? From now on, when you see a beautiful big sister like us, never call her auntie, always call her big sister. Got it? Ling-a-ling got it. Ling Yuan gave Yi Wangking a side eye and sent a voice transmission. Then what did you mean earlier? Yi Wangking ignored her and took Ling-a-ling's hand. Come on, let's find your mom. In the guest hall, Yi father and Yi mother exchanged a glance. Smiling, they eagerly pulled Ling Yuan's delicate hand, guiding her to the nearby chairs. Yi mother gently kneaded her hand and smiled. Jia Yuan, this is great news. Look at Wangking still like a child, how can that go on? Just the other day she was fighting Ling-a-ling over candy. So embarrassing. Yi Wangking's face darkened as she looked away awkwardly. Listen to me, go for it boldly. Your brother-in-law is 6 years younger than me. He was just like that at first, all reserved, like a shy little girl. With your charm, you don't need fancy tricks. Just be proactive, stay close to him every day. Once he starts responding even a little, strike while the iron's hot, trap him in your gentleness. Ling Yuan's face turned red from the bluntness, a little flustered by Yi mother's advice. I'll go over the details with you in a bit. Yi mother added warmly. Ling Yuan lowered her head slightly and softly replied. Chapter 25, Ziofeng, don't turn around, it's me. Lin Yuan. Yi Wangking looked at Lin Yuan's demeanor, clicking her tongue in amazement. She had never seen her sister like this. Was love really that magical? Should she tell Zixin and ask to borrow some of those romance books? She was getting a bit curious. Then again, Zixin had so many of them they could build a mountain, it'd be easier to just stock up straight from her. Lin Yuan, listening to Yi mother's patient advice, had bright eyes and nodded from time to time. After finishing a cup of tea, Yi mother cleared her throat and said, all right, that's the general idea. Later on, she glanced behind her and whispered into Lin Yuan's ear, I'll have Wangking give you my old notes. Lin Yuan's delicate mouth slightly opened. There were actually notes for things like this. It seemed like every woman in the Yi family was a bit odd. Wangking was one thing, but Yi mother had taken notes while chasing Yi father? And Zixin was basically addicted to romantic novels. Lin Yuan nodded slightly. Thank you. Seeing the smiling faces of the three women, she ultimately decided not to bring up her 9-heart begonia spirit issue just yet. After some thought, she figured it was better to talk to Ziofeng first. If she brought it up with Wangking and the others and it didn't go well, it wouldn't respect Ziofeng, and she'd also disappoint Wangking. That wouldn't be good. After thanking Yi mother, Lin Yuan and Yi Wangking left the guest hall. Wangking, I'll go for now. I'll come back to see you another time. I can't stay long in Heaven City, I still have business to take care of. Yi Wangking's eyes dimmed a little and she kicked a small rock at her feet. Leaving so soon? I wanted to properly catch up with you. The spirit hall is so annoying, always missions, training. I told you not to join back then. Lin Yuan chuckled, pinching Yi Wangking's little nose. Alright, next time I'll hang out with you more. You should train seriously too. It's been so long, and you're still only level 47? Yi Wangking frowned. Not everyone's a genius like you. I only had rank 6 innate spirit power, and my spirit is just a regular begonia flower. Reaching level 47 is already impressive. I'll be a soul sage eventually. Lin Yuan gave an awkward smile. By the way, do you think the begonia flower is a degenerated version of the nine-heart begonia? Or is the nine-heart begonia a mutated evolution of it? Yi Wangqing tilted her head, clearly not having thought about it much. Maybe the former? Since nine-heart begonia still appears sometimes. But that doesn't feel quite right. Ugh, I don't want to think about it. Then don't think about it. I'm heading off. We'll meet again soon. Waving goodbye, Lin Yuan's figure vanished. Yi Wangqing looked at the now empty space beside her and pouted. Everyone's out making life difficult for themselves. Why not just eat, play, and take the occasional easy mission like me? Wouldn't it be so much better? Back at the stronghold, Lin Yuan saw Lin Feng seated at his desk, eyes closed, meditating. She thought of Yi Mother's advice and glanced off toward Qian Renxue in the distance. In a flash, she appeared silently behind Lin Feng and knelt down. Her soft hands gently pressed against his shoulders, easing his fatigue. Who is it? Xiaofeng, don't turn around, it's Lin Yuan. Lin Feng raised a brow. Where did Lin Yuanji learn that line? It sounded strange. Thanks. Blushing, Lin Yuan looked at his now slightly relaxed face and spoke gently, how does it feel? Should I press a little harder? Go ahead. A sly glint flashed in Lin Yuan's eyes. Her thumb slid toward Lin Feng's neck, massaging deeper. Lin Yuanji, your massage technique has really improved lately. It feels great. Does Xiaofeng like it? Lin Feng nodded. Of course. After all, it's a massage from Lin Yuanji herself, how could I not? Giggle. Lin Yuan was delighted. You've been thinking a lot. Your mind must be tired. Lie down, I'll massage your temples. I feel alright. My state's pretty good. Lin Yuan suddenly pushed Lin Feng down, placing his head on her lap, her eyes carrying a hint of warning. Now that you mention it, I do feel a little tired. Please take good care of me, Lin Yuanji. Lin Yuan smiled with satisfaction. Looking at the jade bowl in front of him, Lin Feng inwardly panicked. Wait. Do I actually like this feeling? No, this isn't right. Xiaofeng, I really wish I could always give you massages like this. Eyes still shut, Lin Feng replied, you can if Lin Yuanji wants to, I'll always be here. Lin Yuan's eyes lit up. Was this his response? Her heart relaxed as she cheerfully massaged his temples. She glanced at Qian Renxue in the distance, thinking hard. How could she get Qian Renxue to accept her? Lately, it seemed like Qian Renxue had noticed something, but she hadn't mocked or rejected her. She hadn't even stopped her from spending time with Lin Feng. Was that a sign she was giving her a chance? Lin Yuan told herself it didn't matter, Renxue could be the main wife. She was fine with just having a place at Lin Feng's side. Qian Renxue glanced unconsciously toward Lin Feng's room and sighed. Lin Yuanji, if you hadn't treated me so well when I was young, and if I hadn't seen how caring you are toward Xiaofeng and how he has feelings for you too, do you think I'd tolerate you? If I wasn't worried that rejecting you would hurt Xiaofeng's heart, I would never share him. Your Highness? Seeing her lost in thought, Chrysanthemum Bluo called out in confusion. Oh, it's nothing. Just thinking about something. What is it? None of your business. She glared at him. He was the one who interrupted her earlier, after all. Chrysanthemum Bluo twitched at the corner of his mouth. I didn't say anything. Qian Renxue looked at her reflection in the mirror and frowned. So annoying. This prince has such a feminine vibe. Though he's male, there's no masculinity. Neither fully male nor female. Just thinking about having to pretend to be like this annoys me. Chrysanthemum Bluo mused, Your Highness, Zhu King is only 15. His appearance isn't fully developed yet. We can adjust it slightly over time. Qian Renxue nodded slightly. That's true. Still, my Xiaofeng is so much better looking. These nobles and royals are all the same luxury, vanity, indulgence. Indeed, Your Highness. This plan is an important step in our grand strategy. Once we bring heaven under our control, the entire continent will unite. Only then will soul masters and common people get the benefits they deserve. Qian Renxue's expression turned cold. Ridiculous how the two empires still try to smear the spirit hall. Do they really think without us keeping balance, they'd give soul masters subsidies? Or awaken commoners' spirits for free? 98% of those going to all corners of the Bluo continent to awaken spirits every year are our spirit hall people. The people's hearts are with us, they have no chance of winning. Your Highness is wise. Chapter 26, the most comfortable nap. Lying in a soft and gentle embrace, Lin Feng slowly drifted into sleep under Ling Yuan's gentle and perfectly timed massage. His breathing became calm, and a smile lingered on his lips. Ling Yuan stopped her movements, gazing down at Lin Feng lying below her. Her own tense spirit unknowingly relaxed as she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and chuckled softly. If only you had come earlier. Then I wouldn't have had to share you with Zhao Zhu. Her gaze fell to his lips as she looked at his peaceful sleeping face. A teasing voice suddenly cut in, "You want a taste too?" Ling Yuan's pupil shrank as she looked toward the door. "Zhaozu, you?" Her face flushed with embarrassment, and she became flustered, instinctively wanting to get up. "Shh, don't wake him," Qian Renxue whispered, stopping her. She slowly approached the bedside and glanced at the notes on the table. The writing was dense and a bit messy, but it radiated energy. Clearly, Lin Feng had been hit with inspiration again. She looked down at the sleeping Lin Feng with a trace of heartache, then sat beside Ling Yuan. Placing a hand gently on Ling Yuan's shoulder. Ling Yuan flinched slightly and gave a nervous smile. "What are you so scared of?" "Zhaozu, just now Qian Renxue shook her head. "I noticed long ago. You don't have to hide anymore, Sister Ling Yuan." Ling Yuan lowered her head, eyes dim. "Sorry." Qian Renxue bit her lip and sighed slightly. "We agreed, when I'm not around, you'll take good care of Zhao Feng. But anything we haven't done, you can't do either. And he has to admit in front of me himself that he likes you." Ling Yuan's head shot up, eyes bright with excitement. "Really?" Her voice was low, but the joy was clear. "Have I ever lied to you? That's great. Thank you, Zhaozu." She gave Qian Renxue a hug out of excitement. Qian Renxue rolled her eyes. "You'd better start thinking how to get that playboy to confess himself. He probably thinks he's hiding his glance as well, but I've been with him almost 3 years. You think I can't tell?" Ling Yuan smiled slightly. With Aunt Yi's strategy guide in hand, she wasn't worried Lin Feng wouldn't fall into her net. "Zhaozu." "What?" Ling Yuan's voice turned soft and a little bashful. "Then how far can I go?" Qian Renxue's eyes flicked to the side, her ears turning red. "Just hold hands for now. No kissing." "Okay. I'll follow your rules." With Qian Renxue's permission, Ling Yuan finally felt free of worries. Now she could take things slow, and everything would fall into place. Seeing Ling Yuan's bright smile, Qian Renxue snorted. Old cow eating tender grass. Ling Yuan wasn't bothered, she felt immune to gossip now. With both girls at ease, sleepiness began to creep up again. They carefully tucked Lin Feng in and leaned against him, one on each side, quietly resting. Ling Yuan wore a joyful smile. Qian Renxue's face was peaceful, as though a burden had been lifted. Lin Feng. He didn't dare move. He realized he had underestimated Qian Renxue. She had noticed long ago how he looked at Ling Yuan. He also realized her personality had changed. The proud and sincere girl he once knew now showed nothing but wholehearted concern for his feelings. Maybe it was because her years of pretending to be a prince of Heaven's Empire hadn't started yet. She didn't have the original Qian Renxue's extreme desire for power or possessiveness. Instead, she was simply a girl in love, who cared about the one she loved. The image of the haughty heiress faded from his mind, replaced by a gentle, warm version of Qian Renxue. Maybe calling her a dutiful wife was a stretch right now, but the traits were there. From each side came their distinct scents, Ling Yuan's, long and soft like lavender. Qian Renxue's, delicate and pure like a blooming peony. Lin Feng smiled quietly and calmed his thoughts. When Lin Feng awoke, the bed beside him was empty. He pulled off a blanket he didn't remember being covered with, got up, and walked out the door. "Sleep well?" Ling Yuan yawned as she stretched, her graceful figure revealed without restraint. Lin Feng raised an eyebrow. "Not even trying to act anymore, huh? Maybe I should wait a bit longer to say I like her. I mean, free perks. Why not? The most comfortable nap ever." He winked and smiled. Ling Yuan snorted and smoothly took his hand. "Come on, Zhaozu is waiting for you to eat." Lin Feng held her hand tighter and nodded. "All right." Ling Yuan blinked in surprise, then smiled to herself. The more Lin Feng responded to her, the closer she was to her goal. Unbeknownst to them, their entire interaction had already been eavesdropped on. Qian Renxue, watching their joined hands from a distance, chuckled inwardly. "Come, sit. You two must be hungry after all that hard work." She gestured to the 2 seats next to her. "Thanks." After their meal, Qian Renxue lowered her voice. "The mission will likely start at the noble banquet a week from now." Lin Feng nodded in thought. "Then we should go to the Ice and Fire Yin Yang Well tomorrow. Jugubo's leaving in 3 days. Originally I planned to go later when we return to Spirit Hall, but now it's risky. You just took over for Zhu King, it's too soon for you to leave again. And after Jugubo joins Spirit Hall, another visit might alert heaven." Qian Renxue froze briefly, then nodded. "Will refining those 2 herbs take long? Considering your background, a few hours should be enough." The next day, disguised Qian Renxue, Lin Feng, and Chrysanthemum Luo went to Jugubo's residence. Jugubo, packing his belongings, looked surprised. You brought another little girl today? Looks a bit like Linfeng. Kid, she your relative? I'm his little sister. Qian Renxue replied sweetly, clinging to Linfeng's arm. Ah, makes sense. Grandpa Jugu, could we visit your medicinal garden today? We're here to collect those 2 herbs you promised. Jugubo gave Linfeng a knowing look. Let me guess, those 2 herbs are for your little sister, huh? Humphrey. Gave your girlfriend 6 or 7, and only 2 to your sister. Little girl, your brother clearly doesn't care about you now that he's got a girlfriend. Qian Renxue. Yeah, whatever you say. Chapter 27, Ice and Fire Forge. The Golden Body brother wouldn't do that, right, brother? Qian Renxue shook Linfeng's arm, speaking in a spoiled, flirtatious tone. Linfeng shivered in response, and Chrysanthemum Bluo standing beside them wore an odd expression. No, of course not. Linfeng quickly said. Jugubo curled his lip. Young lady, if you don't want to lose favor once your brother gets a girlfriend, you'd better pick him a good one. Look over there, my Yan is perfect, around your age too. You two would get along well. If she became your brother's girlfriend, she'd surely treat you like a queen. Qian Renxue glanced at Jugubo, narrowing her eyes with a sly smile. Oh? Is that so, brother? Linfeng sighed and rubbed his forehead. Grandpa Jugu, please stop joking. Let's just go. Jugubo waved them off and tossed a jade bottle. Inside are 10 antidotes to the poisonous miasma. That's more than enough. Go yourselves, this old man needs to spend time with Yan. Chrysanthemum Bluo looked surprised. Old poison geezer, you trust us that much? Jugubo scoffed. What, you think I'm like you? You cursed me once and chased me around for 10 years. If Zhao Feng ever stooped so low as to steal, then I must be blind. Chrysanthemum Bluo awkwardly cleared his throat. Maybe. He was the one in the wrong after all? Linfeng clasped his fists and bowed. Thank you, Grandpa Jugu. Alright. It should be us thanking you. If not for you, we'd still be lost on how to resolve our martial soul issues. Jugubo sighed, then suddenly asked. Kid, are you sure you don't want to marry Yan once she's older? As I recall, the Grand Worshipper isn't all that old-fashioned. If not a wife, she could be a concubine? Linfeng replied irritably. What kind of grandpa tries to sell off his granddaughter as a concubine? Haha, whether it's wife or concubine, it's all of the same. As long as you treat them equally and sincerely, Yan won't lose out. Jugubo said, stroking his beard with a big smile. Alright. Can we just go already? Sure, but if you change your mind, let me know. On the way to the Ice and Fire Yin Yang Well, Qian Renxue pinched Linfeng's arm. You really are something charming, both the young and the old? What nonsense. Jugubo was the one pushing it on me. And you didn't refuse? Linfeng's face darkened. Of course I did. I refused clearly and firmly. He just keeps bringing it up non-stop. Qian Renxue smirked with interest. Brother, should your little sister help find you another girlfriend? Hearing the familiar teasing tone, Linfeng felt odd inside. You already did, he thought. No need. I'll find one myself. Humphrey. Under Linfeng's lead, the 3 of them arrived at the Ice and Fire Yin Yang Well. Chrysanthemum Bluo's eyes widened in shock. Incredible. To think such a treasure truly exists in this world. It lives up to its name. Top grade, mid-grade, top grade, top grade, top grade. He stared at the surrounding medicinal herbs in agony, so close, yet out of reach. The pain of seeing but not possessing. He muttered, nearly going mad. Master Feng. Chrysanthemum Bluo turned, eyes blazing. Please have the Grand Worshipper win Jugubo over completely. We must take this place. The herbs here are enough to raise dozens of high-ranking soul sages. Qian Renxue was shocked, glancing around. Is it really that amazing? Chrysanthemum Bluo nodded solemnly. Absolutely. Even if over half the herbs here are poisonous, the remaining ones include many top-grade herbs. Their medicinal power can enhance the talents of ordinary soul masters. Honestly, even the entire Luo continent combined might not rival this one spot. Linfeng, meanwhile, was thinking of another place, the habitat of the Silver Dragon King. That massive chunk of essence of all living things had always made him envious. Qian Renxue reined in her shock and tapped Linfeng's shoulder. Why didn't you tell me earlier? It's all the same. Jugubo's already aboard our ship. He can't leave now. 3 years from now, if he wants out of Spirit Hall, he'll probably have to beg us to let him go. Qian Renxue laughed. You're evil. Not really. Linfeng chuckled. Chrysanthemum Bluo watched the 2 of them with growing suspicion. Both of them are so cunning. And something's weird between them too. Where are the 2 immortal herbs we need? Qian Renxue asked. Linfeng pointed toward the center of the Yin Yang Well. Right over there. Chrysanthemum Bluo followed his gaze and gasped again. Ah. With the ice and fire yin yang well here, it's only natural that the companion herbs would exist. Congratulations, Your Highness. With these, you'll fear neither fire nor water. No evil can harm you. Qian Renxue's face lit up with joy. All thanks to Fing love you. Smack. Chrysanthemum Bluo stared at the sky in silence, pretending he saw nothing. No need to be too dutiful as long as no lives are lost, he'd turn a blind eye. Lin Feng ruffled Qian Renxue's hair and turned toward the well. A massive black tent-like structure had already been set up, with a small vent at the top to let the steam escape. Qian Renxue asked curiously. Feng, what's this for? Chrysanthemum Bluo muttered knowingly. According to legend, the yin-yang well's extreme cold and heat will destroy all clothing. I'll go stand guard outside for spirit beasts. The next second, he vanished with a sly grin. Huh? Qian Renxue's face flushed red. Her beautiful eyes turned sulky. Feng, you've really turned bad. Not at all. That's just how the herbs must be absorbed. I even prepared this big tent for you. Don't worry, once you're inside the well, I'll stay outside. I promise not to peek. Qian Renxue heard his vow and unexpectedly felt a tinge of disappointment. Alright, but don't go too far. Of course. The two gradually approached the well. When the energy fluctuations intensified, Qian Renxue activated her soul power and stepped forward. Following Lin Feng's instructions, she picked both herbs and took them simultaneously, then, without hesitation, jumped into the ice and fire yin-yang well. For some reason, Lin Feng felt her gaze right before she jumped was a little odd. Was that longing? He chuckled to himself and sat down to meditate nearby. Qian Renxue cried out in pain as her clothes were instantly turned to ash by the extreme energy. Her flawless, divine figure was now submerged in the spring. Lin Feng calmed himself, ignoring his restless thoughts, and waited patiently. Qian Renxue's moans of pain gradually eased into low murmurs. The forging of her golden body had begun. Chapter 28, I want to sleep. Holding it. Xiaofeng, you can come in now. Then I'm coming in. As Lin Feng stepped into the large tent, his eyes immediately lit up. He saw Qian Renxue leaning against a tree trunk not far from the ice and fire yin-yang well. Her skin glowed like creamy jade, and her eyes shimmered like autumn water, though slightly drowsy. Her golden hair cascaded down to her waist, shining under the sunlight streaming through the top of the tent. Wrapped in a newly changed purple gauze dress, Qian Renxue's already proud figure now appeared even more striking. After refining the two immortal herbs, she seemed taller and more graceful. Her chest had become fuller, her waist supple, and her long white legs were smooth and elegant. Qian Renxue noticed Lin Feng staring blankly and smiled teasingly. She walked gracefully over to him, placing a finger over her cherry lips and gently parting them. Little brother, have you looked enough? Lin Feng chuckled softly. Do you want me to look enough? Qian Renxue was momentarily stunned, then rolled her eyes at him playfully before burying her head into his chest and wrapping her arms around his waist. Thank you, Xiaofeng. Lin Feng gently hugged her back. Do we really need to say that to each other? How do the herbs feel? You should be immune to fire, water, and all poisons now, right? Relaxed, Qian Renxue smiled slightly. My physical constitution and spiritual power have improved to the point that I can now absorb 10,000-year spirit rings. But I'm tired today. Let's go back first. Whatever you say. The two immortal herbs hadn't directly boosted Qian Renxue's spirit power, but they had greatly elevated her foundation. Her future cultivation speed would be significantly faster. Even someone with Tang San's talent could increase 3 levels in just a month or two. Thinking of Tang San, Lin Feng couldn't help pondering his real talent. After all, training with Zhuan Tiangong from a young age had allowed him to reach innate full spirit power. And although he was stuck due to not having a spirit ring, he jumped straight to level 13 after absorbing one. That suggested his spirit power had been rising silently all along. In other words, his original talent likely wasn't enough for innate full spirit power. Otherwise, with Zhuan Tiangong and full innate spirit power, how could he be 8 levels lower than Dai Mabai, who was 3 years older? Tang San's true breakthrough only came after forging his golden body with the ice and fire yin-yang well. As Lin Feng mused to himself, he noticed Qian Renxue hadn't moved for a while and suddenly realized oh. With a soft exclamation, he bent down and carried Qian Renxue in his arms. She hooked her arms around his neck and gazed up at him sweetly. Finally, this guy takes the initiative for once. The innate treasure orb on her abdomen glowed faintly, soothing her exhaustion with a spring-like warmth. Xiaofeng, your orb seems to have changed. It feels warmer and really comfortable. Lin Feng thought for a moment. It probably started when I forged my second spirit vein. A reddish mist appeared around the orb. I see. Xiaofeng, can I borrow your orb tonight? I want to sleep hugging it. No problem. Qian Renxue smiled contentedly with her eyes closed. Meanwhile, Chrysanthemum Douluo was perched on a tree branch outside the poison barrier, bored and flipping through some picture books Lin Feng had given him. He nodded from time to time and clicked his tongue in admiration. When he saw the two emerging, he casually put away the book and jumped down, saying meaningfully, "Young mistress, Xiaofeng, are you done absorbing the herbs?" Qian Renxue gave him a sideways glance with visible annoyance. This light bulb again. Why is he always around? She pointed at him with a jade-like finger. "We'll walk back alone. Grandpa Ju, it's best if you don't stay near us." All right." Chrysanthemum Douluo winced internally but obediently stepped back. Of course, he didn't actually leave, just took the lead, clearing the path for them. "Xiaofeng, let's go. By the way, won't it be tiring for you to carry me the whole way?" With a light chuckle, Lin Feng put her down, crouched, and patted his back. Hee. Qian Renxue blinked her sapphire blue eyes, leaned forward, and latched onto Lin Feng's back. Lin Feng supported her soft, smooth thighs, feeling a gentle ripple in his heart. Qian Renxue ran her fingers through his hair and gave a regal command, "Let's go." As they were about to leave the sunset forest, Chrysanthemum Douluo led them back, stopping briefly to bid farewell to Jugubo. The journey back had already satisfied Qian Renxue's desire for time with Lin Feng. After all, she would soon begin her mission, and time with him would become scarce. Even though not all events required the Crown Prince's presence, he still had royal obligations. Losing even a few hours each day made every moment now feel precious. Though it would never be enough, she wanted to make up for it a little. Leaning against Lin Feng's shoulder, Qian Renxue felt a twinge of regret over accepting the mission. But if she gave up now and returned to Spirit Hall, she'd surely face mockery from her older sister. With her pride, Qian Renxue simply couldn't accept that. More importantly, she understood her position. As the heir to Spirit Hall, she had taken on this mission. Quitting halfway would make her look weak and unfit to lead. She sighed inwardly. Fine, it's only a few hours of separation. I'll just treat it like time I would have spent with Lin Yue anyway. Looking at it that way, she almost felt like she'd gained time. Strange. Upon returning to the base, a figure in black was already waiting in the courtyard. "Old ghost? Why are you back? Aren't you supposed to be watching Zuking?" Ghost Douluo adjusted his cloak and replied hoarsely, "He went to the royal palace today. Likely summoned by Emperor Zhu Yi. With the upcoming noble banquet in a week, many high officials will attend. As a prince, he needs to be well prepared in etiquette and conduct." Qian Renxue nodded. "Even so, stay alert. The closer we get to the mission, the more cautious we must be. Grandpa Ghost, I'll trouble you to keep watch for a few more days." "Sorry for the trouble." Ghost Douluo bowed. "It's my duty." Chrysanthemum Douluo patted Ghost Douluo on the shoulder. "Since you're free tonight, come with me. I have something good to show you and a dose of whale glue for you too." Ghost Douluo's eyes lit up. "Oh? That legendary whale glue said to enhance physical strength? You found some? Is it effective?" Qian Renxue nodded. "It works. You can use it for yourself or give it to a junior." "Thank you, Your Highness." Enough of that. Come on, I'll show you some art. Good stuff, rare and precious." Looking utterly confused, Ghost Douluo was dragged away by Chrysanthemum Douluo. Qian Renxue frowned slightly, poking Lin Feng. "What treasure did Grandpa Ju get his hands on that he's so eager to show Grandpa Ghost?" Lin Feng kept a straight face. "How should I know? Probably some ancient artifact or curiosity." Chapter 29, It Wants to Sleep. Holding you. Qian Renxue nodded. "True, I've heard old people love to collect things. Maybe it's just one of Grandpa Chrysanthemum's treasured collections." The corner of Lin Feng's mouth lifted slightly, a knowing look in his eyes. "No way, it's really what I'm thinking. Sharing spicy illustrations together? Truly best brothers. By the way, where's Sister Lin Yuen?" Qian Renxue squinted slightly and pointed toward the kitchen, where smoke was gently rising. "If I'm not mistaken, she's probably in there." Lin Feng was surprised. "Sister Lin Yuen knows how to cook now. Let's go take a look." "All right." Qian Renxue linked her arm with Lin Feng's and pulled him along. "A pinch of salt, a pinch of sugar, a splash of soy sauce." Lin Yuen stared anxiously at the recipe in her hands. "A pinch. A splash. Why is everything so vague? Who the hell knows how much that actually is? This is so frustrating. What kind of signature recipe dares charge me 10 gold soul coins?" As the smell of burning wafted from the pot, Lin Yuen tossed the recipe aside with a sigh. Lin Feng and Qian Renxue exchanged glances as they entered the kitchen, both breaking into smiles. "Sister Lin Yuen? How's the cooking going?" "Oh, you're back. Sorry, you walked in on a disaster." Lin Feng scooped the unrecognizable fish from the pan into a porcelain bowl. The crisp clink made Lin Yuen's cheeks flush with embarrassment. What was supposed to be braised fish somehow turned into a charred fish pancake. Sister Lin Yuan, cooking really is something that requires hands-on teaching. You can't master it locked up with just a cookbook. Lin Yuan rubbed her forehead in defeat. Well, it's not like we can bring people here right now. What am I supposed to do, kidnap a head chef and force him to teach me? Or sneak into a hotel kitchen? Lin Feng pointed at himself with a grin. No need to steal any chefs, you've got one right here. If you want to learn, I'll teach you. Qian, Renxue and Lin Yuan both brightened. Lin Yuan said excitedly. Really? But I've never seen you cook before. Lin Feng chuckled. After I turned 7, you guys took care of everything for me, food, clothing, shelter. There was no need for me to cook anymore. But back then, the dean definitely remembered how good I was. Teach me. Lin Yuan grabbed his other hand without hesitation, her eyes full of expectation. No problem. Let's start with the simplest, scrambled eggs with tomatoes. Perfect for beginners, easy steps, great taste. I'll do it once, then guide you as you try. It's easy. About half an hour later, Lin Feng looked at 2 plates, one perfect, one pitch black. He fell silent. Qian Renxue looked away, cheeks flushed, mumbling, it's because it's my first time cooking. Sister Lin Yuan messed up her first dish too. Lin Feng picked up a piece of her creation with his chopsticks, chewing thoughtfully. Very unique flavor. Good effort. I'll cook next time. Qian Renxue pouted, stomping her foot, her eyes playful. Fine, don't cook then. From now on, you're in charge of all our meals. Lin Feng shot her an apologetic look. Sorry, Xiaoxu. I really can't let you handle cooking duties. Lin Yuan covered her mouth and laughed quietly to herself. Hey, seems like I beat her in something at least, Little Feng acknowledged me. I'll cook today's meal. Lin Feng offered. Grandpa Chrysanthemum's done it most days, you girls should see what I can do. Great. Qian Renxue's eyes sparkled. They say the way to a man's heart is through his stomach, but it works the other way too. Pair a good man with top-tier cooking skills, and he's absolutely irresistible. Can I help prep? Lin Yuan asked. Sure. Lin Feng said. Not to be outdone, Qian Renxue added. Then I'll wash the vegetables. Lin Feng smiled at the heartwarming scene in front of him. Soon, the kitchen was lively and full of laughter, with Qian Renxue and Lin Yuan exclaiming in surprise or admiration from time to time. Later, Qian Renxue popped the last fried shrimp into her mouth, licking her lips and rubbing her slightly full belly. Resting her chin on her hands, she smiled contentedly at Lin Feng. It's decided. Our taste bud happiness from now on will be in your hands, Little Feng. Lin Yuan nodded in agreement. Little Feng, you're amazing. I've got so much more to learn. Grandpa Chrysanthemum patted Grandpa Ghost's shoulder. Old Ghost, how was it? Pretty close to my cooking, huh? Too bad Thorn Dolphin and Snake Spear are still out. They're missing out, haha. Ghost Douluo said flatly, you can't compare to him. Chrysanthemum Douluo looked awkwardly at the floor. Old Ghost, if you keep this up, I might leave you. But I agree with the young miss. From now on, let Little Feng handle our meals. Qian Renxue huffed, making meals for everyone every day? That's too much work for Little Feng. He'll just make lunch and dinner for the 3 of us. Grandpa Chrysanthemum can cook his own. So biased. Chrysanthemum Douluo grumbled internally. Then what about all the meals I've made for this group? I'm tired too. Then it hit him. Why is Lin Yuan included in the 3? Could it be? He stole a glance at Lin Yuan, only to meet 2 cold, warning stares. He immediately averted his eyes. Yep, women are terrifying. Brothers are still better. With a sigh, Chrysanthemum Douluo dragged Ghost Douluo away. Night fell. The sky glittered with stars outside the window. Under the warm light, Lin Feng studied his notebook, deep in thought. He was convinced that his earlier insights into soul ring laws were on the right track. If that was the case, then during the absorption of his second soul ring, the existence of the first soul vein must have helped him gain a deeper understanding of the corresponding law. That would explain how he could immediately use the second soul skill in a secondary form. His body had already begun adapting to the power of that law and integrating the truths of the world into himself. If this was correct, he'd know for sure during the absorption of the third soul ring. If he could push mastery of the third soul skill to a higher level, his theory would be proven. After jotting down his insights, Lin Feng was about to turn off the light when click, the door gently opened. Framed in the doorway was Qian Renxue, dressed in soft sleepwear, holding the innate pearl in her arms, gently stroking its surface with a mischievous smile. Little Feng, it seems like it wants to sleep holding you tonight. After all, it is your spirit, and being too far apart isn't good for it. The corner of Lin Feng's mouth twitched. Are you sure it's the pearl that wants to hug me, or is it you? Should I ask it and see if it answers? With a shrug, he lifted the blanket and patted the mattress. Qian Renxue raised her brows playfully, quickly closed the door, and locked it behind her. With light steps, she lay down beside him, placing the innate pearl on his side. See? It really missed you. Then she rested her head in the crook of his arm and sweetly drifted off to sleep. Lin Feng followed shortly into slumber. Chapter 30, Equality. A tickling sensation came to his nose, and Lin Feng couldn't help but sneeze. As he opened his bleary eyes, Qian Renxue was smiling sweetly, gently twirling a strand of her hair between her fingers and brushing it across Lin Feng's nose. Glancing out the window, he saw that the sky was just beginning to brighten. The morning mist hadn't fully lifted yet. He pinched Qian Renxue's delicate nose. You can sleep a bit more. Don't fool around. Lin Feng tried to move his left arm. Xiaoxu, my arm is kind of stiff. Qian Renxue was startled. She propped herself up, letting him pull his arm out. Are you okay? Nearby, the innate treasure pearl, left idle for the night, floated into the air and scattered a few dots of gentle light down. It's fine now. Lin Feng blinked. Qian Renxue froze, then pouted slightly. She gently placed Lin Feng's arm back under her neck. You crushed my hair and I didn't say anything. From now on, you're not allowed to take your arm away without permission. Yes, ma'am. As you command, my lady. Humphrey. Listening to each other's heartbeat and feeling one another's breath, time passed quietly. After breakfast and some routine training, Lin Feng began his daily cultivation. Flames danced in his palm, the heat so intense it made the very air shimmer. With a flick, a fire domain appeared, hovering midair. Guided by his thoughts, Lin Feng made subtle adjustments to the soul skill. Part of the flame split off from the main field and began forming into chains. The chain gradually solidified. As compressed energy, it was undeniably more powerful than a normal fire field. But once formed, Lin Feng frowned. This won't do. It consumes too much mental energy. Ling Yuan, watching from the side, asked curiously. Oh? Then how many chains like that can you currently make? 10 or so. But that's too few. Once I'm mentally drained, they're hard to control. Ling Yuan paused and then rolled her eyes. Every time you say something like that, I just want to teach you a lesson. Do you really not realize how exceptional you are? Or are you just showing off on purpose? On purpose. Lin Feng smirked, teasing her. You. Ling Yuan shot him a look. Sometimes she really couldn't figure out what Lin Feng was thinking. Most of the time, he was calm, composed, and in control. But every now and then, like now, he'd show a mischievous and carefree side. Ling Yuan smiled inwardly. Maybe it was that side of Lin Feng she liked most. Ling Yuan-ji, didn't you say you had something to ask me last time? What was it? As Lin Feng probed his second soul vessel, he asked offhandedly. Ling Yuan paused. What was it again? Oh right, Wangqing's family's martial soul issue. She silently apologized to Yi Wangqing. After she came back, she only briefly mentioned it, and then Xiaoxu had come clean directly. Since then, she'd been so caught up in the joy of being able to openly show affection that she'd completely forgotten about it. Lin Feng, do you know about the 9-heart begonia? Lin Feng nodded. Of course. It's the strongest single-target healing martial soul in the Soul Master world. No matter how many soul rings it gains, it only has one soul skill, but the effect is extremely powerful. Bringing the dead back to life and regrowing flesh from bones, it's not an exaggeration. Ling Yuan nodded slightly. That's right. You remember Yizixin, the girl you helped heal when you were forming your first soul vessel? She's from a branch of the 9-heart begonia family. Lin Feng was puzzled. I thought there could only be one inheritor of the 9-heart begonia at any given time. How could there be a whole family, or branches? Ling Yuan smiled. With such a powerful healing martial soul, of course there's a legacy. Heavily injured experts and desperate nobles all seek their aid. The family's typical martial soul is the begonia flower. Not as powerful, but still a strong support-type soul. Lin Feng understood. So why are you bringing them up? Do you want me to do something? Ling Yuan bit her lip. A friend of mine has an older sister who is the current inheritor of the 9-heart begonia. But due to her daughter's upcoming awakening, she might lose her life soon because of their martial soul's limitations. So, I was wondering if maybe you could help. But you don't have to prioritize it. If it's too difficult or exhausting, just let it go. It's a problem that's stumped people for 1,000 years. I only brought it up casually. Lin Feng froze. Seeing Ling Yuan looking so small and hesitant pained him. He walked up to her, pulled her into an embrace, and gently patted her back. Ling Yuan-ji, you don't have to act like this. With our relationship, you don't need to be so cautious when asking me for help. Ling Yuan was flustered by his sudden affection, trembling slightly as her hands hovered awkwardly. Her voice quivered. What relationship do we have? I like you, Ling Yuanji. Her head snapped up, eyes shining with surprise. Lin Feng spoke softly, a relationship like this should be mutual. We're equal individuals. You don't need to see yourself as the weaker one, or keep putting my needs above your own. When you're facing something difficult, just tell me. You don't need to hold back. Ling Yuan's racing heart slowly calmed. She rested her head on his chest, her hands wrapping gently around his waist. I understand. And I'll do the same. I'm willing to give, too. After a pause, she playfully circled her finger on Lin Feng's chest. By the way, what made you say that out loud today? Aren't you worried Xiaoxu will get mad? Lin Feng coughed awkwardly. Actually, I was awake when you two were talking that day. Ling Yuan glared at him. I knew it. You're always scheming something. If Xiaoxu hadn't made the first move, I bet we'd still be waiting for you to open your mouth. Lin Feng shook his head. That had been his original plan, pretend not to know, and enjoy the perks Ling Yuan offered to coax a confession out of him. But after seeing her vulnerable side today, he couldn't bear to keep pretending. It was better to be honest sooner than later. So, right now Xiaoxu still thinks you don't know that we both know you like me? Lin Feng blinked, confused. Probably. A mischievous glint appeared in Ling Yuan's eyes. She whispered something in his ear. Lin Feng's expression turned conflicted. But intrigued. Isn't that kind of wrong? Ling Yuan gave him a teasing look. You really don't want to? Okay, I kinda do. She slipped out of his arms. Then it's settled. I'll go see Xiaoxu first. As for the nine-heart begonia martial soul problem, I'll do my best to study it. But don't tell your friend just yet. If I can't solve it, it might damage your relationship. Ling Yuan narrowed her eyes in a sweet smile. Alright. Chapter 31, Action, Regret, Successor, Secret Chamber. Under the night sky, the lights of Heaven City shone brilliantly. A certain duke's manor was buzzing with activity. A massive, ornate crystal chandelier cast golden light, reflecting the opulence of the occasion. A long table, dozens of meters in length, was adorned with silver utensils and crystal goblets. Luxurious decorations and an array of exquisite delicacies dazzled the eyes. As wine glasses clinked and changed hands, the guests savored fine food and drink from all across the continent, filling the banquet hall with cheerful laughter. Zhu King, dressed in elegant formal attire with a crown upon his head and a glass of red wine in hand, exuded nobility and confidence. The moment he appeared, he became the center of attention. Nobles gathered around, offering warm greetings. Zhu Bing raised his wine glass in greeting to Zhu King, then turned to flirt with the female companions of nearby dukes and lords. Zhu King returned a gentle smile, but with inner contempt. That younger brother of his, so young, yet so brazen with his ambitions, a natural-born hedonist, no real threat at all. Zhu Bing flirted with the beauties around him, a flicker of gloom flashing in his eyes. Prince Zhu Xing, with a large build and steady gait, approached Zhu King. Uncle. Call me properly when in public. Zhu King nodded, thank you for the reminder, Prince Zhu. Crossing Prince Zhu Xing gave a satisfied nod, pleased by his display of propriety. At this stage, before Zhu King began eliminating rivals, Prince Zhu Xing didn't mind being close to him. Putting on his usual professional smile, Zhu King completed the formalities. It was just a birthday banquet for a duke's daughter, no need to delve into serious matters. Seated with poise, Zhu King observed the nobles flattering and forming alliances with interest. Swirling his wine glass, he smirked wickedly. As expected, a room full of hollow fools. The position of crown prince, even the throne, was within easy reach. The Heaven Empire would flourish under his hand. Your Highness, a shadow guard has urgent news. A guard approached and whispered in Zhu King's ear. Let's go. This kind of scene had happened countless times and didn't attract attention in the hall. Zhu King was somewhat resigned over the years. Whenever the shadow guards reported news, it was mostly about noble infighting and alliances. Still, these messages were important. Before securing the throne, rallying supporters was essential. 3 guards led Zhu King to a quiet room within the manor. Well? What is it this time? Zhu King crossed his legs and yawned. Your Highness, we respectfully ask you to die. What? For a moment, Zhu King thought he'd misheard, and he rose in fury. What did you say? We respectfully ask you to die. Impudent. Seize him, the 3 guards responded in unison, yes. Heads rolled. Blood splattered. Zhu King never imagined that the 3 most trusted guards who had accompanied him for years would be his executioners. The scene was swiftly cleaned up. A new Zhu King stepped out from the shadows, identical in appearance, but with eyes far colder. Let's go. The banquet carried on. Qian Renxue quickly stepped into the role. But this time, she felt a trace of regret. Now that she was living Zhu King's life firsthand and interacting with all these unfamiliar nobles, she truly felt how dull this existence was. A strange feeling rose within her. Wasting hours each day like this was unbearably boring. She still had Lin Feng. No, she had to find a successor as soon as possible. Have Grandpa pick someone suitable for this responsibility and slowly train them. Once that person could fully replace her, she could step back. At that point, the mission wouldn't be considered a failure, and she wouldn't have to lose face in front of that woman. Wait. Qian Renxue frowned. Why did she care so much about the opinion of that woman who forced her to call her sister? She had Lin Feng now. She had Ling Yuanji. Why should she spend years hiding here just for that woman's approval? As the Holy Maiden of Spirit Hall, it didn't matter whether she personally completed the mission as long as it succeeded under her leadership. That was enough to command respect. Her eyes lit up. Lin Feng was right, there was no need for her to carry this burden alone. She would tell Grandpa immediately to send in a candidate. After all, the plan had been in motion for years. If no successors had been trained, that would be the real problem. Crown Prince's residence, same atmosphere. Same staff. But now, every maiden guard carried a visible excitement. After years of waiting, their real master had finally returned. Greetings, Your Highness. This prince is in a good mood today. All of you will be handsomely rewarded. Now go, and see Steward Shi later. Thank you, Your Highness. Joy was written all over the faces of the undercover agents as they exited, eager to find out what rewards awaited them for their long years of service. Qian Renxue entered the study, her expression solemn, and activated a hidden mechanism on the bookshelf. Click. With a barely audible sound, a secret door opened behind the bookshelf. She stepped in and locked it behind her. Walking through the dim passage, she felt an odd emotion stir. For some reason, the thought that this secret chamber led to a room shared with Lin Feng and Ling Yu on their bedroom filled her with a strange feeling. Keeping beauties hidden in a golden house? The word slipped from her lips. Her heart raced, her cheeks flushed red, but she continued forward. After dozens of steps, the passage opened up. Illuminated by soul-powered lights, the space felt no different from the outside world, more comfortable, even, due to the careful decoration. You're back? Lin Feng was enjoying a massage from Ling Yu while reading a scroll. He waved to Qian Renxue. So, how was it? Boring, just like I said? Qian Renxue pouted and kicked off her shoes, stretching her legs onto Lin Feng's lap. It really was boring, Zhao Feng. I kind of regret it now. Lin Feng paused while massaging her silky white stockinged legs. Oh? What are you thinking, returning to Spirit City now? No. That'd be too abrupt. I've already told Grandpa Chrysanthemum to inform Grandpa. He'll send a new candidate. We'll train them ourselves. Once they can replace me, I'll finally be free. Lin Feng nodded. It wasn't too late for Qian Renxue to realize this. Her time in heaven had probably also dulled her obsession with PB Dong, a good thing, in his view. Qian Renxue rested on the bed, eyes closed, while Lin Feng continued massaging her legs, long, smooth, and strong. Her calves were toned and sleek, her thighs slightly plump, curving gracefully. Massaging them was a pleasure in itself. Ling Yuan noticed the light in Lin Feng's eyes and chuckled softly, applying a little more pressure to his shoulders. Chapter 32, Xiaofeng, it's time for your medicine. These past few days, Qian Daliu's mood had been a roller coaster, his head aching from the stream of news brought by Lin Feng and Qian Renxue. He rubbed his throbbing temples and sighed. First came the miraculous effects of whale glue, which gave Qian Daliu a vision of the younger generation of Spirit Hall experiencing a collective surge in power. Taking advantage of the fact that the effects of whale glue hadn't yet been publicly revealed, he ordered a market sweep and a thorough gathering effort along the eastern seaboard. This would become a massive startup fund for the Wuhan Empire. Then there was the matter of Xiaoxu herself planning to use whale glue to absorb a 10,000-year spirit ring. Though he later relaxed upon hearing that Qian Renxue had successfully refined the ice and fire immortal herbs, he had initially been furious. He mentally cursed that brat Lin Feng countless times. Next came the discovery of the immortal herbs. When Chrysanthemum Duo reported that the ice and fire yin yang wells herbs could instantly raise one's spirit power by 8 levels, improve innate aptitude without side effects, and even evolve Jugubo's martial spirit, Qian Daliu was stunned. Learning that the remaining herbs could cultivate dozens of high-tier soul saints was overwhelming. Originally content to stay holed up in Spirit Hall, Qian Daliu personally hosted Jugubo and even helped him obtain his 9th spirit ring. He offered Jugubo a guest elder position, with the promise of discussing any official roles he might want in the future. This left Jugubo flattered and overwhelmed, secretly believing Lin Feng and Chrysanthemum Duo had spoken highly of him and pulled some strings. He proudly praised his own wise decision. Now he strutted through Spirit Hall like a tiger among sheep, boasting to his peers at every opportunity about how much Qian Douluo valued him, truly basking in his newfound status. But the most critical issue was Qian Renxue's request for a replacement. Although she was never the intended candidate for the original mission, considering Bibi Dong's current state, Qian Douluo was deeply troubled. He had hoped to send Qian Renxue away to distance her from Bibi Dong, but now it seemed the two would be meeting again. That wouldn't do. As the next angel god chosen by their ancestor, Xue absolutely couldn't be put at risk. Qian Douluo thought about simply letting Qian Renxue and Lin Feng travel and train together. With a titled Douluo as her companion, her safety wouldn't be too much of a concern. They could check in at Spirit City from time to time to report on their situation. Wait a minute. Qian Douluo frowned. Why did this sound like a newlywed daughter returning to her parents' home for visits? She hadn't even officially married yet. That damn brat. Qian Douluo snorted coldly and sent a message. Qian Renxue and Lin Feng should remain in Heaven City a bit longer. Once the mission could be officially handed over, they would return to Spirit City first. If they agreed to his proposal and were about to embark on a long journey, he needed to give them clear instructions and ensure they took everything necessary. When the message arrived in heaven, Qian Renxue joyfully threw her arms around Lin Feng's neck and exclaimed, "Great news, Xiaofeng. Grandpa agreed to my request. He even said we could travel around and only return to Spirit City occasionally." Lin Feng raised an eyebrow. He hadn't seen the word occasionally in Qian Douluo's letter. That probably won't happen right away, might still be a few months. Qian Renxue waved her hand dismissively. "No big deal, it's just a short wait. As long as I'm with you guys, it doesn't matter where we are." Ling Yuan smiled brightly. It seemed Xiaoxu had genuinely accepted Lin Feng. "By the way, Xiaoxu, how's your cultivation progressing? With those 2 immortal herbs and the twin cultivation paths, I bet your speed's skyrocketing, right?" "Of course. My speed has more than doubled. At this rate, I'll be able to get my 4th spirit ring soon, and it'll be the first 10,000-year 4th ring ever, haha." On the bed, Qian Renxue was visibly excited, clenching her fists. But she glanced sideways at Lin Feng. "Even though I'm almost 98% ready, it's still best to improve my physical condition a bit more. We haven't even really used that 10,000-year whale glue yet. Speaking of which, Xiaofeng, when are you going to try it? Really, that batch smells amazing. It's nothing like the fishy stuff Grandpa brought us before." Qian Renxue's eyes sparkled with an odd light, as if she were secretly anticipating something. Lin Feng nodded. "It's definitely time. I never really focused much on the age of spirit rings before. But recently I've had some new insights. I'm considering pursuing spirit rings close to the limit." Ling Yuan was startled. "Why?" "With your spirit vein cultivation method and the innate nurturing from your soul orb, your spirit veins get stronger naturally as you improve. There's no need to chase extreme spirit ring ages. Moderate ones should be fine." Qian Renxue was also confused. "I had some new insights recently and want to test a theory. The higher the age of a spirit ring, the harder it is to control the attached skill. What I want to test is whether I can better control the skill during absorption. If it works, it could significantly accelerate my research into creating spirit veins for others." "So soon?" Qian Renxue and Ling Yuan exchanged wide-eyed glances. Lin Feng chuckled. "It's just a hypothesis for now, needs testing. Why do you two look more shocked than I do? Aren't I the one researching this?" Qian Renxue pinched Lin Feng. "Hey, we've been jealous of your spirit vein progress for years. Of course we're happy for you and yeah, a little excited for ourselves too." Her eyes twinkled mischievously as she continued, "Well then, since that's the case, taking the whale glue can't wait any longer. Sister Ling Yuan, hold Xiaofeng down." "Sorry, Xiaofeng." Ling Yuan giggled softly, using her soul power to restrain Lin Feng's body. Qian Renxue chuckled wickedly and took out a portion of whale glue from her storage ring. She carefully sliced off a piece and melted it with blazing fire. A fragrant aroma filled the room, intoxicating and alluring. Qian Renxue brought the whale glue to Lin Feng's mouth. "Xiaofeng, it's time for your medicine." With a look of silent indignation, Lin Feng obediently swallowed the whale glue. "Seriously? It's not like I was refusing to take it. Was all this really necessary?" As soon as the glue entered his mouth, it melted into a liquid like a cool spring, flowing smoothly down his throat. A strange, enticing fragrance mingled with an indescribable taste. As the effects began to take hold, a heat rose in Lin Feng's body, and his eyes became dazed. His breathing grew heavier, a flush crept across his cheeks. The figures of the 2 girls before him seemed more beautiful than ever, their charm magnified, their movements enchanting and graceful. Lin Feng clamped his legs together, trying to hide the changes in his body. He forcibly broke free from Ling Yuan's hold and sat cross-legged, using his robes to conceal the situation. Sweat beaded across his forehead, lending him an unusual allure. Gulp. Two swallowing sounds echoed beside him. Qian Renxue and Ling Yuan's faces flushed slightly as they shyly glanced at each other. Chapter 33, Hey, what are you doing? Qian Renxue and Ling Yuan exchanged glances, silently signaling to each other. You go first. No, I'll go after you. In their silent back and forth, both their faces grew increasingly red. In the end, it was Ling Yuan who caved under Qian Renxue's pressure and made the first move. Her delicate hands wrapped around Lin Feng from behind, gently caressing his chest. Her touch was soft, boneless, and smooth, like silk gliding over skin. Her voluptuous figure pressed softly against his back, bringing a double sensation of softness. Lin Feng's heartbeat sped up, accelerating the refining of the whale blue within him. Though the amount wasn't much and he could remain clear-headed, the sensations were still rather overwhelming. His flushed cheeks deepened in color. Qian Renxue took a deep breath, excitedly leaned in, and gently touched Lin Feng's cheek. Unlike usual, both of them visibly shuddered at the contact, as though shocked by electricity. Whoa! Qian Renxue's eyes sparkled with intrigue, as if she'd just discovered something very amusing. The feeling was hazy, ambiguous, but undeniably real. It sparked her curiosity even more. No wonder nobles kept this stuff hidden away. It really was quite fun. Qian Renxue smiled, her eyes curving into crescents. Her soft legs naturally draped across Lin Feng's lap. If you're feeling uncomfortable, Zhao Feng, it's okay to touch a little. Hey, what are you doing? There's no way he could fall for that. What does it mean to be a real man? Stand tall, remain unshaken in the face of temptation. His slightly heated hand brushed across her smooth, slender leg. Suddenly, Lin Feng felt himself calming down a bit. What does it mean to be a real man? One who can yield and adapt, that's a true man. Zhao Feng? Yeah? Leaning on his shoulder, Ling Yuan tilted her head slightly, her lips moving gently. That plan fell through. Zhao Zhu already knew you overheard us that day. Lin Feng froze mid-movement. Even his thick skin couldn't stop the wave of embarrassment that followed. Qian Renxue swung her legs playfully, hinting at him to continue. I knew the moment I saw you two holding hands that day. Zhao Feng, there's no one in this world who knows you better than me. Still trying to hide it from me? Impossible. You're feeling pretty proud of yourself now, huh? Getting both me and Ling Yuan under your belt, you must be thrilled. Even tried to team up with her to prank me? You really don't get it. Ling Yuan is mine. Lin Feng. Alright then, what punishment do you have in mind? Qian Renxue giggled and glanced at Lin Feng's squirming, clearly uncomfortable figure, his face as red as a tomato. I want you to say it to my face, right now. Tell me you love Ling Yuan. That's it. I love Ling Yuan. And the same goes for you, Zhao Zhu. I love you too. Humphrey, you two-timing scoundrel. Qian Renxue raised a foot and placed it on Lin Feng's stomach. Her delicate toes playfully punished him. Ling Yuan's pretty face flushed bright red. In fact, both girls' blushes were even deeper than Lin Feng's, despite him being the one who took the whale glue. Classic case of amateur-level skill, maximum playfulness. So, why exactly are you two rewarding me again? Lin Feng was baffled. He had absolutely no idea what these two were thinking anymore. After seeing off Qian Renxue and Ling Yuan, Lin Feng let out a long sigh of relief. Looks like Qian Renxue had fully accepted Ling Yuan now. He no longer had to worry about their relationship. They could even collaborate to torment him. What lingering awkwardness could there possibly be left? Martial soul defect, huh? Lin Feng stroked his chin. Maybe it's similar to the 7th Treasure Glaze Tile Clan's restriction. Only by evolving the martial soul into the 9 Treasure Glaze Tile Pagoda can one attach 9 spirit rings. Otherwise, they're stuck at rank 79 as a spirit sage. Lin Feng frowned slightly. If that's the case, giving the delicate immortal fragrance to the Yi family could make future negotiations with the 7 Treasure Glaze Tile Clan more complicated. I'll have to go see for myself. Zhao Zu's disguise has held long enough. Soon, Ling Yuan and I can leave. When that time comes, I want to experience the 9 Heart Begonia clan's martial soul firsthand. If there's no solution, then I'll consider the immortal herb. Lin Feng had another theory. Perhaps both the 9 Heart Begonia and 7 Treasure Glaze Tile Pagoda were martial souls restricted by the laws of heaven and earth. Their complete forms were simply too overpowered. If they could be inherited and passed down freely, they'd completely eclipse all other auxiliary-type martial souls. Or maybe it was the will of the Douluo plane itself suppressing them. After all, if more people had these martial souls, human spirit masters would survive in far greater numbers. That would upset the balance of the entire continent and be seen as a threat. Lin Feng's eyes gleamed. If that's true, does it mean he'll eventually have to repay this karmic debt to the plane itself? He pondered carefully. That didn't seem so bad. His innate soul evolution technique had long since transcended the current soul master system. If he could one day form soul rings on his own, he would effectively be standing in opposition to the divine realm. That was an inevitable path, ever since he first began his cultivation research. Helping the will of the plane? That would just be a bonus. So, had he basically taken on Huo Yuhao's mission from 10,000 years in the future early? Zhao Feng, time to make dinner. I want grilled fish today. Qian Renxue yawned as she emerged from the training chamber. Grilled fish. Sure, no problem. Lin Feng's expression turned a little strange, but he accepted the request nonetheless. Life in the training chamber and the Crown Prince's mansion was getting a little monotonous. 3 months later. That morning, Lin Feng and Ling Yuan strolled through the streets of Heaven City. Feels like this is the first time we've gone shopping together like this. Ling Yuan clung to Lin Feng's arm, her body leaning against him closely, step by step. A small smile played at her lips. Lin Feng shook his head, stopping her from finishing the leftover fish balls she still held. He replied casually, there'll be plenty more days like this. We'll come often. Ling Yuan closed her eyes slightly, breathing in the youthful scent coming from beside her. It was fresh like green leaves, yet warm and bright like sunshine. After consuming the immortal herbs and whale glue, and being nourished by the innate soul orb and soul meridians, Lin Feng's growth had been rapid. Now, he stood as tall as Ling Yuan, if not taller. His facial structure had become more defined, his eyes bright and full of spirit, and a warm smile always lingered on his lips. A handsome young man and a stunning girl, walking side by side. Countless envious and bitter murmurs echoed around them as they passed. Ling Yuan quietly laughed to herself. Want to buy some clothes? Ling Yuan nodded, then glanced teasingly at Lin Feng, planning to help me pick? Of course. Actually, I have a deep understanding of fashion. Lin Feng said it with a completely serious face. Utter nonsense. PFFT. Ling Yuan rolled her eyes at him and pulled him toward a nearby shop. Just then, a crisp voice called out, Ling Yuan? You're here too? Hearing that voice, Ling Yuan's delicate body stiffened slightly, and the smile on her face froze. Chapter 34, My house is quite big. Ling Yuan silently thought, this is bad, and quickly let go of Lin Feng's arm, turning stiffly toward the store entrance. Yi Wangqing, holding a long teal dress, came walking over excitedly. When she spotted Lin Feng standing beside Ling Yuan, her eyes lit up. Her steps slowed, and a smile on her face took on a rather intrigued and meaningful look. So it's you, Wangqing. What a coincidence, haha. Ling Yuan let out an awkward chuckle. Of course it's me, Yi Wangqing replied playfully as she came up to Ling Yuan. She looked left, Ling Yuan's eyes shifted right. She looked right, Ling Yuan's eyes shifted left. TSK. Didn't you say you couldn't stay long in Heaven City? Didn't you say you'd look me up the next time you came? Who's this little gentleman? Lin Feng was still marveling at the stunning beauty before him. He casually glanced at the overwhelming assets in front of him and replied, I'm her boyfriend. Oh, Yi Wangqing stepped around Ling Yuan and began circling Lin Feng, stroking her chin in appraisal. He really does look young. Didn't expect you to snag him so fast, Ling Yuan. Ling Yuan blushed a deep crimson. She pulled Yi Wangqing aside. What's your problem? Can't I even take a look? So protective. Ling Yuan scowled and glared at her. Mind your own business. Go find one to look at yourself. Ahem. Yi Wangqing dramatically clutched her large conscience. Stepped back a few paces, and looked incredulous. She pointed at Ling Yuan. Ling Yuan, you're abandoning your friend for a man. Lin Feng raised an eyebrow. So this one's just here for the drama, huh? I did not. Ling Yuan, flustered, quickly covered Yi Wangqing's mouth. Yi Wangqing mumbled, blinking her apricot eyes non-stop. At that moment, other customers in the store began to take notice of the commotion and cast curious glances toward the three. Why haven't they started fighting yet? Pick up the pace already. You don't get it. Looks like two besties fighting over that cute guy. They won't actually fight. I bet they're all leaving together after this. Hearing the murmurs, Ling Yuan's ears turned even redder with embarrassment. She grabbed Lin Feng and Yi Wangqing and rushed out of the store. PFFT, they're leaving already? It hasn't even gotten good yet. So everyone here's just a gossip lover? The three of them arrived at a restaurant. Suddenly, the atmosphere turned a bit awkward. Yi Wangqing, who had originally come with the mood to tease and mess with Ling Yuan, glanced at the pair sitting side by side across from her and then at the empty space beside herself. Her mood dimmed slightly. Casually, she glanced at Ling Yuan's delicate hand currently resting gently in Lin Feng's palm. Her breath caught for a second. It used to be only me who could play with that pair of hands. Though she was genuinely happy for her bestie, realizing that she was now more of an outsider brought an unexpected pang of loneliness. She pouted. crossed her arms under her chest, boosting her prideful figure. Why are you just sitting there? I demand an explanation. What, are you a nascent soul cultivator or something, always demanding explanations? Ahem. Ling Yuan cleared her throat and tucked a strand of black hair behind her ear. Okay, it was wrong of me not to look for you first. I promise I'll come find you often in the future. Yi Wangking pouted. Bet you won't have time, you'll be too busy with your little boyfriend. Guess I'll be all alone now. She flopped her head sideways like life had no meaning. Ling Yuan helplessly covered her forehead and turned to Lin Feng. This is the Yi Wangking I told you about. The one who steals candy from kids. Lin Feng spoke without thinking. Yi Wangking's mouth opened in shock, her eyes wide as she stared at Ling Yuan in disbelief. You. What else did you tell him? She stood up with a whoosh. Recalling all the embarrassing things she had done, Yi Wangking's confidence wavered. This is unacceptable. Actually, back when Ling Yuan was a kid, hey. Ling Yuan interrupted hastily. Wait. Come to think of it, there wasn't really anything bad to say about Ling Yuan's childhood. Exceptionally talented, crushed her peers, and scared off a bunch of annoying guys. That's praise, right? Yi Wangking's expression turned a bit blank. Unable to recall anything scandalous, she awkwardly sat back down. Darn it. I'll definitely remember something eventually. Ling Yuan breathed a sigh of relief as she successfully diverted the topic. She turned to introduce Lin Feng properly. This is Lin Feng. The one I mentioned before. I really like him. Her cheeks flushed slightly. Talking about Lin Feng in front of her bestie made her feel a little embarrassed. Yi Wangking picked up a piece of crab meat, popped it into her mouth, and muttered, looks like that guidebook you took worked wonders. Didn't even take long, huh? Guidebook? Lin Feng looked at Ling Yuan with a teasing grin, full of mischief. She shot him a glare and pinched his hand gently in mock annoyance. Her beautiful eyes held a playful complaint. Yi Wangking silently put down a second piece of crab meat she had just picked up. Her appetite vanished, and even the sumptuous meal before her suddenly seemed bland. She casually dropped her chopsticks. After a moment of silence, she spoke. All right, tell me, how did you two meet? Lin Feng, right? Tell me, what do you like about our Ling Yuan? Lin Feng smiled. Everything. Yi Wangking frowned. Clearly, she wasn't satisfied with that vague answer. Be specific. Her free spirit, the way she loves wholeheartedly, her thoughtful care, and her breathtaking beauty. Ling Yuan listened carefully, her almond eyes narrowing slightly in delight. Her lips curled up in a small, proud smile as she shot Yi Wangking a triumphant look. Humphrey, sounds like that last one is the real reason. Yi Wangking rolled her eyes. Seeing Yi Wangking begin eating again, Ling Yuan looked puzzled. Why don't you ask me? Yi Wangking glanced at her sideways. What for? Not interested. Boring. Giggle. By the way, how old is this Lin Feng, really? You never actually said. Yi Wangking asked casually. Ling Yuan's appearance didn't give away her real age at all. Saying she was 25 or 26 would have been underselling it. And Lin Feng, as a soul master blessed by heavenly herbs and treasures, also seemed quite mature. Just by looks alone, no one could guess their actual age gap. Ling Yuan, who had been relaxed and smiling, froze a little at the question. Teenager. I already told you. Yi Wangking popped more food in her mouth absent-mindedly. 19 is still a teen, you know. I said no more asking. Ling Yuan snapped. Her reaction only made Yi Wangking more suspicious. Could it be? Her bestie might really be wild. She gave Lin Feng a strange look. Alright, fine. So, when are you planning to leave this time? Ling Yuan looked to Lin Feng. He thought for a moment. We'll probably stay in Heaven City for a few more months, then head to Spirit Hall City. Yi Wangking was a bit surprised. Even that question had to be answered by Lin Feng? Was her bestie's household status that low? That won't do. Not knowing the full situation, Yi Wangking fell into deep thought. Then how about coming over to my place? My house is quite big and my sister misses you too. Chapter 35, so I'm part of your play too? Ling Yuan and Lin Feng exchanged a glance. Shall we go? Sure. Yi Wangking noticed them making eyes at each other but saying nothing. She clicked her tongue. Hey, I'm still here, you know. Just say whether you're going or not. What are you doing over there? Ling Yuan let out a light laugh and nodded. Sure, when do we go? Yi Wangking glanced at the freshly served food on the table, a trace of regret flashing in her eyes. Rolling her eyes, she called a server over to pack everything up and stashed it all into her storage soul tool. Alright, let's go now. She grinned happily. Lin Feng nodded slightly, thinking to himself, so this girl's a foodie and a mischief maker, huh? On the way, Ling Yuan held Lin Feng's arm tightly. The two stayed close, whispering from time to time. A few steps behind them, Yi Wangking walked alone, suddenly looking rather pitiful. So I'm part of your play too? Yi Wangking took a deep breath, gathered her soul power underfoot, and suddenly sped up. Ling Yuan looked at the rapidly receding figure, a bit surprised. Yi Wangking's sharp voice drifted back on the wind. I'll go wait for you over there. You two just take your time. You know the way, after all. Walking alone ahead, Yi Wangking suddenly felt a sense of relief. Ling Yuan stopped and let out a giggle. She teased, looks like Wangking is a bit jealous. Lin Feng shrugged. Doesn't seem like that's my fault, does it? Haha. Ling Yuan looked at Lin Feng beside her, covered her mouth as she laughed, and continued walking with him. You're heading to the Yi family now. Did something come to mind? Her voice was gentle. Just some thoughts. I haven't studied this martial soul closely before, so I don't have any practical theories for its application. If there's no solution yet, don't let it weigh you down. Lin Feng gently rubbed the soft hand in his. I know. Don't worry. Yi Wangking looked at the slowly approaching couple with mild irritation. I told them to take their time, and they really did. Once again I'm being left out. Sad. Ling Yuan blinked, confused as she looked at Yi Wangking standing by the main gate. Wangking, why aren't you going in? Yi Wangking gave Ling Yuan a long, emotional look, sighed, and said. Ling Yuan, you've really changed. She shook her head and walked inside. Ling Yuan was confused. What's this girl thinking again? The familiar reception hall had changed slightly since their last visit. The person sitting next to Ling Yuan was now Lin Feng. Madame Yi had a gentle, gratified smile on her face. She glanced at Yi Wangking playing around with Yi Lingling and inwardly scoffed. This little sister of mine is barely younger than me, yet she still acts like a child. Her best friends already figured out her love life. Why isn't she anxious at all? She spoke softly. Zhao Yuan, that method I taught you last time worked pretty well, didn't it? Seeing the teasing in Madame Yi's eyes, Ling Yuan blushed and nodded. This made Lin Feng curious. Should I borrow that so-called guide sometime and take a look? Using others' experience to understand their thinking better might help with future interactions. Yi Lingling looked curiously at Ling Yuan and Lin Feng, who were chatting happily with her parents. She tugged on Yi Wangking's sleeve. Andy, who's that big brother that came with Sister Ling Yuan? I've never seen him before. Yi Wangking thought for a moment, then solemnly told her, Ling-a-ling, from now on, when you see that big brother, call him uncle. When you see Sister Ling Yuan, call her auntie. Got it? Yi Ling-a-ling tilted her little head. Why? Because Yi Wangking glanced at Ling Yuan, then lowered her voice and whispered into Ling-a-ling's ear, they're boyfriend and girlfriend, basically like a married couple. That means they're about to have a baby. Your mom's told you this before, right? Once someone gets married, they're like an adult, so you call her auntie now. Oh, got it. Yi Ling-a-ling blinked and nodded earnestly. Yi Wangking smiled in satisfaction. Excitement shone in Yi Ling-a-ling's gray-blue eyes. She decided she'd go greet Auntie Ling Yuan right away. After some small talk, Ling Yuan said, Sister, would you mind summoning your 9-heart begonia for a look? Lin Feng here also has a healing-type soul skill. He wants to see if he can get any inspiration from your martial soul. Madame Yi waved her hand, no need to be so formal for something small like that. Here's the 9-heart begonia. She flipped her palm over. A pinkish-red begonia flower appeared in the air. The moment it did, the entire room was filled with a refreshing fragrance that lifted the spirit. Madame Yi spoke with some pride, when it comes to pure healing, even the 7th treasure's glazed tile pagoda from the upper 3 sects doesn't compare. Although our martial soul only has an area healing effect, with me around, it's hard for teammates to die even if they want to. Lin Feng nodded. Would it be alright to demonstrate a soul skill so I can feel its effect? Of course. Green light spread out and fell over Lin Feng's body. He closed his eyes to feel it, then suddenly slashed his own arm with a blade. The others gasped in shock. Ling Yuan looked at his wound with distress. Madame and Mr. Yi exchanged a glance, surprised by Lin Feng's extreme method, even if it was for research. They watched as the wound visibly healed, and his energy surged again. Lin Feng nodded slowly, signaling that she could stop. This. The Yi parents were puzzled, exchanging another look before turning back to Lin Feng. Lin Feng summoned the innate treasure pearl. I wonder if you'd like to experience my self-created healing soul skill? Self-created? Madame Yi was startled. That's right. Go ahead. Under a gentle white glow, Lin Feng activated his first soul skill, Breath of Life. The Yi couple's pupils contracted. They actually didn't see any soul rings appear. Madame Yi nodded approvingly. Seems Zhao Yuan picked a pretty capable man. She focused in, and gradually her brows furrowed slightly. This soul skill is very unusual. After a moment of contemplation, Madame Yi spoke. Lin Feng nodded. I believe, sister, that you've already noticed my healing skill surpasses 9-heart begonia in precision and purity. To put it in perspective, if 9-heart begonia is like performing surgery, then Lin Feng's skill treats both internal and external issues at once. While its overall strength still falls short, the skill's quality is undeniably solid. Madame Yi's expression turned serious. She glanced at her husband and said, "So, you must have other reasons for visiting today. Speak freely." Lin Feng and Ling Yuan exchanged a glance, and he shared his idea. "I think I may have a way to solve the 9-heart begonia's inheritance problem from a different angle." "What did you just say?"